This story begins on a sunny day, when Jiraz is fixing the tire of his broken cart on a roadside. The summer is at its peak, and Jiraz is sweating. He wipes the sweat from his face, sighs and tells his wife Sarah that he has finally fixed the cart. They put the logs of wood on the cart, and Jiraz starts pulling it while Sarah helps him with that. She is worried as she is late to prepare the dinner. Jiraz agrees and says that they need to hurry as they will be in trouble with their master. They see two roads ahead of them. Sarah points at one and says they cannot go that way as it does not seem fit for traveling. While pulling the cart, Jiraz says that it is their young master's first birthday. If they are late even a bit, they will be in serious trouble. Sarah is still scared to travel by that road. He replies that it cannot be helped. They will save about an hour if they go this way. On their way, they see a lot of corpses and ruined things. All of those men and animals were brutally killed. This area used to be a town, but now has become a corpse field. Jiraz wonders when they will defeat Signium and bring back peace. Sarah feels sick and tells him to hurry and leave this place. Suddenly, she hears the cries of a child. She turns her head and finds that a newborn is lying in his dead father's arms and crying continuously. Jiraz signals her to keep going, but she looks at that child with mercy. They start their journey again, but can hear the sound of those cries. Jiraz says that the sooner that kid leaves this world, the better it is for him. Sarah can't bear it more and suddenly runs back, grabs that baby and holds him in her arms. She looks at him with affection. Jiraz yells and asks if she wants him to live the life of a slave. He reminds her that they are cursed people who will never enjoy life. The baby boy is smiling now. She looks at him and says Jiraz is wrong. She is still happy as a slave, and it is because he freed her from that curse. They both look at each other emotionally. After 5 years, the scene appears at Jiraz's home. The newborn baby is a bit young now. His name is Nero. Jiraz and Nero have sat in the room and Sarah is lying on the bed. She is pregnant. Nero eats something. A secret tunnel is present in their room. It is covered with a white sheet of cloth. While lifting a sheet of cloth from the tunnel's door, Jiraz asks Nero about his age. Nero becomes a wonder to see this secret tunnel. Sarah says Jiraz, the time has come to tell him about the truth. He is smarter than most of the other kids. Jiraz is going to the tunnel and says Nero to follow him. They both enter in the tunnel through rope stairs. A candle is lighting in the tunnel. Knight becomes astonished to see a bulk of books in the tunnel. He asks Jiraz if this tunnel had made their grandfather's grandfather. Jiraz says no, it had made their grandfather's grandfather's father. Jiraz asks Nero about two things that are restricted to slaves. He tells one thing is a weapon and the other thing is a book. Jiraz picks a book from the book rack. He opens the book and says slaves are forbidden to touch a weapon or a book. He reads from the book that it is the change in the world, and that change always starts with a weapon and a book. He further says, when the world changes, the masters do not want them to change alongside it. He closes the book by saying that their ancestors realized that the world will inevitably change, so when the world changed, he wanted his descendants to be ready. That's why he prepared this place. He hands over book to Nero, and takes the promise that he will keep this place a secret, and silently prepares himself. He firmly says the world will change. God has blessed twin girls to Sarah. Their names are Sylvie and Wendy. After some years, Jairus's dead body has placed on the ground near his house. After seeing their father's dead body, the little girls run toward Nero. They told Nero that something happened to their father. Jiraz's family is weeping bitterly on his grave. A man who is a murderer of Jiraz comes there and puts flour on his grave. He says sneerily that refusing his medicine become the cause of his death. Sarah yells and says that they had used everything to buy some medicine. He turns his head back and says that he will buy her at the auction house. She shouts and claims he has put poison in her husband's medicine. He puts his hand vigorously on her mouth. He tells her that he is a commoner and she is a slave. He jerks her and warns that he will take his revenge. Nero does not bear his worst behavior. He tries to leap toward the man, but Sarah stops him. When the man shows his fist to beat her, she alerts that she is the property of the Ragas family. They will not hold back if one of their belongings gets damaged. He stops and turns back. He mocks and says that she is a damaged slave without a husband. He asserts that their owner will sell them off. Gariz's family glares at the man. After a few days, Sarah's master sells her to the murderer of her husband. While she is working at her master's building, her master orders her to greet her new master. She becomes astonished to see this brutal man. The brutal man is laughing because he has succeeded in his mission. He brings Sarah away from her children on horse cart. Her children weep bitterly. Sarah advises to Nero that he is now the oldest. He should protect his siblings. He must never cry in front of his little sisters. Sometime later, a brutal man killed Sarah. People gather around her. Noro arrives at that place and becomes upset to see his mother. People gossip that he must be her son. His little sisters are crying for their mother. Noro handles them. Soldiers arrest a brutal man and bring him to jail. The man yells that he is not a murderer. Sarah had the same cost as a horse. He asks loudly that killing a horse will put him in jail. Soldiers rebuke him and say that he is a murderer, talk as much as he wants in jail. Nero glares at the man. Nell and his two little sisters return to their home. At night, both little sisters are sleeping in the bed. Nero goes toward the tunnel. After the murder of his parents, he prepares himself to take revenge. For this purpose, he holds the sword eagerly. He recalls Jira's words that the world will change with a weapon and a book. Nate swings his sword eagerly in the tunnel. He put his sword on the tunnel's floor. He becomes tired and leans back with the book rack. His body is sweating. He takes off his shirt. A pendant is hanging on his neck. He sees it. Suddenly, his sister calls him for dinner. He says he will be right there. After dinner, his two little sisters lay down with him on his bed. He says that they should sleep in their bed. Little sisters are scared. His little sister Sylvie tells him that Wendy keeps having nightmares and Sylvie gets scared whenever Wendy is scared. Miro asks what kind of nightmare Wendy had. Wimbledon replies that she and Sylvie are separated and going to different masters. Miro says, "Don't say stuff like that." He will do whatever it takes to make sure they will not be sold off. They are going to become commoners. Sylvie says how they become commoners. He replies that there are 3 ways. The first way is by paying a lot of money to the country. After they do that, they can live their own lives. Sylvie says that they do not adapt the first way because they do not have any money. The second way is by pledging his life to the country and achieving a national merit. That's probably not going to happen. The last way is Excanum. They ask about the Excanum. He tells them it is an academy where the current emperor had once a slave. It is the academy from where Emperor Miran graduated. After 1 year, the emperor of the Mu Empire arrived at this place. His soldiers are also present at this place with him. Kundan and his son hear the sound of horse steps which are coming towards them. Kundan and his son run toward the emperor. Kundun apologizes to the emperor that he cannot welcome him properly because they are not expecting his sudden arrival. The emperor replies that he will be attending tomorrow's meeting at the Council of Aruka. That's why he comes here uniformly. While the emperor is descending from the horse, he further says that the father of Kundun is a father to him as well. So of course he will visit him first. Kundun and his son lean their head to give him honor. The emperor sees towards the Kundun's son. He says to Kundun that his son has grown much. Kundun tells to emperor that he is his eldest son. His name is Evan. Evan happily says that it is an honor for him to meet with the emperor. The emperor asks him if he will attend the Excanem Academy next year. He replies, "Yes, Majesty." The emperor tells him that they will have a lot to talk about, seeing that he is a senior of that academy. The boy requests him to come inside. Kundun calls their slaves. They all gather there. Kundun orders his slaves to hurry and prepare a banquet for the Majesty. The Majesty says no, it is fine. He has already eaten before he comes. He puts his hand with affection on Evan's head and says he simply wishes to visit the place where the young Kundun grows up. He further says that he has a leisurely talk with the future junior of Excanem. He takes permission from the emperor that escort him to the place where his father used to play. Majesty laughs and says him to lead the way. Nero sees this all silently. They go to the place where Evan's father had to use magic. There is a large tree present at this place. A small house is present on the branch of this tree. They both look at the tree. The emperor tells the boy that this is the place where Kundun grows up. The place is so calm and it fascinates nature. Evan tells the emperor that his father enjoys to live in nature rather than to live in the city. The emperor agrees with the boy and tells his father always says that magic is found in nature. Nature is a key to become a great magician. Evan wishes to become a black magician like his father. The emperor asks him if he possesses talent in that field. He replies that he has not received formal training yet. Then he shows some magic through his hand in front of him. The emperor becomes a wonder to see it. He says that he can already manipulate magic at this age. His father's blood truly runs through him. Evan says that whenever he does not have a lecture, he also comes to this place to enjoy nature. Suddenly, a group of crazy bulls run to attack them. The emperor guards try to stop them, but the bulls kill them wildly. Evan uses his magic power to kill them, but this does not affect on bulls. Evan yells and asks from where these bulls have come. The emperor says to Evan before he get hurt, "Hurry and leave this place." While he grabs his sword to kill them, Nero comes in front of the bulls to stop them. He opens his arms bravely in front of the bulls. He uses his pendant to stop the bulls. At this moment, Nero recalls Gerase's words that Gerase is not his real father. His real father was an elf, and he had already died. By holding the pendant in his hand, he tells the incredible power that he possesses is all because of this pendant. This pendant power helps him to commune with birds and animals, but yet he does not tell anyone about this secret. The emperor becomes wondered to see this. He asks Nero that he possesses the power to commune with animals. Suddenly, a bull roars widely and attacks Nero. Nero readily holds the sword of the Emperor's guard and kills the bull bravely. After this, he falls on the ground. He looks in very bad condition. The Emperor and Evan look wonder to see his courage. The Emperor asks again to Nero if he has used magic, or he is able to commune with animals. He leans with humility in front of the Emperor and says he does not use any magic. He tells that he has worked at the farm where these bulls live, and animals usually hesitate to attack the people who feed them. The Emperor looks suspicious. After that, he asks Nero about the reward for protecting his life. He thinks and readily requests him to attend the Excanem Academy. After listening to Nero's request, Evan becomes ruffle. He yells and says that Nero is a slave and that he can attend the Excanem Academy. The Emperor leans toward Nero. Evan stops the Emperor by saying that this boy has a vulgar stench. His guards say that Nero is a slave and they fear that he has a hidden weapon in his body. The Emperor says to Nero that communing with the animals to protect him is quite impressive. He also knows that Nero communed with those animals to attack him, and Nero is a half-elf. After listening to this, Nero looks scared. The Emperor stands up and turns back. He says that for a slave holding a weapon is treason, but this slave has protected his life. However, he will avoid the death penalty. He orders to send him immediately to the Akali mine to atone for his action. He will work there as a laborer for the rest of his life. Nero becomes terrible. At night in the presence of moonlight, few slaves are bringing toward Icebomb. They tie with strings, but they do not know where they are going. They look very sick and helpless. Some guards go with them. Slaves do not want to leave their area, but they are going under the pressure of guards. One of them asks where they are going. He wants to go home. Its poor fellow says him to forget everything. They are away from their home. He tells him that no one will protect them. He asks for what reason everyone is preparing for death. Another poor fellow tells him it is for a magic ore, which is the ingredients used in making enchanted weapons. This magic ore had proven to be quite helpful during the last war. But Zalbam is a very dangerous area because monsters live there. This magic ore known to be an addictive substance to kill monsters. On the other side, Nero's little sisters are alone at home. Both of them feel scared because they are not strong enough to do anything. They frighten that their master will sell them off, but they have trust that Nero will come back and protect them. Wendy says to Sylvie that they just need to start doing whatever they ask them, whether it be cleaning or cooking. Suddenly a commoner and their master enter their house. Little girls become panicked to see them. The commoner looks happy to see them. He says they are cute twins. The commoner wants to get them. For this purpose, he says to their master that he will give 300 gold to buy them. This is a fair price for two kids because they cannot do much work. Their master does not satisfy. He claims that he has heard some nasty rumors about him, so he will not sell him these little girls. The commoner praises the master by saying that he is the greatest noble in Araka. He asks him that he believes in the dirty rumors spread by commoners. He further says he will give 450 gold. Little sisters become terrible. The master does not satisfy to sell them. The commoner becomes ready to give 600 gold. He further says that he will not pay any more than 600 gold. He is convincing to say that he can fetch a strong male slave with this amount. The master does not persuade with his talk. He sees little girls with mercy. He refuses to sell them. While the commoner is going, he says to him whenever he will change his mind, then inform him. Little girls listen to their gossip silently when the commoner has gone. The little girls become happy that their master has not sold them. They thank for his goodness. They praise their elder master, is a kind man. Nero also goes with slaves that are bringing toward Azabam. He cannot believe that the chance he had prepared for a year was a failure. He cries about his worst situation. He worries about his sisters. He does not want to die. He thinks that he needs to protect his sisters. Suddenly, a man shows his magic force on him. All slaves become astonished to see this force. Nero tells that he has a weak heart. His little shit will attack on his heart. At this spot, a monster comes and attacks on neck of one slave. The monster roars wildly and kills him cruelly. One of the guard which sits on a horse attack with arrows and kills monster. Security men warn them if they want to live they should keep up the pace. Nitro becomes more worried to see the death of the slave. He does not want to die at this place like him. The guards bring them to an unknown place where they meet with a warden. While the guard descending from his horse, he says that it has been a year since they last saw each other. He glads to see him alive. The warden asks the reason for the late coming. He asks why there are only 14 slaves. There were 18 slaves in total. He says that 3 slaves have died from hunger and 1 has died from a crazed beast. The warden feels disappointed to see slaves' condition. He says that if they give them a labor force, they should at least have been in good condition, but they are all weak and useless. They do not do as much work as they need. He scolds them why they stand around them. He orders them to hurry, grab pickaxes, and line up. The guard untie the strings of slaves. They pickaxes and start their work. The slave has informed to prepare supper tonight because the warden is much scarier than any monsters. Whenever they will ever meet him, so do not talk back to him. One of them tells to warden that he is not a slave. He is a commoner, but due to some unfortunate circumstances, he was wrongfully brought here. He requests to warden if he could be part of the administrative force. He will make sure to reward him. After listening to this, he becomes furious. He shows his sword to terrify him. He yells and tells that now he is at this place and he is just his machine. He says him to forget about his past. He warns him that if he cannot accept that fact, then he will either die by his hand or by some monsters. One slave looks very weak. He tries to do work with an axe, but he cannot do it. He falls on the ground due to shoulder weakness. He tells to guard that he cannot hold axe because his shoulder become damaged. Guards see him with anger and scolds if his shoulder hurts that much. Then he will remove his shoulder. The slave become terrible and requests to leave him. Suddenly, guard listens the sounds of monster steps. He alerts to everyone that monster has come. Guard turns his face back and orders to slaves to grab sword and prepare for battle against monster. They replies that they are slaves. They cannot hold sword. Guard tells that it does not matter, he is slave. If you want to live then, they should go and get a sword. Nero looks scared at this time. Monster has arrived there and roar wildly. There is a huge axe in the monster's hand. It looks very huge and dangerous. The warden and guards become scared to see that huge monster. Guards order to slaves to attack the monsters. They tells that they have never swung a sword before. Monster kills one man with his axe, then he moves toward warden to kill him. Warden asks who can fight this monster, but all men are still silent and terrible at that time. When the monster swings his axe to kill warden, suddenly Nero comes from the back and attacks the monster to kill it. Monster roars wildly, but Nero holds sword firmly and kills it badly. All slaves look happy. The warden and his guards are astonished to see Nero's bravery. The warden asks his name. He tells his name is Nero. He further asks him from where he learns to use a sword. He says that he can use a sword when he had brought to this place. He impresses with his bravery. He praises that Nero is an interesting fellow. He selects him as a guard. Warden tells to Nero, not misunderstand. He is only a temporary guard from lunch till dinner, and when he is off duty he will go to mine. If there are any monsters, he will deal with them. He inspires him by saying that it is better than spending all his days inside that mining cave. To listen, this Nero becomes happy. He says thanks to the warden. He claims that he will do his best and kill any monsters that attack them. Warden praises that he seems pretty useful. He says to Nero, not to get cocky. He says that he was just lucky last time, since that monster was focused on him. He advises him to learn the basics of welding a sword. Another warden, which standing there says to Nero that it is hard to believe that they are giving a chance him to practice swordsmanship as a slave. If he will give proper training, he will be more useful for them. Warden calls Samuel. He replies, yes, boss. Warden says Samuel whenever this kid is on guard duty, teach him how to use a sword. Samuel is an elite Dark Knight. Nero becomes happy to see Dark Knight. When Samuel gives training to Nero, two wardens take tea near them. They watch their training and gossip. One warden asks another that their guards start to slack off. Another warden replies that they are already lazy. Instead of watching their training, they remain idle. They talk about Nero and that he is improving fast as he is a natural-born genius. If Nero was not a slave, he could probably get into an elite academy. They feel bad for Nero because they know that death awaits the people here. Nero learns to use a sword attentively. After swinging the sword, Samuel becomes tired. He stops his training. After his training, Samuel tells Nero that he still lacks power in his swings. He instructs him to focus on improving the strength of his muscles when he is mining. Roland says that he is trying his best. Samuel says to Nero to take off his shirt. He says that there is nothing more reliable on how hard he has worked than his muscles. He encourages Nero by saying that he has certainly improved, but he is still far off, so not to be held back when he is mining. After getting training from Samuel, Nero enters in mining cave. Three men look at him with jealousy and say that he is an awfully happy kid. The first man says that they are dying with the workload. The second man asks Nero that he hears that he even gets cheese soup while he is on guard duty. Third man says with jealousy that he is better from them because he is getting more value from warden. First man says with anger to Nero not to smile when he is around them because it makes them want to kill him. He frightens to Nero by telling him that all the guards eventually die to monsters and new people take their spots, and he will not be able to smile when that time comes. A guard comes from back and scolds them to get back to their work. These man moves back to do their work. After listening to their talk, Nero becomes sad. To see him in this situation, an old man consoles him by saying that they are ungrateful bastards. They only alive because of him. He further says that it is the nature of human beings, and humans tend to hate people who are doing better than them. Humans are also scared of the differences between each other, and become dumbfounded when faced with overwhelming strength. But in the end, they are all the same Sai. Minro listens to his talk attentively. Suddenly Nero listens someone voice who says that it is an emergency, prepare for combat. After listening this, he runs toward outside of cave. When Nero comes outside of the cave, he sees a gang of monsters which lead to a huge monster. The huge monsters look very dangerous. He has grasped a huge dagger in his hand. It kills many men badly through his dagger. After killing these men, huge monster is ready to kill the warden. Warden looks powerless in front of the monster. Monster frightens him by saying that it already called for reinforcements. It will die all soon. Warden yells for the emperor to come as soon as he can. Monster tells him that only those humans remain longer, who have an empire. Warden says not to tell him that the monster becomes irritated from his answer. He separates his neck from his body through a dagger. After seeing this, Nero becomes terrible. Huge monster orders its fellows to seize the mime. Small monsters move forward to seize the mime. At that time, Samuel comes with his sword rapidly to stop them. He says Nero to step back. He cannot fight these monsters because he is too young. Samuel swings his sword powerfully to kill them, but the huge monster also kills Samuel badly with his dagger. He orders his fellows to eat all of the humans they can find. After listening this, Nero runs inside the cave. He becomes astonished to see that all the slaves have lost their strength. They have put their sword on the floor of the cave. They look very scared. Nero asks them about it. One of them tells that those monsters want this mine. They just need to ask them to use them as slaves. Huge monsters come from the back at that time and laugh at them. It says that humans are quite interesting indeed. It says that they do not need any slaves, they just need meat. After it, it starts to eat slaves. Nero do not bear it. He starts to kill small monsters with his sword. To see this, the huge monster becomes astonished. It hangs the Nero on the sharp tip of his dagger. When the sharp tip of the dagger pierces his body, bleeding starts from his mouth. Monster says to Nero that he is definitely more useful and stronger than those lousy lots over there. But young meat taste is best. It will eat him to get the best taste. Suddenly, Emperor comes at that time. He kills the monster and prevents Nero from it. Nitro has injured due to attack of the monster. Nero looks in very bad condition. The Emperor encourages him by saying that he is a hero who protected his people. Nero feels that he will no longer live. He requests the Emperor to bestow his deed to his sisters. The Emperor consoles him by saying that he will not allow him to die there. Other slaves which present in cave feel jealousy from the sympathy that the Emperor shows for Nero. One of them yells and says to Emperor that Nero was useless. He just got in the way and injured himself. The truth is that they have protected this mine by using their sword, but the Emperor denies to accept their cock and bull story. The Emperor says that their blade is quite clean for someone who protected this mine. He shows his magical attack on slaves to penalize them. He lifts Nero in his hands and orders their captain that after this boy makes a full recovery, have him attend the Excanum Academy. After his recovery, he prepares himself for going to the Excanum. For this, he goes home to take his luggage. He meets with his sisters and says goodbye to them. His sisters ask him when they will meet again. He replies he does not know about this, but he will make sure to be back before they are all grown up. All of them look happy. He advises them not to ever disappoint their master. He further says to work hard like their parents and become praiseworthy kids. They reply they will do whatever he wants. Tears of joy come in their eyes. Sylvie says she will do the dishes and work super hard. Wendy says that she will do all the cleaning. He says when he comes back, hopefully they become commoners. Slaves of this area are keeping the luggage of noble families in the luggage cart, which is attached to the horse cart. The young nobles are also going to the Excanum Academy with the Nero. The young nobles sit on the horse cart. The cart driver tells Nero to hurry. The Nero puts his luggage in the luggage cart and asks the driver if he just needs to ride in the luggage cart. The driver replies, of course he should ride in a luggage cart. After seeing this, the Emperor's captain asks the driver what he is doing. The captain reminds the driver that His Majesty has commanded him to treat Nero with care. The Evan and a young noble is listening to this silently. Evan tells others with offense that this dirty boy is going to ride with them. One of them says unhappily that he has earned His Majesty's favor. While climbing on the luggage cart, Nero says to the soldier that it is fine. It is springtime, so he prefers to travel in the luggage cart. He says to the captain not to worry about him. The captain, in anger, puts his sword on the driver's neck and tells him about the Nero's kindness, that after this all he is still happy. The driver becomes faint. The captain says to the driver it is still the flu season. He should have enough food and supplies prepared. He warns him if this boy arrives at the academy with a sickly disease, then his entire family will be at risk. They start their journey. The driver tells them that they are departing. The sun is setting. Nero looks very happy and satisfied. He firmly holds the sword and remembers that the Emperor had given him this sword. When he was injured, the Emperor went to him and told him that the sword belonged to his warden Gigas. He further said that his warden had lost 3 of his sons in the war against demons. Out of grief, the warden isolated himself by volunteering to work at the mine. The emperor told him in sorrow that now this man had lost his own life. This sword had no longer an owner, he shall entrust it in his care. The emperor said that treated it well because this blade is the heirloom of the Gygas family. The Nero enjoys his journey because he waits for a long time, and finally, he holds a sword. The driver tells them that they are almost there, and get ready to enter the academy. Nero becomes a wonder to see. Ex-Ganem in front of him. Nero and all young nobles move toward the Ex-Ganem entrance gate. 2 guards stood at the entrance gate. One of them asks about the name of their family. The young nobles reply they are from the Ragas family. The guards say, "Oh, that is the family of Lord Kundun." The guards are glad that they have all made it safely. Evan's companion gestures towards Nero and says he is a slave. He also tells to the guards that Nero is an adoptive son of the Ragas family, as declared by His Majesty. Nero looks embarrassed. After that, they enter the academy. Nero follows Evan. Evan becomes irritated by Nero and says in wrath not to walk next to him. He turns and says he does not want him to be around because his stench is atrocious. He says to Nero that he does not associate himself with the Ragas family. Even if someone asks him about his family, he does not ever mention his name. He tells him that he will be a lowly slave, and he will be his noble master. After saying this, Evan goes. All the young nobles gather at the main hall of the academy. A haughty girl who is standing at the podium of the hall welcomes everyone, and tells them that she is the headmistress of the Ex-Ganem Academy. She says to his companion that people from all ranks are here. They all look so adorable. She addresses the young nobles that they may call her Katia Maragas. She has high expectations for all the prospective students. She cannot describe how excited she is for this year. The descendants of the heroes who once aided Emperor Miran during the last war against the demons have all gathered at this place. She tells them that Kondon, Atramis, 3 royal families of the Elven Queen, Lundala and Gaian families have gathered there. She feels a sense of awe as a new story begins once more. However, this story will not just be about these descendants, it will also be about them. She says young nobles shall represent the future generation of their empire, and this will all be possible with the noble blood that flows within them. She introduces their professors to them, and says that they become the heroes of their generation with the help of their wonderful professors. She promises that they will make this a reality. She again welcomes them with affection. The young nobles look so courageous after the headmistress's oration. Nero thought that this speech is not for him. A boy from the crowd sees Nero and says that he must be a slave because a filthy smell comes from him. He says that Nero looks so crude and this place is not built for him. After this, all young nobles gathered on the ground with their masters. Their masters tell them yet they are not the students of this academy. To become students of this academy, they will need to take an entrance exam next month and pass it. Until then, they will be divided into groups and prepare for the upcoming test together. One young noble asks if they fail the test, what will happen? The master replies that of course they will be sent home. All young nobles become scared. The master says it is a military academy. There is no room for the weak young. The master says that in any case they will learn more about the exam in the coming weeks. He says that the entrance exam will be taken in groups of 5, and the groups have already been decided. After they are separated into groups, they will all train together for a month. The groups are mixed gender. A girl within them becomes scared to think how they can live with the boys. Some young nobles wish to be grouped with the Kundun family, while some want to be with the Atramis family. 2 boys, Hakan and Jakan, whisper to each other that they wish to be grouped with the elf family because elf princesses are very hot. The elf princess goes toward the boys and slaps their faces. She says that their ears are sharp and warns them to refrain from saying such repulsive talks. Their master stops the elf princess and says she does want to be sent back home before the exams. Offensively, she goes back. Nero looks stunned to see her bravery. Their master calls Evan, Jakon, Hakon, Neria, and Nero to the front and tells them that their group will be on the 3rd floor of room C. The group leader will be Evan. Nero sees Neria and thinks that she cannot be a noble. Neria looks anxious. Evan offensively thinks that he cannot believe he is in the same group as these losers. After grouping, all Group C members move into their room. Evan says to Nero and Neria that he does not want this room to stink. Go and take a bath. He asks Nero why he is not addressing him as master. Nero replies because he declines him. He says to him that he does not want other people to know about their relationship. Evan says, but now they are in the same group, so he needs to remember that he is his master and he is a slave. He yells and says go to take a bath. Nero and Neria run away. Neria looks very upset. Nero thinks why she is acting like he is her master. They both stand outside the room. Nero closes the room's door. Neria happily says to Nero that she feels nice to meet with him. She knows that they both are slaves. Nero asks if she is a half-elf. She answers yes. She is a half-elf. She says in disappointment that she does not have any special powers like an elf. Nero advises her not to tell anyone that she is a half-elf. Just show them the bare minimum. Then he goes to the bathhouse. The boys are taking showers there. Nero is also taking a shower in a bathtub, and thinks that it is like heaven. He remembers when he was dying, the emperor did not allow him to die there. He thinks that the emperor has other plans for him. He wants him to prove himself to everyone. He also wants him to rise above and force the nobles to submit themselves to him. After taking a bath, he goes back to his room. A pile of filthy clothes is placed in the room. Evan orders Nero to go and do the laundry. He is playing cards with his friends. He says Nero to hurry. Nero says that he will make sure they are nice and clean for the next day. He picks clothes from the floor and hardly puts a heap of clothes in his arms. Naria becomes a wonder to see this all. Nero goes to the laundry area. He is washing the clothes in a wooden tub. Naria comes there and drags a wooden tub towards Nero. Nero asks what she is doing. She replies that she will help him. He says her to leave him. His chores are his chores, and her chores are her chores. It is disgusting for them to see slaves helping each other. Naria apologizes to him and goes back. At night, they are all present in their room. Evan lies down on his bed and reads a book. While Nero and Neria sit on their beds, Shokan and Hakan are teasing Neria. Jakan says her to dance for him. She sighs. She says that she has never danced before. Jokan tells him in satire that she is very fatty how she dances. Jokan says to her if she cannot dance, then sing for him. Jokan tells her that she knows that the only reason why these slaves can enjoy all of this comfort is due to the taxes paid by their nobles. So, she shall do her part, and repay the benevolence they have granted thus far. Marius sings a song for them. They get bored with his song, or ask if she knows any heart-wrenching love songs. She replies, this is the only song which she knows. Evan closes his book and says to his friends, let's go to sleep. He orders Nero to turn off the lights. The next morning, Nero brings Evan's breakfast. Evan asks him why he is so late. Nero apologizes and tells that the cafeteria is far away from their room. Evan asks why he has not brought his friends food. Nero becomes scared and runs to bring his friends food. Naria is watching this all. She gets up and runs to help Nero. She replies that she is just helping her. It is hard for him to get all the food by himself. Nero in aggression says to her that he already stopped her from doing this kind of thing. Naria says that this would be the last time she will help out. They bring their food. Evan satire them and says they are very slow. He falls the food on the floor. He orders them to throw away all of that food and bring another set for his friends. If they cannot get any more, then they give their food to them. Nero and Neria bring another food for Evan's friends. They eat the food and go to take their first lesson. Evan orders Nero to clean the area. He also says them not to eat leftovers like they are animals. Cleanly dispose of it all into the trash. Nero and Neria start cleaning their room. Then Evan and his companions go out of the room. Gimria apologizes to Nero and says it is all her fault. Nero becomes angry and says to Neria that all of this happened because she just has to help out. He says Neria to mind her own business. Neria looks sad. After this, Nero also feels shame for his words. He thinks about what happened to him. After that, they go to take their first lesson. Their professor tells them that they find someone from their group and have a match with them. He reminds them that they are in this academy to become soldiers. They are trying to assess their skills. He orders them to be ready for their competition. Jokin chooses Nero, and Hakan chooses Neria for their fight. Evan tells them that they will not give them points for beating up useless trash. Neria becomes nervous and tells Nero that she cannot fight. Their master starts the competition and tells them that to win, they must force the other person to surrender. Jokin says to Nero that does not worry, he will go easy on him, because he probably has no idea how to use a sword. They start their fight. EP-7 Nero breaks the wooden sword of Jokin. Jokin calls his professor and tells him that this wooden sword must have been old. The professor wonders to see this broken wooden sword. He says that he has checked it before. He had given him a new piece of sword. After that, he gives him another sword. When Jokin hits his sword with Nero's sword, Nero breaks this second sword. By seeing Nero's power, Professor Evan and the elf princess become astonished. Jenkins cries and asks the professor why all the wooden swords are in bad condition. They all break whenever he hits his blade. The professor tells him that all the swords are in good condition. His opponent is extremely strong and he is just very good at breaking swords. Jenkins surrenders himself in front of Nero to see his power. Students praises him that Nero is very good at fighting. They ask from each other and wonder that if he is really 14 years old. One of them tells that his harsh life has made him powerful. Professor asks from students if there is anyone who still has not found an opponent to fight. He tells them that if anyone cannot find an opponent in his group, then find one in a different group, and if he do not find anyone, then their points will be deducted. After some time, Professor orders the winner to move to the right side and all the losers to move to the left side of him. Nero goes toward the winner side. He looks very happy and thinks that wooden swords are surprisingly light, and he gained a lot of muscle from working at the mine. When Nero stands at the winner's side, he sees that Elf is coming toward him. He says her that he thought he would be the first one to be here. Nero says her that he feels nice to meet her. He says that he has watched her fight briefly. She is really strong. Miss Elf Princess replies to him that fighting with swords is not her specialty. It's because these guys do not even know the base. She asks him why he is using formal speech. He says that he is a slave. That's why he is using formal speech. She asks the meaning of slave. He says that it is a status. She says Nero in a rage mood that she does not care about any of that, nor she cares enough to explain herself. She says to Nero to focus on his fight. Nero replies, "Okay, miss." At this time, Evan comes near him saying that he cannot believe he is late getting over here. Elf Princess says hi, son of Kundun. Evan replies that he had told him that his name is Evan. She replies in attitude that it is not her duty to remember his name. She tells him that they are still in the middle of class. He can save his small talk when they have their breaks. Evan wants to approach her. For this purpose, he offers her a meeting at a break time. She replies with attitude that she will see. At the end of the match, they come back to their room. Naro and Narya have sat on the bed. Narya's face has wounded BQs. She got beat up quite a bit during the match. Nero asks her if she even swings his sword. She tells that she did never swing his sword before, because she was too scared. At that time, Evan, Hyken, and Jacken enter in room. Evan calls Nero toward him. Nero goes toward Evan. To Evan says Nero in anger that he has forgotten about his situation since they have been living at this academy. That's why he has been acting without much thought. Nero requests him to forgive him. Evan looks at Nero with rage and says that he will have to properly to teach him once more what the value of his existence is. After saying this, he orders Nero to become a horse. Nero becomes astonished by listening his punishment. Nero leans in front of Evan to become a horse. Evan orders Nero to neigh for him. Nero starts neigh for him. Jacken asks Evan if he can ride him for free. Evan gives permission him to sit on him. Nero starts crying because he cannot bear his weight. Jacken orders him to start running in the room. Hikun thinks a mischief in his mind and calls to Narya to get over here. Nero yells and says not to make her a horse. Hakon does not stop and forces her to become a horse. When she leans to become a horse, Hikon readily sits on her back and grasps her hair in his hand. She cries for his misbehavior. After enjoying their riding, they become bored and they go outside of the room to take a shower. Evan says them whenever he says horse, get on all four legs and run toward them. Evan and Narya look very vulnerable and helpless. Narya cries and tells him that his master never did anything like this at home. After enjoying their riding, they become bored and they go outside of the room to take a shower. Evan says them whenever he says horse, get on all four legs and run toward them. Evan and Narya look very vulnerable and helpless. Narya cries and tells him that his master never did anything like this at home. Hakon is very heavy. He has hurt so much. Nero says Narya to stop crying. At this time Nero stands. His legs have injured. Instead of weeping, he smiles. Narya becomes astonished to see his patience. Nero consoles him by saying that just smile, it will hurt less. He further says when it hurts less, then she will be able to endure, and when she can endure it, she will be able to wait long enough. Eventually, after waiting long enough, it will come to her. My father and mother have told me all these things. It is also even stated in the books. Narya asks what is going to come to her. Nero tells that it is a chance. At night, when Evan is sleeping in his bed, Nero goes near his bed. He hangs his sword on Evan's face. He wants to kill him. He stops himself after thinking about the punishment of Evan's murder and goes towards his bed. When he is on his bed, Narya says him that he made the right choice. Nero tells her that there is a monster growing inside of him, and they lash out at them to hide their monsters from others. He further says that even though they can clearly see what kind of a monster they are becoming, Narya replies that they have no idea how big it is getting. In the morning, all the students gather in the ground of the academy, where a professor shows a magic on his palm and tells them that this is a magic and everyone has some mana within them. Elves, nobles, and commoners have mana. Nor a single person is excluded from this. Someone hoots during the class. To listen to this, hooting the professor becomes angry. He rebukes and says if anyone makes that sound again, he will be kicked out of the class. After this, he tells to all students of the class that magic is the power to manipulate mana to materialize things into existence. He says the bridge that ties the usage of mana to become a magic spell is called an incantation. Incantation is the language created by the divine mage Lugard, and through him they have been blessed to use that power. One of them asks from Professor if he is sure that he has mana because he never used magic before. The professor holds his hand and teaches him if there is something rotating on the palm of his hand, then put all his focus on that thought and create a mental image of it. When he feels like something is beginning to take form, he wants to shout Anakrasha. The student sees toward his palm and shouts Anakrasha. The professor encourages him and says do it again, focus and have more faith this time. After it, he follows his professor's instruction. He holds his arm, focuses on his palm and shouts Anakrasha. He becomes very surprised after seeing that some spell starts emerging from his palm. To increase this spell, he instructs him to try and imagine it spinning around and then turn that spin into a whirlwind. When he is following his professor's instruction, he looks very surprised because the spell that emerges from his hand spins into a whirlwind. The professor tells them that they do not have to shout out their incantation. He mentions a few reasons as to why they should not shout their incantation. He tells that when they are on a battlefield, by shouting their incantine, they are signaling the opponent that they are about to attack them. He further says that it takes quite a bit of training to properly utilize silent casting. He instructs them to work hard and polish their skills. After it, professor says to all students to do training on their hand. All students follow the instructions of their professor. They look surprised after seeing that spell spins on their palm. At this time, Evan moves his hand upward and blooms this spell into flames. After seeing his strength, all students become surprised. The professor praises him for his strength. He encourages all students by saying that they will also be able to accomplish something like this after enough practice. The professor feels that some students have become discouraged after seeing Evan's magic strength. He inspires them by saying not to be discouraged and continue to work hard and have faith that they will eventually have the strength to turn the impossible into the inevitable after that. Professor goes nearer to Evan and tells him that casting unpermitted spells at the age of 14 is illegally, and the private tutor that he illegally hired is a colleague of his. He stops him to discourage their classmates. When all the students are practicing to create spells on their palm, Miro looks at his palm and shouts in Akrasha. After that, he becomes surprised to see a spell spins on his palm. This spell disappears after a moment. Miro again rubs his arm to create a spell, but at this time, his spell strength is less than other students. Miro looks sad to see it. After that, the scene appears at the place where few dummies are present. The professor says that they are not official students of this academy, just yet. There is only one spell that Excanum teaches to their prospective students is the fire arrow. Commoners even know that spell. One of them replies to the professor that they cannot kill a wolf with that spell. To teach them practically, Professor throws fire wave on a dummy. It burns due to a fire attack. After seeing his amazing spell, all students become astonished. He tells them that this type of spell they should want to learn, although that spell burns the places it touches. He warns them that after the spell attack, the dummy looks as it is dead, but even in that state their opponents will still be able to attack them. He further tells the basics of spells that it is imperative to produce the best results from given resources. However, it may be small. He says only those people can go home who can hit the dummies. He says to all students that they have learned all the necessary methods at the start of the class. Now, just imagine that they are throwing their mana at those dummies. He says them to start to throw their mana on dummies. All students start to hit their spells on dummies. At this time, Miro throws his spell toward the dummy. His spell goes far but does not hit with dummy. Miria encourages him and says that his throw almost hit the dummy. He can do it if he puts a little more strength into it. Hakan has stood near him. He throws his spell toward his foot to tease him. This hot spell has burned his shoes. After seeing his burned shoes, the professor says him not to hurt his classmates. Nero becomes worried to see his burned shoes because these are only his last pair and it is the shoes that his mom had made for him. After that, Nero throws his spell exactly on the dummy. He thanks the professor for his patience, and says that he has finally succeeded in his task, and further says that he must not have any talent in magic. The professor looks at him and says he can stop with his action, but trying to deceive a professor will result in a punishment. He orders him to show him his full potential. After listening to it, he throws his spell with full strength. The professor asks him why he is hiding his strength. He tells that he is not allowed to stand out. He further says, if slaves become a nuisance to the nobles, then they will be killed. The professor says if he has a fear of nobles, then despise the nobles. After listening to it, Miro's inner power shows in his eyes. Miro sees toward the professor with his powerful eyes. By seeing his real strength of eyes, the professor says to him that those eyes of his he has seen them before. However, those eyes are not of his. They belong to that thing inside of him. He inspires him and tells if he wants to defeat those arrogant nobles, he must first conquer that thing inside of him. He further says, if he wins or loses to those nobles, that thing will eventually consume him. It is easier to overcome that thing. He tells him that revealing the good inside of him is his weakest state. He instructs him not to fall into those temptations. After some time, all students of the academy gather at the ground, where one female and two male professors stand in front of them to notify them about the strength test. The professor tells to all students that their exam will begin in 3 days. There will be a total of 7 exams during their time here at the academy, and the exams will test on the 7 genuine powers. It will be compulsory for all students to take the first of these 7 exams. The professor tells them they have all came to this academy to become soldiers. He says strength is the most basic power that all soldiers should be able to utilize. He alerts all students and says only those students remain at this academy who are able to demonstrate their strength. One student asks a question from the professor out the 5 members in the group. How many will fail the test? The professor answers that 2 students will fail the test. By listening it, all the students become astonished. The professor gives further instructions about the test that they will be only to use one weapon and spell permitted by the academy, and they have placed monsters within this test. They must defeat these monsters before they reach the end. These monsters will most definitely try to kill them. After listening to it, all students become frightened. One of them says their father never told him that he could get killed. The second professor consoles them and says to stop worrying so much about this. If they will die, they have enough power to revive them, although it is only possible shortly after they have died. Students cry and say they are nobles, and if their parents hear about this, they will take action. The professor relaxes them and says when they are on the premises of this academy, they are soldiers who are under the jurisdiction of the Imperial Army. He tells if the Emperor commands them to die, they will die, and their parents already agreed to these terms and conditions. He further says if they are scared, then there is an option available for them to leave and get out from here. After listening to this option, all students become silent. After it, the female professor further explains the most important part of the test. She tells that there will be a wooden bridge lying before them when they reach at the end of the test, and they will meet with their groupmate on that bridge. They must defeat them, because there shall only be 3 winners. After some time, all students come back to their academy. At this time, Nero takes a shower and thinks he can fight using a real sword. After taking a shower, he goes to his bedroom. He tries to sleep on his bed, but the wrong ideas come in his mind. Suddenly he wakes up. Neria shows to Nero his damaged shoes. Nero becomes shocked to see the bad state of the shoes. Actually, Heiken has damaged his shoes to tease him. He laughs at Nero's condition and says his shoes look super comfortable. So he worked it for my morning jog that day. He did not even realize it ended up in that state. Neria brings these damaged shoes toward the female tutor of the academy. He requests to give her new shoes. The female tutor tells him that all of the uniforms and shoes have already been stored away inside the storage house, since the person who has the key of the storage house will not be arriving till next semester. So the storage house will not be accessible till next month. The next day, Nero is ready to go for the test. He asks Maria if he is not going for the test. She replies that she is not feeling too good, so he can leave first. Nero leaves the room with barefoot. All members of Group 3 arrive at the test location. The professor asks about the missing student of their group. Nero feels sad to think that if Maria arrives late, she will be disqualified, but she may have already failed since time is of the essence for his test. The professor says that they are going to start on different routes with the same level of difficulty and then eventually meet at the same destination. After it, Professor allows members of Group 3 to start their test. They start to run toward their destination. Nero runs with his bare foot. On his way, he meets some monsters. He defeats them with his sword. At that time, Naria arrives at the place where the professor is taking tea. She asks him about Nero. The professor tells him that Nero has moved toward his destination. Naria runs and reaches near Nero. She gives shoes to Nero and tells him that she has repaired his shoes using her shoes. Nero asks her how she did. She tells him that the professor had given her a needle and a thread. By using thread and needle, he has repaired his shoes. She says it is inevitable that she is going to fail this test. She is a fat and scaredy cat, but he is strong and she wants to do whatever he can to make a chance a reality. Nero says thanks for her goodness. Her sympathy has increased his energy. He wears those shoes and runs to get his goal. On their way, monsters are producing hurdles for them. Chicken and Hawking fight with the monsters and kill them. After killing a large number of monsters, Hacking has tired. He tells the Guardian who is watching this fight that his 2 bones have broken. The Guardian consoles him and tells that they will heal him. Hacking warns him that he will tell his father all about this. The Guardian replies that he will also tell the Emperor all about his behavior. Hakan runs forward. He quells his arms and moves ahead. Incidentally, he meets with Jaqen. He asks him if he is alright. Jaqen is also in a bad condition. Jaqen says that he has already died multiple times. Hacking says that this is what kind of an entrance exam. Jaqen asks him about the Evan. Hacking says that he probably crossed the bridge. Suddenly, Evan reaches this place. He comes from the back of the rock and tells them that he is also here. Jaqen is aware that he is too late. They think that he has already crossed the bridge. He says that there are too many monsters and his mana gets low. He is a bit inefficient with his magic. He asks that the slave has probably failed because they do not see Nero yet. They are very close to their destination. Suddenly, they see Nero. He is running towards the bridge. They all become wonders. Nero reaches on the bridge. He looks very courageous because he is the first who has reached the destination. They see his shoes and become astonished that from where he got the shoes. Jaqen moves forward and says to Nero to go back home and clean some cow shit. They both look at each other with anger. Jaqen says even if he knows how to use a sword, he is not going to be able to beat all 3 of them. Nero kills him with a sword and falls him below the bridge. Hakan and even see this all. Hakan moves toward Nero with rage and says how he hurt his friend. He hits his sword toward Nero. In return, Nero breaks his sword. Hakan says that this sword is cheap. That's why it easily breaks. But now he will not save himself from him. He says that he knows he is a bit weak in magic. He throws his spell toward Nero. Nero also throws his spell on him. Hyken does not compete with his spell. As a result, he falls from the bridge. After that, Evan comes for a competition. Nero asks him how he already knows that this test is impossible without shoes. Evan says that he does not know what he is talking about. He shows his spell and throws it toward Nero. Nero, in wrath, also throws his spell towards him. Evan uses his teleportation spell and disappears from the bridge. He flies in the air and attacks Nero with his sword. Then instantly he throws his spell on Nero. Nero does not understand the situation and falls from the bridge. His sword falls, but he does not fall because he grips a corner of the bridge. Evan satires him that his fate has already been decided. As declared in the books of Lugard, he will start as a slave and end as a slave. Evan further throws his spell on Nero for falling him down, but it does not affect him. He survives from his spell with the help of his pendant. Evan becomes wonder to see it. His pendant gives him power. He throws his spell on Evan. He also uses a transportation spell and hits Evan. Evan falls from the bridge. While he is falling, Nero tells him that he must have been reading a different book than him. Their masters are also seeing the competition, and they have survived their lives. They are recovering their injuries. After winning the competition, Nero goes back. On the way, he sees Neria. Neria is seated on a rock and cries. She is embarrassed by her father because her father does everything for her to have this opportunity, but she cannot take part in this competition because she is too weak. Nero consoles her and says that crying is not solve anything. There is still some time left. Let's go. Neria becomes happy to listen. Nero asks Neria how she came to this academy. She tells she was an only child who grew up with just her dad. Her mother passed away when she was young, and she did her best to work hard with her dad. Their master was a very kind person, so they never suffered like their family did. Then one day, the only one of their masters was on the verge of death, and his father did everything he could to save his life. But it ended up with him losing his life. My master was able to find his will, and it stated that he wished that his only daughter did not continue to live the life of a slave. After the accident, the young master was never able to recover to his normal self. For many years, the young master trained his son to attend the Excanum Academy, but all of that ended up being in vain. After losing the hope of his family, her master lost all sense of reasoning and fell into despair. Few years later, he regained his senses and called for her. He gave her a letter and told her if she needs anything, let him know, he will support her in everything. Nero says that it is good to hear that he kept his promise to her at least. Neria says that there is no way that she will ever survive in this academy. After some time, all the students of the academy gather around at the storage house to receive the uniforms. All students are waiting to get new uniforms. Nero looks happy after receiving the uniform. He goes in room to wear the uniform. After wearing the uniform, he comes out of the room. He looks very handsome in uniform. Neria becomes surprised to see him. She says he looks really cool. The uniform suits him. After that, it is declared that if they change into their uniform, then head over to the drill hall. After arranging themselves into lines, all students go toward the drill hall. All students gather in the drill hall, where the headmistress stands on the podium of the drill hall. She welcomes all students by flying the pigeon toward them. She tells them that the uniforms they are wearing have been made with the highest grade of cloth and leather, and were hand-picked by His Majesty himself. These fine uniforms shall symbolize the glorious lives they will lead here in this academy. She says them to train hard and flourish. Aim for success. He says that if they do all that, they will be rewarded with a hug from their beautiful headmistress. At last, she tells that will be all for that day, and she will now take her to leave. After listening to this, the female professor says that she wishes she would stop saying such embarrassing things. Then the professor explains the further details to all the students. He says that he has made new groups. There will be 6 people per group. He says there will be Evan, Etramus, Van Jimmy, Arrowin, and Mary in Group A. Neria is praying to add to Nero's group. There will be Shaheen, Lucille, Neria, Johan, Yuria, and Lucas in Group B. Then the professor tells the members names of Group D. He says that there will be Nero, Turk, Tarashu, Suzy, Jen, and Zavinani in Group D. All looks at Neria and says they are in different groups now. After knowing she and Nero are in different groups, she becomes sad. Tarashu asks from professor if they're going to be sharing their rooms with the boys again. The professor tells him not to worry about that. They are growing teens and they do not have the time to monitor them. So, boys and girls shall be separated into their respective dorms. The professor asks who wants to be the group leader. Tarek and Tarashu raise their hand at that time. The professor says that he is pressed on the time. He allows that both of them can settle this amongst themselves. Tarek asks if they can decide this with strength. Tarashu replies, do whatever he wants. He will be heading over to Group E now. Tarek says that she was the one who wanted to decide this with strength. Tarashu asks if he even knows what strength means. At this time, he lifts a boulder and puts it on the ground to show his strength. Tarashu says, if this is definition of strength, then let's say whoever can break that boulder into the smallest pieces. Tarek asks if he can use any method. She replies, He can use any method to break it. He splits the boulder in half by using a broadsword. At this time, Tarasu attacks on that boulder with bow and arrow, and tear it into pieces. She says there is more strength than just swinging his sword around. Turk yells and says she has won. After seeing this, Nero feels happy. He says she is amazing, and the group is going to be pretty fun. Tarasu and her group members stand in the corridor of the academy. As a group leader, Tarasu says that she came up with some rules for them. If they are dissatisfied with any of the rules, stay it now. Otherwise, if they complain about it later, she will just ignore it. She tells the first rule that if they need to move anywhere, they will do so as a group. This is a formal request from the professor so as not to complain about it. If the majority has agreed to move, then they will move all. The second rule is that the boys will not come within 10 cm of the girls' doors, and they will not open their doors without their permission. If they need to get in contact with them, they will call for their names. The third rule is that there will be no difference in ranks within their group, so they will treat everyone equally. She further says that they do not use any formal speech amongst themselves. Jin asks Tarasu if she is saying okay for her to use informal speech to her because she is from the royal family. Tarasu replies she has forgotten their elves' ranks only exist so that they can function as a society. She further says, being a noble, they must fulfill harder, more important tasks than what the commoners have to fulfill. Hence the commoners cannot help but respect the nobles. She tells to Jen when they are outside of Noria, there is no need for them to practice that custom. Jen replies, he has understood his instructions. At this time, Susie and Zavanan yell and say how they work with them because elves and slaves are present in this group. They do not want to treat them as a slave, and treating them as a slave is the same as committing a crime. Turk replies that he does not really care because he has always been friends with his slaves. He further says that their war games require a lot of people to participate, so without slaves they would not have been able to play it. If they were stronger and better than him, then he respected them, and if they were weaker than him, then he teased them. He laughs and says that he does not care about formal speech. All masters do not hurt each other. Susie and Zavani look toward Turk angrily. Tarasu says it has been decided by the majority they will treat everyone equally. Zavanan and Susie instantly says that they still need to hear what the slave has to say. They ask Nero if he thinks he should be treated the same as them. Nero says that if they go to Noria, they abide by the Norian rules that principle applies to anywhere else, but this academy chooses people based on how strong they are. If they can prove they are stronger than him, then he will show formality. Turk laughs and taunts that they chose their leader based on strength as well. Life should always be about strength. After listening to this, Susie and Zavanan become angry. They move their face angrily toward the aside. At last, Tarasu tells that the rules have been set, so get ready to leave in 5 minutes. Their first lesson is about to start. When Tarasu comes with her group members, another princess of the royal family comes in front of her and taunts her. She says her group is pretty strong. Further, she asks in taunt behavior if she can pass the second exam with idiots like them. After listening to this, Tarek yells that she called us an idiot. Then he will show the strength of an idiot, come over here. Tarasu replies with a smile that she should not really worry about these idiots. Instead, she should be more worried about her group. She points toward Evan and says she should worry about especially that young master because she heard he suffered a heavy blow from the last exam. After listening his insult, Evan becomes furious. Miro becomes scared to see his furious eye. Tarasu says her not to waste her time with her useless talks. After it, Tarasu moves forward with her group members. Jen tells Nero it is because of the throne. Noria has 3 royal families, and only one of that 3 princesses can become the queen. Tarasu's family has not had a queen for 7 generations. At this rate, her family will fall out of the royal family, and the fate of her family resides on her back. After some time, Tarasu's group gather at a ground where their professor teaches them their first lesson. He tells them that the second exam will be a 3-on-3 team competition. They will be split into 2 groups, Group A and Group B, and only the winning group shall move on to becoming second-year students at this academy. They hear the professor's instruction attentively. The professor instructs them that their focus will be on teamwork. As such, their lesson shall primarily be about team cooperation. They are putting a heavy emphasis on teamwork, because none of them will know who will be their teammate or who will be their enemy during the second exam. Some of them may seem cruel since they all eventually kill off the people they spent a whole year. He further explains that it is the nature of this academy and they need perfect soldiers who are both cold-blooded and decisive with their actions. If they hate that idea, then they can leave this academy. Teresa replies, they do not want to leave. She requests to proceed to the main lesson. After it, the professor shows them a bag, where many straws are present. He says them to draw these straws. He says that the red straw is for Team A and the blue straw is for Team B. They draw red straw. Turk, Susie and Zavanan are in Group A. Tarasu, Nero, and Jen are in Group B. They draw blue straw. The professor laughs and says that their teams have been decided so they should get started. Tarasu asks from professor if he is in charge of teaching magic to them, and just what this have anything to do with their magic lessons. The professor replies that having a strong mental focus is essential in magic. Thus, this activity shall consume a tremendous amount of their mental focus to complete the task. Their mind, which normally focuses solely on themselves, will now have to deal with the anger of being interrupted by their teammates. If they can maintain their concentration despite these conditions, they will rise above everyone. After that, he says them to see that boulder over there. He orders them to head toward it. Tarasu says his teammates to repeat after her. When Gen lifts his leg, he does not maintain his balance. Due to imbalance, he falls to the ground. He cries and asks if he did break his bone. The professor consoles him and says no need to worry. If he breaks his bone, they will be able to pop it back into place. Tarasu shows his mana and tells him to get up hurriedly before she completely obliterates his other leg. Nero and Gen become scared. Gen gets up. Tarasu says to her teammates to repeat once more. Turka mocks on Group B. He says to her teammates to look at the Gen's strength. He is definitely the son of Lord Gaion. Tarasu yells and says them to pick up the race. She kicks Gen. She rebukes that if they do not move now, they will never catch up to them. They lift their legs for a third time, but Nero interrupts at this time. Tarasu becomes angry. She kicks Nero and starts beating him. When Gen asks her what she is doing, he starts to beat him also. At last, they lose their strength. The professor says Tima wins. Tarao says to her teammates that they are so useless. The professor says them that they will be having their first field lesson tomorrow, so be prepared for that. After that, they all move toward their room. Tarek teases Tarasu by saying that he hopes they can continue to be on Tara's team. Tarasu feels sad and says that she hates his team. At this time, Tarek takes off his shirt. After seeing his body, Suzy and Zavanin become surprised. They say it is so hot. At this time, Tarasu puts her sword on Tarek's neck and says him to go and get dressed in his own room. After seeing his angry mood, they run outside the room. When they are leaving their room, a mischief comes in. Tarek's mind. They start peeking through the window. At this time, Tarasu turns his face and sees that they are peeking through window. She goes toward her room's window and attacks them with her sword. They fall on the ground of the corridor. Turk says when Tarasu opened the window, he strained his neck really hard. Next morning, Nero and his group members gather in the spirit forest to get their second lesson. The professor tells them they are going to be practicing magic teamwork that day. In order to do that, they will be heading over to the spirit forest. At this time, he shows a wisp on his palm. He tells them they are important creatures that will serve as a guide. Tarasu starts to converse with Wisp. Since spirits are usually friendly with the elves and they are able to converse them at this time, Professor stops her and tells she is not allowed to use that power for this challenge. He says that they must win fair and square. No special powers are allowed. Tarasu replies, "Okay, Professor." For further details, he tells there are 4 great spirits in that forest aside from these wood wisp. The names of these spirits are Spirit of the Ground, Spirit of the Wind, Spirit of Fire, and Spirit of Water. These 4 dislike anything that is unfamiliar to them, so they might emit some of their magical aura to warn them. These warning signals are usually effective for magical creatures, but if they get hit by it, they can get killed. They ask if they can get killed again. The professor replies if they work with their teammates, they will not get killed. Since they all have learned different types of defensive magic, they can utilize their magic to protect themselves. He further says, in the end, whoever can make it to the designated location shall be the winner. After it, he orders them to go and start their challenge. They start to run. When Nero starts to run, the professor stops him and takes his pendant from his neck. He says he will be confiscating this for that day. He can have it back after the challenge. The professor sees the pendant and says things are getting pretty interesting. Suddenly, a spirit of ground emits his magical aura to warn them when they are running in the forest. Tarasu feels a warning signal behind herself. She yells and says to Zavanin to cast her defensive earth spell. Zavanin becomes frightened, then to see the terror of the spirit of ground. She says that she forgot the incantation. When the spirit of the ground goes toward Tarasu to stop her, Nero comes in between them to protect her. After hitting the spirit of the ground, Nero falls on the ground. The wisp yells and says it was only supposed to scare them. The spirit of the ground tells that it was going to stop right before it hit her, but that kid just jumped in. Nero placed on the ground in a bad condition. Tarasu holds him in her arms. Zevanite and Tarasu repeat his name again and again with anxiety. Tarasu worries about Nero. She is crying and says to him that he has not to be so reckless. Zavanin asks to Tarasu that did he die. She replies that he is not dead yet. She sighs for a moment and thinks that she is going to break the rules, but she cannot stop herself and uses his magical powers to alive him. At that time, Nero opens his eyes. He says that he is feeling so refreshed. It feels like he has slept for 12 hours. Tarasu stands and walks forward. Nero is enjoying the moment and praising Tarasu for this kind act. They again start their journey. Tarasu sighs and says she is thirsty. Nero runs to take some water for her. He takes water for her and leaves and says her to drink this. He tells her that he washed the leaves before. She asks him why he is doing that. He smiles and says because he is a slave. Tarasu tells him. Then he drinks half of it first. She is just making sure that it is not poisoned. Meanwhile, Zavanan hears a voice. She becomes scared. She thinks it is again a signal that aware. She throws her spell at the place from where a strange voice is coming. Suddenly a voice of screech comes from this place. They all see there in wonder. Tarasu says that it is a green dragon's hatchling. Zavanan apologizes to them for this. She thinks that it is the scary spirit from before. That's why she attacks it. Tarasu in wonder says that attacking a hatchling is the same as attacking the green dragon, and the green dragon is the guardian of the forest. Their professor tells them that attacking the green dragon means they have become the enemy of the forest. They all become wonder after listening to this. Suddenly, they see the spirits of the forest in front of them. Tarasu tells the spirits that they are not here to harm them. The spirits say to the young elf that they trust her words, but be prepared to talk to their queen. The queen comes there. They all become frightened. Their professor orders them to bow down. They all have bowed down. Their professor says Tarasu to talk with the queen. Tarasu speaks with the queen in respect, that for wounding their precious descendants, they offer her their deepest apology. They do not mean to hurt her. They are like newborn hatchlings as compared to her child. It truly was an accident. The queen asks who attacked her child. She says to offer that person as a sacrifice. She shall devour that person and the forest shall be appeased. After listening to the queen's words, Zavanan and Tarasu become anxious. Unexpectedly, Miro stands and tells the queen that he has attacked her child. They all become wondered. She says that he is a half-elf, so why he has broken the sacred law of forest. Tarasu becomes scared to listen. Miro says she is aware of the fact that this forest has always been used as a training ground for the Excanum Academy students. Since her promise of lending the forest to the humans has been recorded in textbooks, they are students of the academy. They were undergoing their training, but then they were suddenly attacked by the spirit of the ground. Because of that, they were quite scared and put on edge. After seeing the young princess, they were reminded of the terror of the spirit of the ground and became frightened. So, to protect his friends, he decided to attack her. The queen opens her mouth to eat him, but she does not eat him. She says that he speaks well despite his young age. She lets him live and says that the people of Excanum have started to understand the importance of protection. She goes back and the forest anger has subsided. Their master praises Nero and says he has successfully convinced her. Nero says he did not know that dragons have morals. Tarasho thinks that he is from the cursed race. She asks Nero if he is a half-elf. Tashuros asks him if he was a half-elf. Nero replies he is a half-elf, but he has never seen his parents before. She yells and says he is a cursed race. His existence is something that should have never happened. Nero becomes frightened after seeing her eager behavior. The professor says it seems he still has not read the books that pertain to elves and half-elves. He tells him to come to see him after the challenge. When they are going into the forest, suddenly a spirit of water emerges in front of Tafaras. At this time, Nero casts his spell toward this signal to defend her, but she avoids his protection spell. Nero goes near to her and asks why she avoided his protection spell. Tarasi yells and says not to touch her and not to say her name. She says that she and he are strangers from now on. After completing their challenge, they see other team member which are waiting for their arrival. Turk tells them their team has won this challenge. Tarashu ignores him and moves forward. Turk asks Nero what happened to her. Nero does not tell anything and moves forward silently. After this challenge, the professor returns the pendant to him and tells there was a time when elves and half-elves coexisted with one another. The elves did not whatever they could to accept the half-elves. However, after many centuries the elves had concluded that there was no future for the half-elves. Nero asks its reason. The professor says that the thing about half-elves is that they possess both the harmonious side of the elves as well as the chaotic side of the humans. The problem arises from the fact that these dual qualities do not negate one another, but rather amplify each other. As such, half-elves are born with more of their harmonious nature amplified, and this makes them much kinder and more innocent than the average elves. The professor tells him that his friend Naria is an example of this. However, the half-elves are also born with their chaotic nature amplified. They can also be much darker and more sinister than the average human being. Due to these reasons, half-elf is more prone to being consumed by this darkness, and throughout history, they have not been able to control themselves. This was the dilemma the elves faced when it came to half-elves. They would almost always be consumed by their darkness. The professor asks him if he can control that inside of him. Nero cries and says he is trying his best to control it. After that, he gestures toward the pendant, and says him to cherish this well. He advises him not to show this pendant to the elves. After it, they all return back to their academy. Tarek and Nero go to take breakfast. Jen is waiting for them. When they are going back, Jen shouts them and says to run hurriedly. They are going late. He says breakfast is not more important than their exam. Nero teases him friendly and says they are not going late. Jin shouts and says they are almost late, because both of them, Tarek sees Tarasu and taunts that he is sad because half of them are going to fail. It would be nice if they could all pass. Zabanan comes at this time and says hello to Turk. Turk says to Tarasu that she seems to be in a good mood. It may be the nature of competitive people. Tarasu replies that she has been preparing herself for the past couple of weeks. Miro says that he knows she will do well. Tarasu ignores him and moves away. Turka says she is still the same and she has been ignoring since that day. Turk asks him what he did with her. Miro remains silent at this time. After it, they all gather near the professor where he tells them that everyone has passed a year. He further says that the day has finally come, and they will now be taking the second exam, which is the test of wisdom. Since wisdom is one of the strengths that elves take pride in, the professor is sure that the elves are quite ecstatic that day. The female professor says the kids' lives at the academy are on the line. He asks if they being a little light-hearted about this whole situation. Before starting the exam, he shows a bag in front of them and says them they will now be picking their team. They all look at the bag. Tarasu goes near the bag and puts his hand to lift the paper The paper chits of Turk, Tarasu, and Miro are matching. That's why Professor sets them in a team. The professor sets Jen, Susie, and Zavanane in another team. Jen, with his teammates, moves to start their exam. Turkuch says to Taratu to go with them. She shouts and says she does not like her teammates, so he cannot remain with this team. The professor brings them near the Mamesana, which is a sacred tree of the Mo Empire, and says them they are not allowed to touch it without special permission. They look at the tree. Miro tells that the Magana tree bears a special fruit, known as the All-Cure fruit. It is first tree that the divine Lord Lugard loved and cherished. The professor praises him and says he is as knowledgeable as ever, but take a closer look at the tree. He says that there is a bird residing over there. That bird is called an aragon. They are legendary bird, that one must never hunt nor touch. Since an aragon has built a nest on the mags in a tree and she is planning to feed some of the fruit to her hatchlings, she does not need to feed the fruit. She is simply being greedy. This issue is causing quite a bit of a problem for the Empire. Since the aragons are highly respected and thus untouchable, he tells them they are free to do whatever they can. They all look up. The professor says to chase away the aragon that is nesting on the tree and make her leave completely. However, they must not cause any harm to either the tree or the bird. They all look upward. Tarasu asks how much time they have. The professor tells that they have time until sunset and says good luck to them. Tarasu says to Miro and Turk if they disqualify them by throwing random objects and harming either the bird or the tree, she will make sure to blow their heads off. She tells them she is going to try and think up something, so not do anything until she gets back. After saying that she goes away, both of them look toward towers. Turk asks Miro if they can just chop the tree in half and then glue it back together. Miro replies, they cannot do it. While she is treading, she thinks it is the test of wisdom and they need to think of a proper solution. But it's just her luck to be in a group with those two blockheads, and one of them is a half-elf. They have almost always been unreasonable. On the other side, Suzy, from Team B, throws an arrow through her arrow and bow with the intent of hitting the bird. Jen tries to stop it, but she does not stop. The arrow touches with the fruit of the tree. At this time, the fruit separates from the tree and falls on the ground. The professor immediately appears and rebukes them. He says even after his warning, they still do stupid shit like this. He further says they have no idea how much this fruit alone costs. The other professor appears near him and says to calm himself. He further tells when they set up the exam, they expected something like this might happen, but the important part is that here they are disqualified. After listening this, the members of Team B starts weeping. Suzy says it has not even been 10 minutes since they started this exam. The professor replies, they not only disregarded the rules within the first 10 minutes, they have also made the Empire lose one of these scared fruits. They should have realized by the purpose of this exam, which is to filter out foolish soldiers who disregarded their orders. He says they may leave. They become sad and move away. Tima feels sad for them. Turk says Jen got disqualified because of those two dummies. Turk asks they have won by default. At this time, the professor appears there and replies he forgot to inform them about that. Everyone can fail this test, because in battle, who bring the most harm to a nation, are soldiers who do not possess any sense of reasoning. Thus there shall not be any winners by default for this exam. Both of them listen to his instructions attentively. They sit near the tree and Turk says they have passed the halfway mark of their allotted time. At this time, Tarasu puts a snake on his neck and goes toward them. He keeps this snake on a tree trunk. They ask her what she is going to do if the snake hurts the aragon. She replies this will not happen. When Aragon sees a snake, he leaves her nest and moves toward it to hunt the snake. She says Aragon are strong creatures. They are the same level as the spirit of the wind. So, she's just trying to warn the bird, because there are potential threats for her newborn hatchlings. If she senses the newborn are in danger, then she will most definitely move her nest elsewhere. Aragon catches the snake with her claws and swallows it. After failing her attempt, she becomes furious. She yells and says to go steal one of her babies and run away. Instantly Tarek starts to climb up the tree. When Aragon sees he is climbing up the tree, she moves and attacks him. He falls to the ground due to the attack of the Aragon. He says that her strength is probably closer to that of a summoned typhoon beast. Tarasu yells and says she cannot think of anything else, but she cannot stop thinking so they do not have much time. At this time, they think of an idea and become like a male bird, seducing her to move to a different location. Tarasu becomes furious. Turk calls Argan to attract toward him. Instantly, Tarasu stops him and tells him this test is not a joke. He further says that passing this test is nothing more than an accomplishment, but to her it is not as simple as that. She has 500 years of Norian history at stake. At last she loses his hope and throws an arrow upward by using her arrow and bow. Nero stops her at this time, and tells she is going to get them disqualified. They just have to make sure to not hit anything. They are only allowed to threaten them. Tashu says not to get in her way. She is not going to let everything end here. The arrow does not touch anything. It returns back and falls to the ground. At this time, Taro looks afraid. She has lost his courage and feels helpless. She starts to weep. The time is also going to over. Nero looks at the sun and says that there is a force in nature between the wind and wild animals, which is a fire. They can use wildfire to threaten her. At the time, Nero, Tarasu, and Turk use their mana to produce wildfire. This wildfire produces irritant smoke. Iragan does not bear it, so she leaves her nest and moves away. The professor instantly appears there and says that since this test is essentially doing the same task that the Empire does, they are permitted to utilize whatever power they have at their disposal. Even that power is something that was not permitted before. At this time, Aragon returns to her nest, picks up her newborn babies and moves away permanently. They become excited because they have passed their test. Turk praises him and says he is a genius. The professor says that attaining victory without harming either the tree or the bird is achieved through the power of fear. All the animals fear wildfire, and Aragons are one of the few creatures vulnerable to fires, as their power relies on the wind, thus rendering them useless against their fire. He congratulates them for passing the wisdom test. After listening to it, they all look happy. After completing their test, they all come back to the academy. Jin, Tarek and Nero stand in the corridor. Jin is going to leave this academy. He cries because he does not want to leave this academy. Tarek and Nero look sad for him. They are weeping. Jin says he needs to get going. His ride is about to leave. They will see each other, probably on the battlefield. Tarek says that he makes sure to come to their funeral since elves live longer than them. Jin says to stop doing such unlucky things. He says them to write him a letter. Jin says goodbye to them and goes away. Tarek and Nero look sad at this time. Nero asks where Lady Tarasu is. Tarek replies, "She went to go take a shower." Nero says he wonders how many more of them are going to get separated. Tarek replies that this place is not legendary. It is the Devil's Academy in reality. Tarashu comes at this time and asks Jen left already. After listening to it, Turk yells and says she cannot say about a friend who has spent a year with them. Tarashu replies they might not see him for a long time, but unfortunately, she will have the next 500 years to see him. When she enters her room, she says to Nero to come inside her room. Both of them are eagerly looking at the door of the room. Turk says that she is inviting him to her room after she just washed herself, and she is the only girl left amongst them. Nero opens the door and enters into the room. When he enters the room, Tarasu has sat on the stool. She offers him to have some tea. Tea is widely loved amongst the elves. It is also pretty expensive. Tarasu picks a cup of tea and asks how expensive it is. She tells its cost is probably around 200 gold by the Mu Empire currency. By knowing its cost, he becomes astonished and spits out the tea instantly. Some of the tea falls on the table. He tells he has made 1 gold in 1 year, and he wasted about 48 gold in about 48 years of his life, right here. He starts licking it. Teresi says, not to dare lick, otherwise she will kill him. After it, she tells her nickname used to be Crybaby. Since the father of her family relied heavily on her shoulders, she was raised very strictly. Her upbringing was not quite exactly warm, nor cold, since the adults wanted her to believe in how the world was. The world was built with the perfect balance of push and pull. It was due to this ideology that her family never showed any sign of affection towards her, except her uncle. He was half-elf, and his name was Anaman. He was someone who blessed her with all the warmth that she needed. As half-elf, he was shunned by everyone. But despite this, he never failed to show his kindness to everyone. He was the only one who adored her. She really loved her uncle. Then one day her uncle fell in love with a housemaid named Adele. He tried his best to gain approval from the family elder, but he was rejected. After that incident, he was no longer permitted to see his lover Adele, and that is when her uncle started to change. His smile that radiated warmth disappeared, and then one day his uncle said this thing inside of him has finally consumed him. Even though she was a child, she could sense that something bad was going to happen. So she told him there has to be a more reasonable choice. She is sure there is a path that will allow everyone to be happy. She requested him to give up. However, his uncle had already decided which path he would take. She puts her hands on the table and tells them he chose a path that brought destruction and pain for everyone in the end. After that incident, he chose never to believe or love anyone else ever again. She lived her life firmly believing that the right path is through making reasonable choices, and yet she does not know anymore. After it starts weeping, He puts his hand on her hand and consoles her by saying that he can do it. He tells her to trust him, that he will take a different path than his uncle, and if she can trust him, then he promises he will make it happen. At this time, Turk is peeking through the window. Tarasu attacks him with a bow and arrow. After her attack, he falls on the ground of the corridor. She says him that she wanted to thank him for all that he had done that day. She leaves the room after saying that she will study at the library. Miro becomes angry that he just had to ruin the mood. The next morning, they all gather on the ground of the academy. Their professor congratulates them on their 1-year completion at the academy. He is surprised that most of them also passed the second exam. He tells them that their groups have changed. He starts telling them about their groups. Miro wishes to be in the same group as Tarek, and Tarashu wishes not to be in the same group as Evan. Professor calls Nero. Nero steps forward. He tells Nero that he is in Group D. There are 5 members in their group. The professor says that they will use the same room which is used by the previous Group D students. His wish to be in the same group as Tarasu and Turk has not been completed. Nero becomes upset after thinking that he is alone at this time. After this, they all move to the corridor. Tarasu meets with her rival elf princess. She and her opponent elf princess are in the same group. She talks nicely with her. Nero becomes surprised to see them laughing together. He thinks that how they talk with each other nicely, even though in the last meeting their behavior was very harsh for each other. He thinks about the Tarek. Meanwhile, Tarek with his teammates comes here. He happily says to his teammates that he is the group leader. He inspires them that if they are dissatisfied, then they can always challenge him. Nero is seeing this all. He sees Naria and says hello to her. In return, Naria also shakes her hand and becomes happy to see Nero. He says to Naria that he is very happy for her. He is sure that Tarek will treat her well. He turns and wonders about himself. His all teammates are annoying for him. He starts walking towards his room. They reach their room. Trash is scattered in their room. They see it. One of them says that the previous Group D members did not even clean their room before they left. His teammate tells him that it does not matter. They have a slave with them. He tells them that Nero is a slave. They all see Nero with detestation. They tell him that all of them are pretty close and they prefer him to stay away from them. They do not need someone like him amongst them. Nero becomes upset. They say to him that he can be the group leader. They do not want to become leaders because it is annoying to lead and organize everything. They satire him and go out of the room. Nero sees a large mess in the room and wonders how he can clean it, but he thinks he will clean it because he should clean the room rather than getting beaten and tormented. On the other hand, Naria's team started to tease her. They ask her in revulsion if she is a slave. They say, but apparently she is like a half-elf. Naria becomes upset. Tarek is also sitting in the room on a stool near his team members. After listening to these useless talks, he breaks a table which had been placed in front of him. Peathany in offense says to them that they will not be discriminating against people in their group. If they do not want to obey his rules, then they can fight him right now. If they win, they can come up with their own rules. They do not want to fight with him because he is more powerful than them. That's why they decide to follow his rules. In Tarashu's group, she wants to become the group leader. She asks them if they are satisfied with that. They reply, but they have Evan in their group. So how does she become the leader? Because Evan also wishes to become the leader. Evan is sitting on a stool. He tells them that he does not care about that. She does what she wants. Teresa is seeing toward Evan with curiosity. At night, Evan is standing on a bridge. He thinks for a while and starts using his magical powers. The spell is belching from his body. He is doing this without any fear. Meanwhile, Tarasu comes here. She stops him with her spell and asks what he is doing. He replies that he is testing the limits of his blood. She tells him if he keeps doing that he is going to die. He says that he would rather die than bring shame to his family's honor again. She turns back and says to him that his father has not been honored because of the talent in his blood. The next morning, the professor calls Nero's group to the ground. Nero comes there. His professor asks him why he is the only one here from his group. He asks who is the leader of the group. Nero replies that he is the leader of the group. The professor asks him, then where are the rest of his group mates? He replies that they are sleeping. He tries his best to wake them up, but they do not wake up. The professor yells at Nero and says that the next time they are late, he will punish them. He will be held responsible for failing his duty as the group leader. Nero becomes scared. Their professor gathers them all near the bank of a river. Their professor tells them that today's lesson shall be about unity. Then he orders them to go to Shebas Hills. He tells them that when they cross the river, they will reach the Shebas Hills. They are happily running towards their destination. Nero's group has reached the river and caught their boat, and Nero is also running behind his group members. They do not wait for Nero. They sit on the boat and move ahead. They left Nero and moved the boat with oar. Nero becomes upset. They reach the Shebas Hills. Nero is also reached there. Their masters are also present with them at this place. They encourage them. They tell them that it is one of the most beautiful places in the Middle Kingdom. This habitat, known as the birthplace of life, is abundant with plants and animals of various species. The reason why they have gathered them all here that day is because of the blade rams. The students ask them if there are blade rams in the Middle Kingdom. Their professor replies, yes, and that is the issue. They are not natural inhabitants of this place. They escaped to this place due to the negligent care of farmers. They have an enormous appetite and are also reproducing at an alarming rate. These blade rams are no longer domesticated and have become wild animals. They are causing extensive damage to the natural ecosystem of this place. They are highly dangerous monsters. Now their professors tell them about their task, which is to hunt these blade rams. The group that hunts the most shall receive a reward. They also warn them that wild blade rams are extremely strong and hunting them alone is practically suicide. Therefore, they must move and hunt as a group. Their professors also tell them that there is the Council of Higher Education at Aruka, and they will go there. They will not be aided by them. They will not receive any protection or support from them, so they shall protect each other. They are separated into groups and start moving towards blade rams. A group from them see a blade ram and attacks on it. The blade ram becomes wild and roars on them. It starts moving toward them. Finally, they hunt it. Nero's group is also running to find the blade ram. Nero follows them. He is also watching that group which is hunting the blade ram. His group members do not allow him to go with them. They say to him that he can sit and not do anything. After that, they move ahead. Nero hears the voice of a blade ram. He attacks it with his sword. The blade ram throws him badly on the ground. Nero bops his hand on the ground with eagerness. He uses his ground magic. A spell comes from the ground and affects it badly. The blade ram falls to the ground. Nero hits his sword on the neck of the blade ram. He feels happy that finally he killed it. He thinks that they are not that big, but they have a lot of power. Suddenly, he hears the voice of another blade ram. He turns his head and sees another blade ram. The blade ram roars on him. He thinks that it was his mate which he killed. He becomes scared and starts to run. The blade ram attacks him worse. They both look at each other angrily. The blade ram again roars badly. During the fight, Nero reached the corner of the hill. Nero throws his spell on it, but it does not affect it. He becomes furious and says it is the last of his mana. The blade rams move forward. Nero attacks it with his sword. Suddenly, his foot slips and he falls from the hill. He falls badly on a cliff. Bleeding flow from his mouth. He lies on the cliff in a helpless condition. He thinks that he cannot even lift a finger. It hurts him so much. He thinks that he is seriously going to die here. This is cruel to him. He thinks that the cause of his death is because he is alone. He has been different from the rest of them since birth. He can never become like them, because he is a slave. A large number of birds come there. They start to eat him. Suddenly, Miria finds him. She sees him from the top. She cries to see him in this condition. She throws her spell on the birds. The birds fly away from him. Miria cannot control herself. She climbs down from the hill. Nero stops her, but she cannot stop. Her foot slips, and she also falls near Nero. Nero asks why she comes here. She replies to him that she felt he had died. She turns toward Nero and says that now she is also in a lot of pain. After that, Miria uses her healing magic to heal him. Nero asks how she is doing that. They've not learned healing magic yet. She replies, she figured it out. She tells that one day her friend was seriously injured and she did not know what to do. She ended up crying. She kept screaming, please get better inside her head, and then it really happened. She started using healing magic. She says that she asked a professor about it, and she stated that some people can cast magic without using her incantation. But what she did was something entirely different. It is an innate ability he was born with. When she uses healing magic on him, he feels a lot better. He says thanks to her. Nero says that there are not a lot of kind nobles out there, and most people treat them like garbage. Nero asks her how she can go out of her way to help, and she also seems happier than before. She replies that she puts in a lot of effort. Further, he says that it was thanks to what he said. She tried really hard not to cry as easily and honestly. It was difficult, but one day it gets so bad that she just closed her eyes and started to dream. There was a path that was surrounded by tall white walls, and this was the only path that she could take. But at the end of this path, she knew there was something that she wanted, and it was waiting for her. Immediately after that dream, the troubles within her heart ceased, and she felt calm. Afterwards, she kept putting more and more effort into maintaining that feeling, and things started to get better. Nero looks confused about what she is trying to say. Miria says that things they dislike will always try and distract them. They should never lose sight of what they want to see and accomplish, because only then will things get better. Nero disagrees with her talk and says that she cannot always live her life only looking at what she wants to see because she cannot ignore the things she hates forever. Nero believes that she needs to continuously fight and eventually conquer those feelings. He says that it might be true in her case. Miria says that she does not have a lot of what he has. She does not have the power to preserve, despite all circumstances. Miria says that she already does not has enough of that to use towards the good deeds in her life. Nero looks at Miria and says she has become stronger. After it, he sits cross-legged. Miria asks him what he is doing. Nero replies, she is going to meditate. He says that he reads somewhere that this is the best way to recover mana in the shortest amount of time. He tells her that she should try it as well. After listening to it, Neria also sits cross-legged. After some time, she wonderfully shouts and says her body is a little stiff, but she can feel a lot of energy within her. Nero stands up and looks upward and emits his mana upward. Neria asks what he is doing. He replies that he has decided that he is going to carve a path. After hearing her thoughts, he realized how narrow his perspective had been. He says that he always believed that there will be more paths to take, and that he will eventually find the one that will suit the best. But now he realizes that he can always carve his path. After that, Nero and Neria throw his mana toward the slope to make some holes so that they climb out. Nero climbs out through these holes. At this time, he helps Neria to climb out. Nero says that they were able to create their path. They feel good at that time. At this time, the professor yells and says that they have looking at them for a long time. The professor gathers all the students at a place and tells them that the sun has set, so it is time to tally their scores. He says that everyone scored pretty much the same, which was about 3 rams, but Tarasu's group was the only group who hunted 5, and in this case the winner is Tarasu's group. Tarasu's group become happy. Nero's teammates eagerly say that they have won if they had one more competent person in their group. Immediately, the professor, Nero and Neria are bringing a cart in which 2 hunted rams are present. The professor asks that where they get these 2 rams. The other professor says that they are Nero's hunt. After knowing that he hunted 2 rams by himself, Nero's teammates become excited that they are on first place. When the professor starts to announce the winning group's name, Nero tells the truth that if there was not Neria, he would die and those blade rams would have been food for the crows. He requested to give his score to Neria's group. The professor appreciates to Neria that she has saved Nero's life. Nero's teammates become furious in his favor for Neria. One of them shows his sword in front of him and says he does not realize how important this task was toward their final exam. Further, he says he is begging for death. After listening, Nero becomes furious. He holds his sword eagerly and tells him to try and kill him. After seeing his furious response, his teammate becomes frightened and he leaves his sword. After that, Nero goes back to his academy. Tarasu's group members and Tarasu are sitting in their room. The other members are playing chess. While Tarasu is reading a book, Evan is also sitting on a stool. He stares at Tarasu. Tarasu sees him and says no need to stare at her like that. She knows that she is pretty. On the other hand, Nero goes to a park. He starts cutting the tree with his sword. He cuts several trees. At last, he goes near a tree and also starts to cut it. He does not cut it within one attempt. He thinks about when will he be able to cut it in one swing. He left the tree and goes back to the academy. After 9 months, their professor gathered them on the ground of the academy. He tells them about their 3rd exam. He says that the 3rd exam will be the test of endurance. They will never be able to surpass their limits without the power of endurance. The purpose of this exam is to survive. He tells them that they will live in an annoying place for 2 months. He gives them some food supplements. The food supplements which he provides them are insufficient for 2 months. They all go toward that place. Nero sees this place. He is walking toward his huts and thinks that these food supplies will not even last a month. So in the end, all they have is their weapon. Along with these edible mushrooms that grow there, some are poisonous as well as a creature that is lying here under a tree. He thinks that this creature may be his friend or maybe his foe. He wonders how he survived here for 2 months. Then he becomes happy to think that the person who can endure the most in this academy is him. This thing gives him courage. After 2 weeks, a student from them does not bear his hunger. He sees the hog and attacks it with his arrow. He becomes happy that he can finally eat some meat. He goes and leaves it there. The next day, when he comes there to eat it, he becomes astonished to see that it is all rotten. Due to intense hunger, he eats it. After eating it, he vomits everywhere. Their professors come there and see him in this bad condition. They disqualify him. They move him to the infirmary. Another student from them is fighting with the hog. He says to it not to eat everything. Also share with him. In return, the hog runs toward him to attack. He yells for help. The professor saves him and tells him that he does not fulfill the requirements of the test. That's why he has been disqualified. Nero becomes scared and says that it has only been 2 weeks and people are already being disqualified. Nero also feels hunger. He uses his spell on the hog. He says to it that responds to his signal, but it does not affect it. Nero thinks that it has been trained by the academy. That's why it does not show any response. Suddenly, the hog opens its eyes and moves toward the mushroom. The hog eats the mushrooms. After seeing this, Nero moves toward it. He spells on it to eat the mushrooms. It will help him to know which mushrooms are edible and which are poisonous. He says it to share these mushrooms with him, but the hog runs behind him with anger. Nero becomes scared and starts to run. He in fear climbs on the tree. He thinks that hogs are greedy. They will not share their food easily. After some time, the hog lays on the ground and sleeps. The hog gets up and sees Nero angrily. Nero thinks about what he should do. He jumps from the tree and sits on the hog. The hog becomes wild and worsely moves its body up and down. Nero holds it tightly. He does not want to fall on the ground because if he gets injured, there will not be any treatment available there. He will also disqualified from morning till sunset. Nero does not lose his courage and bear this all. Suddenly, he thinks of a plan. He throws a cookie to the ground. The hog stops moving for a while and staggeringly sees Nero. The hog screeches wildly. Nero says that it is so stubborn. The sun is... At night, the hog becomes tired. Nero puts out a cookie from his pocket and throws it toward the hog. The hog sees it and eats it. Nero becomes happy. Nero throws another cookie to hog. The hog also eats it. The hog's anger has subsided. While it is eating, Nero says that it is made by humans, so it will taste good. He says that he has a lot more to give it. He did everything he could to save these so that he could use them for this moment. He goes down from the hog. He shows it another cookie. He says to Hog that he is not saying to become friends. He is also not saying to love him. The better for them is to survive together. He offers it a cookie. The hog also eats it. Nero brings a cookie bag and pours it in front of the hog. The hog starts to eat these cookies. Their professors are analyzing their activities with a telescope. They are present in a hot air balloon that flies over the area where all of their students are living. Their female professor asks the other professor that this exam is not a little too harsh for the students. The professor replies, "No, it is not harsh." He tells her that this exam is planned by their headmistress, and it will ultimately show the difference in their talent. He says that people tend to show their true natures when their resources are heavily limited. This is especially true when nobody is around to observe their actions. They are secretly examining Evan. Evan is using his spell on the hog, and says it to obey him. The hog obeys his orders and brings some food for him. After seeing that, he says some of them may turn out to be a fearsome monarch. They examine Tarasu. Tarasu is sleeping to leans back with the hog. They both look satisfied with each other. After seeing the Tarasu's situation, her professor says that some of them may turn out to be peaceful and want to harmoniously coexist. They examine Neria. Neria is falling on the ground in a bad condition. The hog feels bad for her. The hog brings a carrot for her and places it in front of her. After seeing Neria's condition, the professor says that some of them may turn out to be sympathetic and bring about pity from others. They examine Tarek. Tarek is fighting with the hog. He says to it that whoever wins will bring food to the other. After seeing this, the professor says that some of them may be attracted by their overwhelming vigor. At last, they look at the Nero. Nero is taking care of the hog. He brings it near the pool. The hog is drinking water. The Nero does this all to become its friend. After seeing this, the professor says that there have always been only two types of kings that the world remembers. The clever and wise kings. The wise kings who live peacefully with their people. These two types have always clashed in the past. After drinking the water, the hog digs the ground. It digs to get natural vegetables from the ground. When the vegetables appear, it leaves them for Nero. Nero becomes happy to see these vegetables after 1 month. Nero stands with the hog near the door of his incarceration. His professors come there and congratulate him that he has passed the test. Nero becomes happy, but he looks very weak. Due to weakness, he falls to the ground. They all move to the drill hall of the academy. Their headmistress congratulates them and says that the rookies she first met are no longer there. There are only respectable warriors here. She is proud of them. Then she leaves. Their professor tells them that they are now third-year students. They will be putting them all into new groups. Nauro again wishes to be in the same group as Taras. Their professor calls Tyrus, Nero, and Evan. He tells them that they are in the same group. The group is of 5 members. Tyraso thinks that she is the only girl here. She wants to be the lead. She asks if they are okay with that. Nero agrees with her. Tarasu looks happy. Nero is also happy, but sad at the same time due to the presence of Evan in their group. The professor calls Neria and says her to come ahead. While she is going forward, she strikes with Nero. She apologizes to him. Nero becomes astonished and asks her if she is Neria. She smiles and says hello to him. Nero asks Neria what happened to her. She says that she ended up starving herself in the last exam and almost died from hunger. That's why she lost all her weight. Nero looks surprised to see her. He thinks she became super pretty. At the time the professor calls Neria towards him. After listening to the professor's voice, she says bye to Nero. She further says she will talk to him later. Tarasu says to her group members that she will set up rules later. But there is one thing they all should keep in mind. Since she is the only girl in this group, they do not come near her room, otherwise she will kill them. After it, she says them to get ready to attend their first lesson and goes towards her room. Her group members also go toward their room. Nero feels happy because he is in the same group as Tarasha. He missed her strong leadership. Nero and Evan move in corridor. Evan says him not to call him master when they are with Tarashu and not to do anything around her. He further says that he stated before that fate is not predetermined. Just like how he is trying to prove that as trust. He will do what he can to prove that as false. He will show him the true difference between both of them. After some time, Tereso and her group members gather near the professor for the first lesson. The professor calls Nero and says he is still alive. Nero replies that he is alive and it is nice to see him again. The professor says that he thought he was one of those strength-oriented simpletons, but it seems he is more than just that. He is quite a tough one. Miro smiles and tells perseverance is one of his strong points. After that, the professor says to Tarasu that he thought she would fail the endurance test within the first week. Tarasu smiles and says that he should also know the amount of patience required to lead these idiots. The professor says she is right about that. After the small talk with them, he further says that they should be used to it. By now what they so do during the first week of the semester tells that they guessed it. It is a physical test. Dude lifts a chain-tied boulder and throws it upward with his full strength. It moves upward and bounces back to ground. Then Tarasu lifts chain-tied boulder and throws it upward with her full strength. It moves far away and bounces back to the ground. It falls on the ground at some distance of the first boulder. Marcus says to Dude that he did worse than Tarasu. After it, Marcus throws boulder. It moves upward and bounces back to the ground, but it falls behind the Terrace's boulder. He becomes sad and says he threw it with all his strength. But Tarasu is on another level. Tarasu says to Nero and Evan that they should do better than her. Nero holds the chain of boulders and throws with his full strength. His boulder falls away from all the other 3 boulders. After it, Miro grasps the chain of boulder and throws it full strength. His boulder falls away from all the other 4 boulders. His group mates became astonished to see his strength. Tarashu praises him that he was always overshadowed by Turk in their first year, but he has always been pretty strong. After listening to his praise, Evan feels jealousy. After that, the professor starts the race competition between them. They all run with their speed to win. Tarasu is overtaking in the race. Nero says to Evan to look at Tarashu's speed. Evan says elves are known for their speed, so it will be hard to overtake her. Evan says to Nero that he will be in second place. Nero is overtaking Evan. At this time, Evan remembers the scene where Nero defeated him. He intends at this time that he will not lose, so he increases his speed and crosses the border before Nero. After crossing the border, Evan becomes happy. They all become tired. The professor comes near them and says they will continue after a 10-minute break. At break time, Tarasu takes a water bag and comes near to Nero. She tells him to drink this. Nero asks. She is worried about him. Tarasu says to stop saying dumb things and just drink it. She says that she is waiting on him. She needs to know if it is poisoned or not. Evan listens to their talk and becomes jealous. He wonders to see that Tarasu is laughing. After it, they go back to their academy. Nero and Tarasu sit together near Evan in the room. They are taking a tea. Nero asks if it is right that all spirits came from giant-ass spirit. Tarasu replies that is a quite crude statements, but they all came from the gods of 4 elements, which are earth, fire, wind, and water. They are divided into 2 categories depending on their size. The bigger ones are called greater spirits, and the smaller ones are called lesser spirits. Nero looks at Tarasu and says all the spirits are pretty much siblings. Technically, they are the same as well, and they all originated from one thing. Then it does not make them siblings. He hopes that is not the case, and he would not want that. At that time, Tarasu takes tea and starts to smile. She says that he is such a simpleton. After listening to their talk, Evan becomes jealous. He does not believe that she is laughing again. He does not believe that she is the same Tarasu that he knows. He thinks how often she is laughing with him. The next morning, Tarasu and her groupmates gather near the professor. He looks happy to see Evan, Tarasu, and Nero in the same group. He says that the kids that he wanted to get closer with have all been put into one group. He further says that the students in this group are quite special, so he will make sure to teach them with a lot of love and care. He creates spell on his palm and says that they have been learning various types of offensive magic for the past 3 years. But most of those spells have been single target attacks after that. He closes his palm and says he believes it is time that they start to learn some large-scale magic attacks, and it is a little too soon to celebrate. Large-scale magic attacks hold tremendous destructive power. As such, they are considered highly advanced magic. It means that they will be required to hold an immense mana pool. They have been able to keep everyone progressing at around the same pace, but now the gap between their talent will start to show. If they find their difficulties while learning large-scale magic attacks and the effectiveness of their attack starts to falter, then it will be best for them to give up and move on. He says that spending their time will be beneficial to them, such as swordsmanship, archery, etc. He says that the time has come for them to find out which job they truly belong. He is sure they all have a job they are wishing for. The professor asks Tarasu what she wants to become. Tarasu replies that she wants to become an archer. She is already pretty proficient with the bow, so she wants to become an archer who has mastered the basics of all other jobs. The professor encourages him and says she has a clear goal mind. He further says they must identify their strengths and weaknesses in order to find the right path. Dude asks to the professor what kind of jobs there are. The professor replies that there are 3 major ones. If they are physically strong, then they can become a black knight. If they have a large mana pool, then they can become a black mage. If they possess keen intellect like the elves, they can become an archer. Marcus says that he has heard there were more than just those 3. He thinks there were also Dark Lords. The professor says that he should not have to worry about that, because the other jobs he mentioned are all derived from the 3 major ones. However, there is one thing they should keep in mind. Some jobs are a combination of 2 of 3 major jobs. Evan replies, "It is a swordsman." The professor says it is correct. If they were to scale the strength on a magic swordsman based on people, they hold the strength of 9 and have a mana pool of 8. He says that Emperor Mu is a magic swordsman. Instantly Dude and Marcus laugh. Marcus says that he wants to become a magic swordsman. Dude says that if the road to becoming a magical swordsman was that easy, then everyone would have been a magic swordsman, and that job would no longer be considered a rare and unique job. Marcus replies, he knows he can do it because his talent in magic and swordsmanship are above most people. The professor creates a spell on his palm and says them not to be so impatient, because the amount of talent which they possess shall be apparent when they start learning this large-scale magics. After it, he throws this spell to create a meat shield around himself. The students are surprised to see his meat shield strength. He tells that they can annihilate groups of enemies with this spell who surrounds them. After that, he calls them and says it is time for each of them to try it out. Marcus creates a spell on his palm and throws it to create a meat shield, but the strength of his meat shield is very low. After seeing this, Dude laughs and says that he thought he said his talent in sword and magic was greater than most people. He replies in rage that he is smaller than him. Then Tarasu throws his spell. After seeing her magic strength, her groupmates become astonished. The professor praises her that she is amazing as always. It seems she has already mastered the basics. After that, the professor calls Nero to show his spell. He moves forward and thinks about the reason why Emperor Mu was able to attend the Exgenim Academy without facing discrimination. He thinks that Empire Mo was able to show his immense as a magic swordsman. He encourages himself by saying that he cannot be content with it. He just needs to survive till the end. He will need to prove himself, just like the Emperor. He throws his spell, but his spell strength is too low. After seeing the strength of his spell, Dude laughs and says to his groupmates that he is even worse than him. He is better off being a meat shield at this point. The professor consoles him and says mana is the same as his blood. Once it courses throughout his body, then he will able to draw out its power. Nero asks if there is an issue with his mana flow. The professor replies that his heart controls the flow of his mana. He says that he will need to figure out whether he has talent in magic. Then the professor calls Evan and tells him to show the pride that he so loves. Evan shows his spell with his full strength. After seeing his spell strength, Tarasu and Nero become astonished. The professor was impressed with his mana strength. He says that it would have been bad if he did not shield everyone. With that much power, he should be able to single-handedly decimate an army or orcs. The professor asks if he is planning to become a black mage. Evan tells that he is going to become a magic swordsman just like Emperor. After listening to that, Nero become astonished. Nero moves away from them. He feels sad to think that why he does not know what job he wants. At this time, he hits his sword in rage on the ground. Tarasu sees him silently. He feels sad about his hopeless situation. After 4 months, the scene appears at a place which looked like Valley, where the professor and Turl's group members gather. The professor says that this place may simply look like a beautiful valley. However, it is a very important strategic location, because there is a mine that contains the umru, which is magic ore that is used as the main ingredient for creating highly advanced magic weapons. This place has gone through centuries of bloodbaths as they defended this mine from being stolen by other nations. That is why they have guards here. He further says that day is the day of rest. It is an imperial order given by the emperor. That's why they are all on break. This place might feel pretty relaxing since nothing serious happened here for the past few decades. But they will take this perfect opportunity to get some training in. He says that their test is to find the entrance of the mine. The entrance is small and well hidden, so it will be pretty difficult. They will only have a day to find it in a place as large as this, and he has placed a special prize at the front of the entrance, and only one person from each group will be able to utilize this equipment. After listening to the professor's instructions, they start to run. The professor says these kids always get excited over a prize. While they are running, the golem comes in Terasu's way. She kills it with her arrow and bow. She says this task is not going to be easy. Suddenly, other golem attacks from behind her. At this time, Evan throws his spell toward the golem and protects her. Tarasu looks at Evan. After that, Evan moves toward the bushes. At the same time, Tarasu moves toward the other side bushes. Nero follows her and says that he is not going to lose to her this time. She kills the golem with her bow, which comes her way. She says that these golems are too weak. She is sure some of dangerous monsters have been placed here by the professors to give them a sight challenge. If that is the case, she is fairly certain they placed some difficult monsters toward the real path to the mine. At some distance, she sees a group of golems. After seeing them, she realizes that's why they emphasize large-scale magic attacks this year. Suddenly, some dangerous monsters attack these weak monsters. After seeing them, Tarasu becomes frightened, and thinks those monsters might be placed by the professors. On the other side, Nero kills the golem that attacks on him. At the same time, he listens to the voice of the guard who shouts to save him. He sees some dangerous monsters who are following to attack on him. Nero kills those monsters with his sword. Evan goes near a place where a huge monster leading a group of small monsters. It says that it will take about 4 days before new guards replace the old ones. It tells them they need to take that opportunity to mine as much of the magic ores as they can. Evan feels he is certain this is no longer a part of the test. While Nero is killing the monsters with his sword, he listens to Tarasu's voice. After listening to her voice, he runs towards her. A large number of monsters attack Tarasu. She utilizes all of her arrows to kill them. Tarasu used too much of her mana on her magical arrows. She does not have enough mana to use any more magic. The monsters come near her and say she is an elf and elves are tasty. When they are attacking the Tarasu, suddenly Nero arrives at this place. He attacks them with his swords. When he is killing the monsters, some other monsters come near him and attack him. He uses his magic sword to protect himself, but his magic strength is lost at this time. The monster comes near to eat him. Suddenly, Evan comes to this place and throws his large-scale magic on monsters to protect the Nero and Tarasu. Nero and Tarasu become astonished on his arrival. Nero also fights with the monster which attacks it and kills it. Evan courageously again throws his spell on the monster. It affects them badly. Then he puts his sword firmly to fight with them. Tarasu also prepares herself for a fight. She holds 2 machetes in her hands and sees towards them. Nero also looks at them ragely. They stand as a brave team in front of them. The boss of monsters comes there. It sees toward Nero's group. After seeing them, it reminds that it has been seen this before. They are standing in the same way as 30 years ago. The Emperor Mu was standing with his team. It says that it will not let history repeat twice. It orders the monsters to kill them. The monsters are moving ahead to obey their boss's order. Nero says to Tarasu and Evan that he will deal with the boss. They take care of his minions. Evan throws his spell on the monsters which are moving towards them. It affects them worsely. He also throws his spell on the large monster, but it does not affect it. Nero uses his transportation spell and attacks it with his sword. It also does not affect it because it is very strong. It uses its arms for protection. As a result of its high resistance, Nero falls to the ground. It satires on Nero and says he has a fine sword. Nero again hits his sword at it, but it again resists it with its arm. It says to Nero that he does not have a basic understanding of how to use a sword. It punches to Nero. Nero falls on the ground badly. Teresa becomes anxious for Nero. Evan also feels pity for Nero. He also uses his transportation spell and throws his spell on the monster. He attacks the monster with his sword. It holds Evan from his neck and throws him badly on the ground. Tarasu goes to Evan and holds him in her arms. She becomes terrified to see Evan's condition. She shields his mana with her spell. Evan tells her that it is too strong and now he is out of mana. She says now she is also out of mana. The only one left is Nero. On the other hand, Nero is bravely fighting with the monsters. Nero throws his spell on the small monsters and kills them. He also hits some monsters with his sword. The boss of monsters says to Nero that he does not have a basic understanding of magic as well. It says that they are just getting started. The kids are finished with that. Nero is raged about it. He says that he can feel an overwhelming amount of mana within him, but he cannot seem to draw it out. He attacks the mini-monsters with his full mana. It does not affect him. In return, they also attack the Nero. Tarasu runs to help him, but Evan stops her. He says that they need to run. She wonderingly sees him. Meanwhile, Nero has been injured badly. His eyes have closed. He thinks that this is what death feels like. He is just allowing himself to give up. He thinks this is the true purpose as to why he was born. Anyhow, their professors and headmistress of the academy reach there. They throw their spells towards the monsters. All the small monsters become dead. The boss of the monsters is astonished to see this. It screeches. It says that it will devour them. It says that it is only a minor deputy of its army. The true boss is awaiting them. The professor kills it and says don't worry. When its boss comes, they also kill it like that. The monsters who save from their attack become scared because their boss has died brutally. The headmistress says them that they dare invade their territory under her jurisdiction. The guardian professor sits on an eagle and says that these monsters lost their leader. Now it is their time to attack. The professors throw their spells on them. The monsters become freaks. The professors kill them badly. The female professor carries Evan, Tarasu, and Nero with her. They are moving to the academy in a cart. She starts to heal Nero with her healing magic. She consoles Tarasu that now he is fine. She can completely heal him. Tarasu sighs. She has also been injured badly. She sees Evan. Evan is also injured. She smiles to see Evan. Evan is surprised and thinks why she is smiling. She sees a pendant on Nero's neck. She becomes shocked to see it. They reach the academy. All students are gathered in a drill hall. Their headmistress is standing on the podium of the hall. She says that the Demon Lord's army is steadily growing stronger with each passing day. The incident from that day is a prime example of such. These issues can no longer be ignored, as these matters will directly affect them as well. They must get too strong and become the pillars of their future. She says that among them, 3 brave heroes valiantly fought against a large army of monsters. She says that they will become a symbol of the future they should strive for. She introduces the 3 brave heroes. She proudly introduces the first hero, who is Tarasu, the princess of Lunati's family. They all praise her. Tarasu becomes furious about why she is doing this to them. She introduces the second hero, Evan from the Rigas family. She introduces the third hero, that is, Nero. She wonders why she does not know about his family. She asks Nero from which family he is. He tells her in hesitation that he is a slave of the Rigas family. Meanwhile, Tarek starts to cheer him loudly. Naria also starts to cheer him. All the students start to cheer him instead of knowing that he is a slave. They show him respect. His status as a slave is finished. Nero becomes surprised. Their professor tells them that they will be awarded 10 extra points for what they did. He also tells them that these points will only be awarded during their 7th year, so until then they work hard and survive. They all become happy. He gives them artifacts as a gift. They wear the artifacts on their wrist. Nero thanks Evan for his help. He says that he did not help him. He was just merely testing the limits of his power. Evan does not give worth to them and goes back. Tarasu does not like his behavior and says he is the same as usual while Evan is walking in the corridor. The guard of the headmistress comes there and tells him that the headmistress is looking for him. Tarasu hears some whispers. She turns back and sees that Evan is going with the headmistress's guard. She suspects him that why he is going with the headmistress's guard. Evan is reached at the headmistress's room. The headmistress tells him that this will be the last exam where an advancement of survival shall take place. She gives him the answer sheet. She says to him that he should make sure to become the proper descendant of Lord Kundan and not let them down. She affectionately puts her hand on his face and says that in the next year she will properly turn him into a real man. At night, Marcus brings some books for his teammates and tells them that the professor gave him these books. The professor orders him to give these books to them. He tells them that the 4th exam will be the test of intelligence and they are required to memorize the whole contents of these books in 1 month. Evan starts to read the book. Marcus also gives the book to Tarasu. Tachu says that they have 1 month and they cannot even form a study group. Marcus tells her that they are not allowed to receive help from anyone. They will be studying on their own at the Great Library. Nero confidently looks at the book because he feels good about reading history. The only things that he read as a child were the history books. The next morning, Tarasu and Nero are bringing their breakfast. Tarasu asks Nero, "Have you ever read books that pertain to the elven family?" He replies that he did not read that type of books because his family did not have any books about elves. After that, Nero starts to prepare for his exam. He is reading the history book. Nero feels something weird about this book. The contents of this book slightly differ from what he has read before. He thinks that maybe his father did not have enough resources to acquire real history books. He says that if he wants to survive, he will need to memorize all of this. All of them are preparing for their exam. While Evan is sleeping carelessly, they take their exam and wait for the results. The result is announced, and they all hear it impatiently. Their professor tells them that the cutoff was 70 points. Ralph has scored 69 points. Nero has scored 14 points, and he is disqualified. Nero becomes a freaks. Nero comes out of the academy. 2 men are waiting for him near a carriage. One of them, whose name is Sargad, tells him to get on hurriedly because they do not have much time. After listening to it, Nero immediately runs and gets on the carriage. He sits on the carriage. These 2 men sit near him and looking him. Nero do not believe that he scored 14 points. He thinks there is no way he could have gotten the question regarding numerous wrong. Sargat looks at him and says he is looking pretty relaxed there if he did not know that slaves are supposed to be wary of their surroundings when riding a carriage. Nero looks at him and remains silent. Sargat comes near him. He hits him hard with his fist and says he asked him a question. Then he starts to beat him cruelly. Nero holds his leg and asks why he is doing this. Mr. Sargat. He says to call him Master Sargat instead of Mr. Sargat, because he got special permission from the Ragas family. They said that his family is now a slave of the slaves. Nero becomes frightened. After some, he reaches near his house. He descends from the carriage. At this time, his sisters Sylvie and Wendy run towards him. They look very excited. He hugs them. He looks at them and says they both have grown so much. They have become fine young ladies. At this time, Wendy says she is taller than Sylvie. At the same time, Silly says that she is taller than Wendy. Wendy says that he looks so much older too. Nero says he did get a bit taller. Sylvie says if he grew a little bit taller, then he will be handsome. At this time, Mr. Butler comes near him and says that his master is calling for him. He replies he is going. Nero goes to his master's house. He sits in front of his master. His master hits a glass bottle on his face and asks if he treats his Evan informally. Bleeding starts on Nero's face. He asks how they were ordered to behave. He tells him to shut his mouth. He rebukes him and says he thinks he was allowed to live with tigers and that he is a tiger himself. Nero requests to forgive him. He says he deserves death. His master says he is selling his sister away. He says he is sure he remembers well, the man named Harvey. He was the one who killed his mother. After listening to that, he becomes scared. He asks why he is doing that. His master says that he did not sell his sisters because he respected his parents' hard work. But now it is thanks to him that they are being sold away. Nero requests him shortly not to do this, just kill him instead. He says that it would be a waste of money if he killed him, but he still holds some value. After that, he goes toward Harvey. Harvey says to him that he is not going to do anything. He is still going to offer to buy his sisters, and he is going to have a lot of fun. He cries and says to reconsider his offer. They are still kids. They still have not learned how to be proper slaves. He is sure they will have any trouble doing some housework. He tries to exceed him by saying that he is wasting his money buying both of them. He requests to buy him instead of his sisters. He will do everything. He will do anything he asks him to do as such as he wants. He will do everything without question. Harvey laughs at his helpless situation. He asks if he will kill someone, that he will tell him. Nero says he will kill anyone he wants him to kill. After that, he buys him from his master and is ready to take it with him. Nero's master asks why he changed his mind all of a sudden. Harvey replies that male slaves have the potential to earn large sums of money. He further says that carnal desires waver, but money is permanent. While he is going with Harvey, he meets with his sisters. His sisters request not to go. He says not to worry about him. He promises he will come back. At night, Harvey takes him to his house. He sees his body and says that he has a solid frame. The next morning, he starts his work. While he is working, two men sit near him. They look at Nero and talk with each other. One of them asks if he is from the Ragaz family whose mother got beaten by Harvey. He says he has sold to Harvey now. The other man says that he knows how Ronald is an early bird. According to him, that boy had been out there and working since 3 a.m. in the morning, so he asked that boy if he slept or not. That boy said that he will get his chance to sleep as soon, which means he has not slept yet. Then the next day, that boy was working at 6 hours in the morning. So Ronald asked again why he had not slept yet. He said that he slept already. On the other side, Tarasu walks in the corridor of the academy. She thinks the pendant that Nero had is Nero's pendant. When she is walking, he sees Evan. Dude and Marcus stand together in the corridor. Evan rebukes them and asks why they throw books away there. Nero's name would have been written on it. He orders them to go and retrieve it. Tarasu listens to their talk silently. At this time, Tarasu creates a spirit of wind in her palm and requests her to help her. Dude and Marcus had dug Nero's book into the ground. They retrieve Nero's book. Marcus asks what Evan told them to do again. Dude tells him that he said to burn it. While he starts to burn with his spell, Spirit of Wind comes near him. She sneaks this book and flies upward. They see upward and yell. They need to get it back. At this time, Tarasu attacks on them with her bow and arrow and says they committed treason. She takes them toward the professor and tells him about their treason. The professor asks how they created this book and who ordered it. He says if they do not answer him, then the emperor will hear about this, and once the emperor hears about this, they will both be executed. After listening to that, they start crying. Marcus tells his family owns a printing shop and it was Evan who ordered them. When Tarasu listens, he becomes furious. She runs toward Evan. At this time, the headmistress takes Evan to her room. Tarasu sees them and knows Evan's treason that he made a great deal with the headmistress. At this time, Evan is present in the headmistress's room. The headmistress wears a hot and short dress. While she is drinking, he says that he made it into his 4th year and there would not be any more eliminations. Since he did everything that she has asked him, this headmistress will have to reward him. Evan sits on the chair. At this time, the headmistress comes near him. Evan feels hesitate with her and rejects her. The headmistress asks why he is hesitating. This is the first time a man has ever rejected her. Evan says that he already has someone he likes. She persuades him and says that is to be expected, but that has nothing to do with what they are about to do now. She says him to be honest with her. Evan yells and says he really cannot do this. The headmistress says if he can tell her who it is, then she will let him go. Evan says that he likes Tarasu. Tarasu listens their talk silently. After listening to it, Tarasu become astonished. Nero works from morning till night. At night, Harvey calls him and says he can stop there for tonight. He says him to come into his room. When he enters his room, he sees a whip in his hand. He tells that he has lost some money, so he wants to get himself out of it. He already knows that he is not the nicest person around. Then he starts to beat him with whip and says he loves destroying the weak. He feels so much better when he does all of that, and satisfaction grows on him. He laughs and says he should know that he is the one who killed his father to claim his mother for himself. He mixed some poison into his medicine. It all went according to his plan. In the end, he was able to torture his mother to death. After listening to that, he becomes furious. He breaks a piece of Flora's tile and stabs him. He puts a sharp tip of tile on his neck to kill him. Harvey laughs and tells him to go ahead and stab him. He says he is at least aware of the law. A slave killing his master is punished by the execution of his family as well. After listening to that law, he becomes scared and leans down. When Nero leans down, Harvey says that this is what he relishes, and this is what he can get enough of. He says that every time he will beat him with whip from now on he will repeat these sentences after him, which are he is a slave, he is a bug, and he is nothing more than garbage. After that he starts to beat him with whip and Nero repeats the sentences that Harvey told him. Nero looks very helpless. Harvey beats him cruelly. Nero requests him to give him some food. Harvey laughs at his condition and says he told him before to say it out louder and he will give it to him. While he is beating him with whip, the professor arrives there and stops him. Harvey asks who he is and why he is coming there. The professor says that he is Olmi, a professor at the X-Ganem Academy, as well as the commander of the 3rd Division of the Aruka Mage Force of the Mu Empire. He grasps the whip and tells Nero has become a 4th-year student at the X-Ganem Academy and is now an official officer of the Mu Empire. As he already knows, an officer of the Imperial Army is ranked twice as high as a commoner. Therefore, he has assaulted someone who is of a higher standing than him. The punishment for assaulting an officer is death. After listening to it, he becomes furious. He holds a thick iron nail stick and moves towards Harvey to take his revenge. The professor says that he should leave the execution to him while he rests up. Nero says he needs to die by his own hands. He put poison in his father's medicine to kill him. He bought his mother to rape her and beat her to death. He needs to understand the amount of pain his family went through because of him. At this time, Harvey attacks with his knife to protect himself. Instantly, the professor tied him with a magical chain. Nero beats him badly to take his revenge. After beating, he becomes tired and falls on the ground. After that, he eats a meal and says thanks him for the meal. The professor says it seems he has been starved for quite some time. He turns back toward Harvey and says he still has some unfinished business to take care of. Harvey requests to save him. Nero says he does not like his voice. He despises it and kills him. Harvey requests to give him another chance. He asks eagerly if he wants to give another chance, then why he did give his family another chance. He weeps and says his mother probably asked to be spared. She begged and pleaded, but he did not give her another chance. The professor goes near Nero and says not to become consumed by that thing. After beating him badly, he goes out of the room. Harvey cries and says he went through that phase before. The world is not as kind as he thinks, and being complacent like that will only lead to his demise. The professor comes near him and says he hates adults like him, who think they know everything. After saying this, he kills him with a knife. After some time, they go toward the academy through a dragon ride. The professor tells him that it all happened due to Evan. Marcus and Dude helped him. They changed his book with another book. For this purpose, they used one of the printing shops owned by the Marcus family. Nero asks what happened to Evan. He says nothing has happened with him because the people supporting him are people with enormous influence. Nero becomes upset and asks why he was born alone in this world. The professor consoles him and says he is no longer alone in this world. After listening to it, he becomes happy. The students gather at drill hall, where the headmistress welcomes them by saying that they have overcome the status they were born with and become splendid officers of the Mood Empire's Imperial Army. Tarek looks at Naria and congratulates him by saying that she is no longer a slave. Naria thinks she cannot believe it. The headmistress says that everything will be different. There will be no more elimination. They will remain in this academy for the next 4 years and continue to achieve even greater merits than before. All of their efforts will one day be recognized by Emperor Mu himself. Then she asks why there are only 15 students. In Townley, the guard tells Marcus was disqualified because of the recent incident, and Nero will be taking his place. At this time, the professor and Nero arrive at the hall. After seeing him, Evan becomes astonished. Turk, Tarasu, and Naria look happy on his arrival. The next morning, they all gather in front of the storage house to take new uniforms. They all take their uniforms from the storage house and wear them. After wearing the new uniform, Turk says these new uniforms are pretty nice. Naria stands near him. Turk praises him and says she looks nice in the new uniform. After wearing a new uniform, Nero comes near Naria and asks how he looks. After seeing him in new uniform, she becomes surprised. At this time, Tarasu comes near him. She holds his hand and says she has something she wants to say. She takes him away by holding his hand. Both of them stand near a storage house. Tarasu says that she felt extremely guilty and bad after he was disqualified. Nero asks why she is feeling guilty. At this time, she withdraws his pendant from his neck and says she probably should have told him sooner. She looks at his pendant and tells him he is a half-elf from Hylas family, which is one of the 3 great families in Noria. He is the son of the Queen Lunatil. She says that she is not sure about this, but she heard this in Noria, that this pendant is usually given to the chosen one. She tells him that there was a child between Lord Kodan and Queen Lunatil. To protect the throne of the queen, the child was kept a secret and was later abandoned. She says that the Queen Lutal is currently suffering from an illness and is slowly dying, but not a day has gone by where she has not missed that child. She holds his pendant and tells him that a candidate who wants to become the queen will find the half-elf with the pendant. Nero asks that if he is the son of Lord Kundan and Queen Lunadal, then Evan would be his brother. Tarashu says yes, they would be half-siblings. Nero becomes surprised. The next day, Their professor tells them that they are in their final year. He guessed it was ironic that the descendants of Atramus were disqualified. He tells them that they will each have their separate rooms. Their rooms are protected with advanced magic, so there should not be any issue. He says that the reason why they have lived together was because they were soldiers. But now they are leaders. They become happy. He gives them keys to their room. Nero goes to his room. He opens the door. He becomes happy to see his well-furnished room. He thinks that it might be the fruit of his labor. He lies down on his bed. He thinks how comfortable is it. He sees his pendant and says that things get pretty interesting. Evan and Terasu's rooms are parallel to each other. While Tarisu is locking her room to go outside, Evan calls her. She ignores him and starts to walk ahead. While walking, she tells him not to utter the name of the Norian Queen's candidate with that filthy mouth of him. He should have been disqualified alongside Marcus. This place should have never accepted someone like him. She ragefully says that she does not know anymore who is he. On the other side, Nero is taking a shower. Evan also goes there to take a shower. He congratulates Nero that he is no longer a slave. Nero glares at him and asks why did he try to sell off his sisters to the man who tortured his mother. Evan tells him that he does not know what he is talking about. Whenever he receives a letter from home, he just replies with his current situation. He did not order his family to sell them off. He says that his siblings are still his property. Nero tells him that he finally took off their shackles. It was a hefty price to pay. He tells him that his grandfather accepted his negotiation and they are finally free. His sisters are commoners and he is an officer who has the power to display his rights even unto the nobles like him. It means he can kill him any time that he wants. Evan angrily tells him to go ahead and try it. Nero says that he is waiting for the perfect time. They both glare at each other. Nero says that all of this will be settled when one of them dies. After this conversation, Nero goes back toward his room. In the corridor, he meets with Naria. He asks Naria if she is next door to him. She answers yes. Their rooms are parallel to each other. Nero says that he heard the news. She was in first place in the test of knowledge. Naria is shy and says that she ended up memorizing everything. She also memorized useless pieces of information as well. Nero says to Naria that he has a favor to ask of her. He says that he wants to learn more about history. He had only read one history book as a child, so he wants to learn more advanced topics from her. Naria says that she will tell him about more advanced topics. She says that her class will always be in the evening. He says thanks to her. The next day, Naria starts to tell him about the history. She says that the Mu Empire was originally 3 different kingdoms. The land of the knights that was known as Laurentia, the land of mages was known as Aruka, and the land of elves was known as Noria. This was the Lugard era, and it lasted for 42 years. It was during this time that each of these kingdoms emerged and established their society. But around the 41st year, the seers of Noria issued a new prophecy. They say that the demon lord would become. They must be prepared themselves. The 3 kingdoms were so afraid of the demon lord Signium's resurrection. They created an academy that unified the 3 kingdoms. That academy was known as Excanum. For the next 600 years, nothing happened. Just when people started to have doubts about this prophecy, Signium's power started to make advancements all over the world. However, during that time, the Shai emerged from the Excanum Academy. This person rose above their status and became a candidate for the position of emperor. He was the first who was accepted by the legendary Sword Archdame. That person was the current Emperor Miran. Other heroes were on the same level as him. Turk's father was the undefeated knight known as Gawain. The 2 genius mages of Aruka were Etrames and Kundun. The queen of the 3 families of Noria, Lunadal, had also played an important role. These 5 valiant spirits became legends soon after their graduation. Naria tells that the war was long and brutal. So many people and loved ones perished. However, the 4 heroes never gave up, and they did their best to fulfill their duties. In the end, a sacrifice must be made. The monsters were happy because they knew that their god was almost ready and he would soon be resurrected once more. The embodiment of Signium was present on the tip of a bridge. These 5 heroes attacked on him, but their attacks did not affect him. Etramus says that they do not have much time. They will need to call forth the Divine Lord of Lugar. At this time, Etramus and Kundun cut their wrists with knives and create the power to summon the Divine Lord of Lugard. With their power, the Divine Lord of Lugard appears there. He says that he is quite impressed. The fact that they were able to summon him with the power of 2 people is not an easy task. They request him to save them. The Demon Lord of Signium says him not to interfere. This is something that must be accomplished. The Divine Lord of Lugard says there is no time to waste. Even with their strengths, they would not be able to maintain him for too long. He says them to full their tasks. They move together to attack her. Etramus and Kundun moved upward to attack the god. In return, the demigod threw his spell toward them. They fall downward with this attack. At this time, Emperor Miran cut the god into 3 pieces by using his legendary sword Arctane. Neria says that she always wondered how he was able to fight against a god. She says to Nero that he needs to view Divine Lord Lugard and Demon Lord Signium as one entity. While one loves them eternally, The other wants to destroy them eternally. Nero asks what happened afterward. Narya tells that the Signium was scattered throughout the world in 3 pieces. Since these 3 pieces held an incredible amount of his power, they would cause destruction wherever they went, as each of these pieces were drawn to each other. That's why the flames of war continued to exist. The heroes knew that those 3 pieces came together and Decorum would return once more. Itramus told them that he discovered these a while back, and they are known as the Eyes of Lugard. But there seems to be an issue. These eyes have been secretly guarded since ancient times, but it seems only 2 have made it. The last one was destroyed. The people who were in charge of protecting it all disappeared without a trace. 2 of the pieces of Signium are seals away in Noria and Aruka, but the last piece was not able to be sealed, so the world prepared for destruction once more. A few years later, that piece came close to the first Eye of Lugard. Once that piece of Signium comes in contact with the one inside the first Eye of Lugard, they will have no choice but to prepare for the worst. Lord Atramus was able to come up with a solution that sealed it away in the body of someone. This can only work with a powerful body that holds a significant amount of mana. Atramus could not guarantee that this would work as intended. If they do not work, then they will become a walking piece of Signium. Kundun said that he would do it. He has already heard about the procedure from Atramus. Kundun said, Murin must heal the world that has been destroyed by the war, and Itramis is much different than him. He holds a lot of wisdom, and it must be passed down to the future generation. Besides this, he has a soft heart. He would not be able to resist the influence of Decorum. He said that he is only good at using magic. Lunadal said he cannot do this. He was supposed to be their future. Kundun said to Lunadal that he would leave his children in her care, and Hetramus would surely help her. He loves her just as much as he loves her, and that child will become the living embodiment of 3 of them. After saying this, he moved forward. The Minu Emperor, Queen Lunadal, and Atramus run behind him to stop him. But Kundun did not stop. He sealed the 3rd piece of Signium in his body. After seeing this, the Moon Emperor was stop Lunadal and Atramus from moving ahead. Kundun's body was in full control of Signium. He did things that Signium wanted to do. Kundun said to them that they are nothing more than insignificant beings. The Signium spoke through Kundun. He said that he is the definition of strength, and they try to use that against him. He expelled his spell and thrown at them. The Atramus had makes a protective shield to protect themselves, but Signium's spell power was so intense that it broken the protective shield. The Atramus injured badly. The Emperor had scared. The Emperor went to a competition. The Seconium threw his spell on his sword and said that this was the sword that cut him into 3 pieces. The Atramus tied him in a magical chain. He said that this is one of the extreme magic that can resist all evil. He said that this magic is created through a sacrifice and that sacrifice is given by the Kandam. He used the power of time to incarcerate him. The Seconium tried to remove this magical chain from his body. The Atramus said to him that the more he resists, the greater would be the effects. He used his all mana to incarcerate him in the power of time. The Seconium screamed. The Atramus had died because his all mana was finished to seal him. At last they succeeded in sealing him. With the sacrifice of Lord Atramus and Lord Kundun, they were able to a seal that was as strong as the Eye of Lugard. They stored this seal in a hidden place. This incident caused a lot of sorrow to the Emperor. In a state of dismay, he sat on the ground and thought that he had lost 2 loyal heroes in this battle. Neria has accomplished his story about history. Nero starts to cry after listening to this brutal history. He thinks that he was born during this sorrowful time. While Evan is sitting on a chair in the headmistress's room, he says to her that he needs power. She asks him why he has suddenly taken an interest in gaining more power. He is still the strongest among his peers. He replies that he wants more power to defeat Nero. She says to him that he knows what she requires in return. He cuts his arm with a knife. Blood starts to emit from his arm. She holds his arm and starts to gulp his blood. She says that the red river of the fateful heroes pouring out from the bodies of their descendants is very precious. Terasho listens to their talks through her spirit of wind, which is present in the headmistress's room. When Evan goes back from the headmistress's room, Terasu holds his arm and turns him toward her. She ragefully puts her elbow on his neck and says that she does not know what he is scheming, but she knows he has something to do with Nero. She asks why he is so insistent on harming Nero. He replies that Nero is a slave. He is different than them. She says that his vision is so bad. She raises her hand to slap him, but he stops him. He satires her and says that the Norians have people who belong to the lower class. Then that means they are no different. They both look at each other with anger. She yells and says that all of the nobles in Noria exist to fulfill an honorable duty. They must always be ready to sacrifice their lives for the time of their calling. Their society is built on that principle, which is why they can garner respect from their people. They are not like him, who simply looks down on people just because they are of lower class. He emotionally embraces her. She becomes astonished. He tells her that he wants to become the Shy, but he is so scared of Nero. He does not know if he can beat him. She asks him why he wants to become the Shy. He replies that for his father, he wants to save his father. She says to him that he has family and friends that will always support him, while Nero has always been alone since the beginning. After saying this, she goes from there. When Nero is walking in the corridor, other students see him and talk about him. They mock Nero and say that they need to spend the next 4 years with a slave. Nero hits one student from his back. He starts to beat them. He beats them badly. He cries and tells them that his father died to save the evils like them. Ibahiash 34. After that, Nero goes to eat his meal. All students are sitting at a dining table and eating their meals. They also gossip with each other. Nero yells and forcefully hits his hand on the dining table. His meal has scattered. All the students start to see him. They become astonished at what's happened to him. They start bad gossip about him. Nero sees this and goes from there in anger. In a rage, he goes to the jungle. He says that his father gave his life for these bad people. He raises his sword and eagerly hits it on a tree. He cuts the tree within one attempt. In Narya's room, Narya makes an almond delight for Nero. Her friend says to her that an almond delight signifies their longing for that person. She says that the moment when a woman is the first to make a move on a man, even if he accepts it, that relationship will no doubt be a failure. She cannot believe that she is going to make the first move for someone like Nero. In the corridor, Nero is again fighting with some students. He beats them badly. Turk stops him. Nero yells at them. One of them says that his father will revenge this. Nero says that if he becomes the shy, then what he is going to do about it. When he becomes the shy, his position will be higher than nobles. Nero again slaps at one of them. Turk yells at him and stops him. Nero offensively says to him that he is the same as them. Then Nero goes from there. He goes to the ground and sits on the stairs of the ground. Then Taursu comes there. She says hello to him. She sits near to him and is shy. She asks if he will become the shy. He answers yes. He tells her that his father preserves everyone's precious lives. He gave up his own life. But look at the world now. Look at how greedy and selfish everyone is. He says that what she saw was just the tip of the iceberg. To fulfill their desires, they would sell and buy people. He thinks about his mother and tells her that they would treat people worse than dogs and then eventually kill them brutally. Only a few would be willing to live their life for others. Teresu puts some almond in his hand. It shows that she falls in love with Nero. At this time, Nero comes near him and kisses him. Evan sees them silently. After knowing she loves with Nero, Evan becomes furious. He goes to his room and hits the chair in anger to the ground, and shouts. On the other side, Turk falls in love with Nerya, but he does not give his almond to Nerya. When Nero goes toward his room, Nerya comes near. She gives him an almond delight, but he refuses to take it. He says that he is different from them. Nerya comes into her room after rejecting her proposal. She cries. Her friend says that's why she said she should not give it herself. The next day, all students gather near the professor. The professor stands in front of them. He says that there is testing of swordsmanship at the start of the new term. He asks them if they remember how they did it in the past. Only one student replies while all others remain quiet. The professor asks why they are all so quiet. They tell them not to worry about it and what they are doing that day is completely different from that. He tells them that they will be fighting him. They will not use any magic, but just use swords. He says that all of them can come at him and try to best knock him down. One of them says that he is the monster that took down a full-grown bladed ram when he was 11 years old. The professor yells and asks if he called him a monster. He throws some swords toward them. After that, he says that points will be awarded for specific things. If they can land a blow on his body, they will earn 1 point. If they can make him fall over, they will earn 3 points. Lastly, if they can disarm him, then they will earn 5 points. Everyone moves to attack the professor. Tarasu looks at Nero and thinks he is usually pretty excited during these events. Turk and Evan run forward. Evan stops all his fellows and says he cannot find an opening with him in the way. The professor asks if they are going to take him on. He points out to Turk and says to him that he knows how to wield a sword, but his pattern of attacks is way too simple. Then he looks at Evan and says Evan will not even be able to get milk from his mother without the use of magic. After listening to his word, they become furious. Turk yells and says who he is calling simple. At the same time, Evan yells and says his mother is already dead. They attack on the professor with their swords. In return, the professor hits them with his sword. Turk falls to the ground. At this time, Evan thinks if he cannot defeat this man, then he will never become a magic swordsman and runs towards him. The professor hits him with his sword. At the same time, Turk attacks on him. The professor hits him and falls to the ground. At the same time, Nero hits his sword with the sword of the professor. The professor becomes astonished and thinks when he comes, he is predicting where he is going to evade and attacking him based on that. Nero breaks the professor's sword with his power. After seeing his power, all the students become astonished. The professor surrenders himself at this time. Nero shows his sword to all the students and says they cannot become the shy because they will never surpass him. Evan yells and says to stop fucking around. He is nothing more than a filthy slave. Evan stands up and ejects his magic in anger. The professor says to Evan that he said magic is not allowed. He does not stop. He tied the professor with his magic. He attacks Nero with his magic. At this time, Turk stops him and asks if he is trying to kill him. He pushes him and says if they do not want to die, then they get their asses out of here. Tarasu feels bad about this. He yells and asks what happens to him. Nero rises up and shows his sword to him. He says that he was the one who tried to kill him first. He pierces his sword into the ground to create a magic sword. Then he attacks Evan with his sword. At this time, Evan generates a dangerous magic that has never seen something like that before. He says that there is something that he wants more than being a shy, and that is his death. He throws his spell in anger toward Nero. At this time, Nero's sword becomes damaged with his spell. Nero becomes astonished to see it in this condition. He thinks when he was simply the son of a slave, he thought that he only needed to endure to escape all of these tragedies. However, after finding out that he is the son of a hero, he realizes that he needs to make an effort to change everything. It is not just for his family, but for the entire world as well. Even if he has to kill someone, as long as he can bring justice to this world, he will do whatever it takes for that to happen. At this time, the headmistress appears there. She attacks Nero and Evan to stop their fight. They lose their consciousness after receiving the attack of the headmistress. 1 week later, Tarek comes near Nero and tells him they let go, probably because Evan started it. If that happens again, he will be facing expulsion. Although things were settled for now. He says if he picks a fight with anyone, he will be the only one getting suspended. That's why they should probably end this. Now he punches Nero. Nero asks what he is doing. Tarek says he was out for 3 days after receiving an attack from the headmistress. When he was in that state, it was Neria who cared and nursed him back to health. She would not even sleep. However, as soon as he opened his eyes, he told her to stop doing that. And not only that, he said something a friend should have never said to another friend. He told her that he did not need her and told her to leave. After that incident, Neria shut herself in her room and cried. Nero asks if he was that worried about her, and why he did not console her himself. If he is worried that he might end up falling in love with a slave by doing that. If he is scared that he might end up having to take responsibility for becoming the shame of his family. After listening to that, Turk becomes furious. He kicks him in anger. Nero says sorry to him and says it is just like he said he will get expelled if he gets into another fight. But being a fight is a different story. Turk cries and says he has never once thought that he and Miria were any different than him. And the only difference was that they drew the short end of the stick. After that, Turk moves away. Nero feels guilty and thinks this must be the emotions of a half-elf. He is starting to draw out his most extreme feelings. He will need to continue his path. The next morning, all students gather near the podium of the academy, where Mu Empire Morin waits for them. All students stand attentively in front of Mugi Empire Morin. They lean down to show their respect to the emperor. At this time, the emperor sees toward the headmistress and says it seems this year's 4th-year students are a lot smaller than before. The headmistress replies that is why they raised the difficulty of the tests this year. Since they are trying to create elite soldiers and having this number of students is quite impressive. If she says to herself, the Empire says that he is sure they have all been trained in the way of strength, endurance, wisdom, and knowledge, and they did everything they could to attain all of that. He says that after their struggle and sacrifice, they have persisted and are now an official soldier of the Mu Empire, and the Mu Empire requires their strength. He says that he is facing the same problems that they had 30 years ago, and the demon god of chaos Simium and his offspring are starting to make their move. He is sure that he still remembers the Amuro Mine invasion. He calls the Terraces, Evans, and Nero's names and says he has heard that it was these 3 who were able to put a stop to their advancement. He says that he cannot express how he feels, but he does not get ahead of themselves, and this is all just the calm before the storm. He says that larger and stronger enemies shall soon make an appearance in this world. When they will complete their final exam of this year, they will immediately be put on the front lines, and the battle with their enemies will begin. He prepares them by saying that the warmth of this place shall soon be in the past, as they will be facing the oncoming storm and be fighting to protect not only himself but the future of the Mu Empire as well. He encourages them, and says to do their best to become even stronger than before. At last he says that all of their heroic deeds shall not go unnoticed. And after saying this, he moves away. Maya says to Evan that she cannot believe that the war must have already started. Then he asked if the enemies had already started to make a move. Evan replies that the time of their peace will soon be disrupted. After some time, Nero goes to the Empire's room, where he is taking the tea. Nero enters the rooms and asks him in an honorable way why he has called him. The Empire says him to enter in the room and take a seat. He sits on the sofa. The Empire says that he is a hero who was able to stop the enemy's advancement on the Amuro Mine, and now he has become an elite soldier of the Moody Empire. The past is merely something for him to reminisce about, but the present is for him to look towards the future. Nero replies that he will keep that in mind. The Empire says he heard that he got into a fight with Evan and he is starting to show hatred towards nobles. Nero requests him to forgive him for that. The Empire says that he fully understands those feelings. However, rage shall only dull the blade and hinder his senses. He will need to understand that rage is a different form of weapon. He again apologizes for that. and asks what he needs to do to not let his emotions get the best of him. The Empire asks how he became proficient with the sword. He further says that he heard that he was able to beat the Blade Master Jared. Nero says that he practiced and continues to practice. He swung his blade until his skin hardened and he could no longer feel any pain. He swung and swung again until he was finally able to cut down a fully grown tree. The Empire says that mastering the sword is essentially just practicing over and over again, without the concept of thought. He instructs him to repeat this process until it becomes a part of him, and as natural as breathing. He says that he can conquer his fears and tame the rage inside of him. For this purpose he must strengthen his heart. The Empire says to him that he will teach him the basics of a magic swordsman. After some time, the Empires attack Evan through his magic swords. Evan asks what he is doing this. The professor says that he has yet to know what the true definition of hatred is. He is feeling physical pain right now. It is nothing compared to the pain inside his heart. Evan feels physical pain at this time and he wants to kill him. The Empire liberates his power using his magic sword and says he is finally revealing his true nature. The professor sees them silently. He thinks that two candidates of the Shide can rise together, or become an enemy of each other. However, while Nero is being taught to control his heart, Evan is being to liberate his heart. He thinks about what the Empire Murin is planning. On the other side, Tarasu feels happy after reminding her beautiful moments that he has spent with Nero. At the same time, he remembers the hug of Evan. She thinks that humans live for such a short time. They are way too complicated. He thinks why they are more bothersome. 3 months later, all students gathered near their professors. The professor tells them it is time for their 5th exam, which is the test of mercy. He explains the rules to them. He tells first they will attempt this challenge in a group of 2. Second, they have placed enemies along the path, and the more that they defeat, the more points they will earn. However, if they kill a classmate, then their points shall be deducted. So the 5th test shall allow them to kill or kill. He says that they have already received permission from their parents. After listening to it, all the students become astonished. Their professor says to them that they have heard the rules, so they have 30 minutes to find their partner. Many students offer Neria to their partnership. One of them tells her that if he becomes his partner, he will gift her a silver fork. The other offers her a plot of land. Suddenly, Tarashu sends her spirit of wind toward Naria. Naria becomes a wonder. The wind of spirit gives Tarasu's message to Naria. Tarasu wants to be her partner. She says that she will not harm her. Naria accepts her offer and becomes her partner. Turka says that the rules allow for killing. They were planning to side up with someone who looked the weakest. He says them that if they are desperate for a partner, then he will gladly become their partner. He does not care who becomes his partner, but does not expect any mercy to be shown from him. Evan makes a team with Nero. They both stare at each other. Taishu sees Evan. She reminds the conversation between her and Evan. A memory comes to her mind. She thinks that when they were doing gossip with each other, Evan told her that he had always lived his life expecting help from other people. He asked her what he would need to do to become more like Nero. She responded to him that he would find himself. He would find that person who was not a noble, not a son of Kundun, but just a person named Evan. He would find his weakness. After that, she would talk with Evan. She said to him that the weak form of himself would begin to attack him. It would become an enemy that he needed to constantly battle. He asked her that if he had overcome it, then she would look at him with the same eyes as he looked at Nero. He told her that he liked him. He asked if she would return that affection to him, but Tarasu did not respond to his affection. Then she looks toward Nero, and a memory about Nero also comes into her mind. She thinks that when she and Nero were standing on the cliff, Nero told her that Evan was better than him in every aspect. He had attained everything that he wanted. On the other hand, he had never attained anything that he wanted. Tarasu said to him that he was better than him in every aspect because he was real then and now. She wonders how they make a team. Miria also reminds about her and Nero's conversation. She thinks that when she was in a bad condition due to Nero's refusal, one day a person came out of her room. He knocked on the door. Neria opened the door. She thought that maybe it was Turk who knocked on the door, but she found Nero in front of her. Nero told her that he had something that was getting bigger and bigger within his heart. He had spent all this time fighting against it. By doing so, he had become a lot stronger. But then that thing changed colors. It became something even different than before. The more he tried to suppress it, that thing kept getting stronger. He said to her that he was tired, and that the thing not in his control was his internal monster. He did not know how much longer he could keep fighting against that monster. He apologized to her for refusing her. Neria cried and asked him why he was always fighting by himself. She asked if she could help him. He did not answer her and had gone. She cried bitterly. Evan says Nero to go with him. He starts to walk and orders him to follow him. Evan is moving toward their destination. Nero starts to walk behind him. Nero prays from their gracious lord, who gives him strength to bestow mercy upon Evan. Tarek and his teammate are also going toward their destination. Tarek's partner is scared of him. Tarek says to his teammate that he does not worry. This is a test of mercy, so he is not going to kill him. Suddenly, a rabbit comes there. They see it. Turka advises his teammate not to kill that type of thing without any solid reason. If he kills something like that without any mercy, then he is only going to lose points. His teammate guesses that this test should not be too hard. Suddenly, the rabbit opens his mouth and brutally eats a mouse. Turk and his teammate are astonished to see that. On the other hand, Tarasu and Narya also see a rabbit that is eating a mouse. Tarasu stares at the rabbit. She kills the rabbit with her arrow. She says to Narya that it is best to avoid unnecessary bloodshed, but it will also work against them if they grant mercy to bloodthirsty creatures like that. She happily says to Narya that they will pass the test if they can distinguish when to grant mercy or not. They start their journey again. Tarasu asks Narya why she likes Nero. Narya becomes surprised at how she does know. Tarsha says to her that she has seen the shoes that she made for him. Narya becomes sad and says to her that she gave up because Nero already has someone he likes. Tarasu says to her that he likes me. Narya asks how she knows that as well. Tarasu laughs and replies to her that aside from her and Tarek, everyone knows about it. She tells her that Nero did like her. Narya asks why she is talking in the past tense. She replies that it is all in the past. She tells her that when they had told each other about their love, Nero said that if they took one more step, they would be living completely different lives. That's why he was scared to do so. His thoughts regarding her became much deeper than before. It became something more than just a simple yearning. He realized what he was feeling was a sense of responsibility. It was the same feeling that he held towards his sibling. He told her that this responsibility had come on him after the death of his mother. He said that she is beautiful and strong, but very naive as well. That's what he liked about her. He said that she smelled really good. However, he had a nasty scent. She said to her that he had been smelling bad for the past 2 years, but with time it vanished. He laughed and said that he tried hard to get rid of that stench, but it seemed it had not fully disappeared. He asked her what she felt about him. She replied to him that he was one of the strongest people that she had met. He had more passion and effort than anyone else. Nero said to her that she did not know anything about him. He said that she was one of the prettiest girls in the entire empire. Her looks, her overwhelming talent, long lifespan of her youth, her potential to govern her kingdom, everything that she possessed, had a royalty. His body was born as a slave. He said that the life of a slave is still deep within him. He tried many times to overcome it, but he failed every time. He said that it means that this slave within him is his true self. He told her that his internal slave destroyed any form of happiness and joy within him. He said that they are very different from each other. After that day, they decided to hold off on their feelings. Due to the difference in their color and their scent, they decided to give more thought to it. After listening to Tarasu's story, Narya cries. Tarasu asks her why she is crying. She says that she just wants to hug Nero. She asks Tarasu if she also wants to hug him. Tarasu thinks for a while and answers yes. But this hog is not that. What a mother does to her child. She says to Narya that she wants to protect that person, but Nero always seemed enormous to her. Rather than protecting him, she respected him. On the other side, Nero and Evan start their fight. They both attack with their swords. At this time, the professor looks at them and thinks the test is not that important to those two. Evan hits his sword with Nero's sword strongly. After seeing this, Nero thinks he is completely different than before. If he continued to train after that day, Nero attacks on him with his sword. At this time, Evan asks if he thinks he is going to win. He further says him not to laugh at him. He says that the true definition of skill is when he can triple his potential in a given moment. Nero laughs at this time and says he will show him the amount of pain and effort he has to put in to triple his skill. When Evan attacks on him eagerly, Nero uses the power of skill that the Emperor has personally taught him. After seeing his power of skill, Evan becomes furious. He asks how he knows this. After that, he attacks him with his words and asks why everyone prefers him. Nero tells him to accept that there is no difference between them. He is much better than him. After listening to that, he becomes furious and says his origin does not matter when he is a soldier. He just needs to be strong and wise. Nero asks him if he was not born as a slave, he would looked at him differently. Evan replies it does not matter how he was born. He always be beneath him. Evan says he will just end up back at his feet. Nero looks at him eagerly and says he will not be able to stop him. He attacks Evan with his sword and tells him that his real enemy is not Nero. However, it is himself. Evan says him to kill him and after that he can laugh and mock his corpse all he wants. Nero says he will ask him one last time he would still hate him if he was not a slave. He replies he will hate him because he has been taking away everything that he cherished. Nero tells him to work on it together. He will not steal anything away from him because he is entitled to a certain extent. After that, he shows his pendant to him and tells the reality that he is the son of Kondon and Lunadal. He is his half-brother. After listening to that, he becomes astonished. Evan says to Nero that he is lying. Nero declares that he is the second son of Lord Kondon. He shows his pendant to Evan and tells that this pendant belonged to the Queen Lunatel, and it is the symbol of elven royalty. He has had this pendant since birth. Then Evan tells him the story of Queen Lunatel and Lord Kundan. He says that they both loved each other. On their last day at Excanum, they both were very sad because they were separated from each other. The Kundam said to Lunatel that he would give up everything for her. He was sick of his political marriage and his cursed family. Queen Lunadal was weeping bitterly. She said to him that she is an elf who would live 100 years longer than him, and fated to become the queen of her family. She was responsible for the lives of thousands of people. She said to him that he is the protector of Aruka. That also means his life was not the only one he must value. They could never make their own choices. She said to him that he is also willing to turn his back on their god, the same god who bestowed his blessings and fortune upon them. She said that happiness is the same as the sun. As it sets, it is bound to rise once more. Their time to embrace the moon had come. She had turned in God. The Kundun tried to stop her, but she could not stop. He told Nero that his father was forced into a political marriage after his graduation. After that, the war with the demons began and his father had to leave to become the protector of mankind. His mother did not have the strength nor status to persuade his father to not head to battle. A monster blocked his father's way. The Lord Kundun was fighting with the monster. Meanwhile, the monster attacked his father with his claw. The Lord Kundun was injured badly. His companions took him to the treatment camps. While this news had reached Queen Lunadal, she ran immediately towards the camp with her horse. While she had reached there, Etramus was shocked to see her. The Lord Kundun was lying on the bed. He lost his senses. To see this, the Queen Lunatal ran toward him. She asked Etramus why he did not treat him with his power. Etramus replied that it was a poison created by magic. It had been infused with Sunium's strength. The Queen Lunatal held a knife and opened it. She was to use her blood magic to alive the Kandan. The Etramus stopped her. He said to her that she could not shorten her lifespan, but she did not stop. She said to her that everything is a cycle. A new descendant who could take over her position was bound to appear, so if she could live long enough until then, everything would be fine. She injured her arm with the knife. Blood came out from her arm. She had used her blood magic to save Kundun's life. The Kundun opened his eyes. He was shocked to see her. He asked her why she is there. She was supposed to be protecting the Western continent. He said to her that she did not have to come this far for him. The Queen Lunadal embraced him and wept. She said that when she thought of a world without him, it made her realize that it was not the world which she wanted to protect. His father had returned to his home. His mother saw his father Kundun from the window of her house. She ran down the stairs in excitement. She was also pregnant at that time. She reached the main door to welcome him. The Kundun opened the door. He looked very sad. His mother moved ahead. She opened her arms to embrace him, but his father did not embrace his mother. He moved straight. His mother became sad. His father told his mother that he loved Lunadel and she is pregnant with his child. He said that he did not love her. He no longer wishes to live a life of a lie. He said that he must leave. He did not know if he would ever come back. Just treat him as a dead person. His mother fell to the ground and started to weep. His father had gone. A few months after that, the war with the demons came to an end. The rumors regarding the existence of Kundun and Lunadal's child were quickly spread. However, those rumors were short-lived. After the war, they all gathered in Exgame. The emperor of this era called the Miran and said to him that he was the possessor of the first blade. He was the only one who became the Shai. Miran was one of the greatest heroes who were able to protect the Miran continent from the invasion of Signium. He was able to prove his worth to become the master of the continent. He said that the Aruka, Valencia and Noria should honor Miran as their emperor. The Miran leaned in front of their emperor. The emperor had put a crown on his head. This was how the Muni became the emperor. After that, they all went back. While Queen Lunadal was going back, the Muni emperor reached there. He asked her if the rumors were true or not. She replied that these rumors were true. He advised her to keep this child a secret. This child would be a half-elf. The emperor told her that after his birth she must hide this child from the other people. She wept and said that what she should do. The emperor consoled her. He said that the sun had temporarily set. After the moon rises, a new sun will rise. The time had passed. The Queen Lunatel's child was born, but she kept this child a secret. After telling him this all, Evan angrily sees Nero. He says to him that he was the reason for his mother's sorrow. He said to Nero that if he did not exist, then his family would not pass through this pain. He says to Nero that from them only one can exist in this world. Nero says to him that he does not want to kill him, but Evan picks his sword from the ground to fight with him. He says to him that they no longer have any other choice. He attacks on Nero with his spell. Nero falls to the ground in a bad condition. He says that he does his best to survive, but he fails in it. He says that he is still going to die because of his brother. Evan yells at him with anger and says not to call him brother. He lifts his sword to kill him, but he does not kill him. He says to Nero that he sees himself within him. He says to him that they shall overcome their hatred. Nero agrees with him. He says that this is the only route they can take. Their vice principal is seeing this all. She says that it went exactly how Miran said it would go. He remembers the Miran words about Evan. He said that this child had the blood of Kundun inside of him. He holds the blood of a hero. On the other hand, Tarek and his teammate have killed a lot of animals. Tarek says that the more that he looks at them, the more he notices that they have a special trait to them. He says that some of them are extremely aggressive, but most of them have done nothing to them. Their professor sees them secretly. He says that time is almost up, but they could not identify the true purpose of this test. Their time is up. They complete their task and go back. Their professors tell them about their scores. They tell them that the importance of this test is to exercise the power of mercy. All life is locked in a never-ending cycle, so they must learn to show respect for it. That also applies to bloodthirsty predators. They say that killing a predator that attacks them first will not be part of their scoring system, but killing anything else aside from that will result in a deduction. Turk and Maya get 0 points because they kill everything in sight. Tarasi's 4 points have deducted because she killed the animals that did not attack her. To listen to it, Tarasu and Maria become astonished. Nero's and Evan's 5 points have been deducted. Maria asks the professors that she was in the same party as Tarasu, so why they do not tell her points. One professor replies that she is the winner because she killed nothing. She gets 7 points. With that, their leading candidate for the position of Shy is Neria. Maria becomes surprised. Nero thinks something when he is on his bed. After some time, he rises and sits on his bed. While he is wearing his uniform, he looks at his pendant. He lifts it from the table and goes away. All the students gather at the drill hall, where the headmistress Katia Moragas addresses them. She says that she always worried about the constant threats that imposed on their students, and if indeed he is more than willing to draw her blade for all, she is sure that there is a lot of them have learned from this test. She tells them that they will all be dispatched to battle next week, but before that they have prepared a vacation and banquet for all of them to enjoy their last days as students. The banquet will take place at Aruka, and there shall be some alcohol involved as well. All students look excited at this time. One of them says that they are going to be adults next year. She says them to find a dance partner for their ball, and make sure they are someone they know, as they will be spending the next 5 days with them until the next time. All students listen to her attentively. At night, all students gather at the dining table to take their dinner. While they are taking a meal, they talk about their partner. Tarasu asks what she should do if the guy she wants does not ask her to be their partner. A student who sits near him asks if she has shown that she was interested in him. After listening that, Tarasu remains silent, while Niru is eating his meal. Evan comes near his table and sits in front of him. When they are taking their meal, Evan says he heard that he is not as close to Tarasu as before. Nero replies that it just turned out that day. Evan asks if it should be fine if he asked Tarasu to be his partner. At this time, Nero looks at him and says to give him some time to think about this. After listening, Evan stands and goes toward Tarasu. He goes near Tarasu and asks if she will become his dance partner. Tarasu looks at him. He asks him again if she wants to dance with him. She smiles and accepts his offer. After that, he turns back toward his chair and sits on it. Nero looks at him with eager. On the other side, Turk near Neria and asks if she cares to become his dance partner. After listening to that, she looks at him. She smiles and accepts his offer. Tarek becomes excited after listening her positive reply. After some time, Tarsu, Neria, and their friend walk into corridor. She says that he seriously was not her type, but he could not turn him down. She does not like him, but her face is getting so hot. Tarasu asks Neria why she choose Turak. Instantly she asks in turn why she choose Evan Tarashu. Replies she does not know. After listening her reply, she says if she does not know, then she also does not know. On the other side, Nero enters in his room and lies on his bed. He thinks why he feels so shitty. In next morning, Nero packs his luggage and wears his uniform and his coach shoes and moves outside the academy. All students gather outside the academy near the royal carriage. The professor tells them that they will be moving for 3 days, and they will also be staying in 3 different towns as well. Once they arrive at the seaside city of Vikrama, they will ride a boat to Irokina, which is the capital of Aruka, where their journey will come to an end. Further, he tells about the carriage. He says that this is a royal carriage, and only the nobles of the highest rank can have a ride in this thing. But they should thank to the vice principal that they will have the chance to have a ride in this carriage. The vice principal stands near the professor at this time. The professor says everyone to give him a round of applause. The vice principal looks at them and says he is sure that they will enjoy this opportunity. After that, they move toward carriage one by one to start their journey. When Nero goes near the carriage, he becomes astonished to see it and says this carriage is huge. His partner has a dry nature. He says him to hurry and go in. At this time, Turk offers Neria to enter in the carriage. Evan and Tarasu enter in their carriage. When Tarasu enters the carriage, she says to Evan that he is making her to go first, just because he is a girl. Evan looks at her and says, yes, and looks at this scene, and feels jealous. After it, Nero enters his carriage and sits on his seat. He looks outside view through the carriage's window. His partner sits near him and reads his book. Nero looks at him and opens his mouth to talk with him. At this time, his partner says that he was thinking about talking to him. He further says that it has been about 3 hours since they departed, and he bet he is dying of boredom. If they start exchanging small talk, they will end up slowly introducing each other and become close friends, and he does not want that to happen. It makes him comfortable. Nero replies he was not planning to talk to him. After that, he starts to look outside view through the carriage's window. On the other side, scene appear at the carriage of Neria and Turk, where Neria sits in front of the Turk. Turkut says that he just wanted to talk to his sister. When he opened her, he saw that she was sat in front of the mirror, posing all by herself. She seriously has some sort of princess syndrome. Neria asks what happened afterward. Turk laughs and says they have not talked to each other for over 2 years. After listening to that, Neria starts laughing. Turk looks at her and thinks he is happy when she is smiling. He asks her why she accepted him. Neria replies, he accepted him because he asked her. He tells that he was pretty clueless as a kind. Whenever went to his slave friend's house, he would always accept their oat porridge without any hesitation. Then, before he knew it, they told him to stop coming to their house. He felt bad, so he asked his father to give them 3 years' worth of oats. After listening to that, Neria starts laughing. She says he is so funny. Turk looks at her and tells that he likes her. After listening, she replies that she knows to a certain extent. After that, the scene appears at the carriage of Evan and Taras. Evan asks why she accepted him and got on the same carriage as him. Tarasu replies, she accepted him because he asked her for this. Tarshu asks what he was expecting. Evan replies, he is nothing expecting. Actually, there is something he has been curious about. Tarasu asks what he is doing with headmistress Kadia. Then she asks about the weird magic that he uses. After it, she asks if he is certain that he likes her. Evan says that the elf's straightforward manner of speech has always made him comfortable, but he is sure that she has heard countless times of how strong his father and the emperor were. As the descendant of one of these heroes, he was expected to surpass their legacy, so from a very young age, he was compared to his father. Kadia sees right through him, and she seduces him by telling him that she can teach him the forbidden powers. Emperor Myron did the same thing to me as well. In any case, as his inferiority complex grew, the deal she offered him became sweeter than before. Trasso asks what he gave her in return. Evan says he gave his blood. The power he received from her was the power of Sinium, and he was shocked when he found out as well. He tells that his goal is to save his father from Sinium. However, half of his strength and magic became a part of Sinium. He says that she told him that he had to use a small bit of his power. She said something about balance. Enemies and war inevitably exists in the world of weapons and magic. This concept is the same within nature as well. There are bound to be preys and hunters. In a sense, it creates a form of equilibrium that can bring order within chaos. So it is all about finding balance with the things that allow us to live. At last, he asks if he does like her. Tarasu looks at him and remains silent. At night, the professor tells them that they have arrived in their first town, Poluk Town. The professor says to get out. He says that he can sleep at the inn. Evan comes out of the carriage. When Tarasu is coming out, Evan holds his hand and helps her. Tara carries her by picking her on his back. Nero looks at this scene and feels jealousy. After seeing this scene, Nero's body starts to shake and his heart is pounding. All students move toward their resting house. While they are going toward their room, Tarasu says to Evan that she thought the alchemy at that time was real and the humans would have repeated their mistakes once more. Turk carries Neria by lifting her on his back. The professor becomes astonished to see Turk. Turk carries Neria toward the resting room and lies down her on the bed. He looks at her and says, Neria does not ever wake up once she falls asleep. At night, Nero lies on his bed and feels discomfort. He thinks what is wrong with him. The next morning, all the students sit on their carriage and leave that town. Tarasu and Evan sit in their carriage. Tarasu looks at the violin and asks him when he is going to use it. Evan says that playing the violin is his hobby. She tells him to play it for her. At this time, he grasps the violin and starts to play it. Tarasu looks at him and praises him by saying that he is pretty good. Evan looks at his violin and tells this was her mother's violin, and his father performed with this violin after seeing his mother agree to the arranged marriage. Tarasu says his father was a very impulsive man, but she can understand his feelings. The sound of that instrument delivers the player's feelings. On the other side, Neria tells her life with his father was very fun before his death. But this time not so much. She says she is not a very interesting person. Turk encourages her and says she is definitely a fun and interesting person. Neria says he is always so bright, fun and happy. He is also a very kind. Nero sits on his carriage. He looks toward his partner and yells he is seriously not in the mood to talk. His partner says not to do it. He says he knows that he wants to talk to him. He asks if he needs a friend or some shit. He says him to be more honest with himself. There is a saying that he should not talk if his heart is not ready to be honest. He says that everything that he just said is from the book that he is reading. After 2 days, they travel by riding on a boat to reach Aruka. A student comes near the professor and asks how much longer they have to go. He says he is getting seasick. The professor replies they have just about there. They should be arriving at Aruka soon. Evan is playing his violin. Tarasu stands near him and enjoys his violin beat. She looks happy at this time. Nero sees this scene. His partner stands near him. He reads the book. He says that every time a seamstress mends his clothes, their feelings are endowed in it. So, the type of mending that he will require. Nero turns to move back. His partner asks where he is going when he is talking to him. Nero replies, he is feeling nauseous. He is going to go lie down for bed a bit. While he is going to lie down in bed, he sees Neria and Turk. Turka says to Neria, he really hates riding on a boat. Neria puts his hand on his forehead and says he is burning up. She consoles him and says to hold on a bit longer. They should almost be there. She says that he is really sensitive to motion sickness. After seeing this scene, Nero eagerly goes away. He tries to control himself. After some time, they reach Aruka. They stay at Aruka house. At night, a man knocks the door of Nero's room. Nero allows him to come in. He asks how his preparation goes for the banquet and ball. Nero replies it is going well. He gives him an outfit and tells him that the outfit is made from the finest materials in all of this kingdom. Nero looks at him. He wears that outfit. He looks pretty in that outfit. He looks at himself in the mirror and thinks he will need to first understand what he wants first. All the students gather in a big hall. When he takes a sip of alcohol, he instantly spits out and says this is nasty. After seeing him in this situation, a member of the council of Aruka Lower House, Marco Rachel, comes near him and introduces himself. He says that he guesses this is his first time tasting alcohol. He says that he heard all about his deeds in the X-Ganem Academy. Since his complexions are fair, he can only assume he is from a prestigious family. He asks Nero from which family he belongs. The students come near them and says he is a slave. After listening to that, they turn and move away. He says that he has some matters he has to attend. Nero looks at him and thinks all people are the same everywhere. At this time, Tarasu comes into the hall. She looks very beautiful in frock. Evan teases Nero and says he should enjoy his time. Little brother and goes toward Tarish. He offers her to dance with him. Tarasu accepts his offer. He holds her hand into his hand as they start to dance. Nero looks at them. At the same time, Tarek and Neria come into the hall. He feels jealous to see them. Tarek asks Neria if she will have a dance with him. Neria replies, she has never really danced before. He holds him in his hand and starts dancing with her. He says he can lead her. All students start dancing on the violin beat. At this time, Nero is frustrated with this violin beat. He looks at the alcohol glass and thinks that his father said alcohol helps to forget about pain. After that, he starts to drink alcohol to forget his pain. The Professor Olmu grips the female professor and starts dancing with her. She becomes surprised at this time. She says that she thought Professor Olmu never had any interest in women. He cared only about the students. She never thought he could be a gentleman like this. She taunts him and says who knew he could dance this well, and the fact that he can softly guide her. After listening to that, he becomes angry. He leaves her. She cannot maintain balance at times and falls on the ground. At this time, the Professor Olmu smiles and says he apologizes for his lack of gentlemanly behavior. He further says that he will have to run to the restroom. The professor thinks that this is not the time for him to be enjoying his time like this. While he was moving toward his restroom, he saw headmistress Katia gossiping with a man. He thinks the fact that a woman who loves to be the center of attention is not here and she has to be plotting something. He starts to listen to their gossip silently. The man says these guys are unable to make their move. It is probably because the defense system set up around Aruka is strong. His headmistress Katia says that she told him to open the way for her and make it look like an accident. He says he could do that, but the consequences will put him in trouble. She convinces him by saying that everything will be paid in full. She says that her students will be sent to a battle in a few months. After that, she hugs him and says something in his ear. The Professor Olmi tries his best to listen to them, but cannot hear them. Suddenly his knee slips and creates a sound. After listening to this sound, she throws his spell upward, but then the professor disappears at this time from there. On the other side, Nero drinks alcohol and haste lost his consciousness. He goes near a lady and asks if she will have a dance with him. At this time, he becomes out of wits. While he is walking in an intoxicated state, Tarasu grasps his arm and says he is drunk, so he should go back to his room. He laughs and says she is looking pretty. Evan feels jealous after seeing them together. He reminds the moments when he asked Tarasu if he still hated him. Tiratasu said to him that time after she found out that he liked her, she could not bring herself to dislike him. She said she likes Nero a lot more than him. As time goes on, she does not think that feeling will stay the same. Tarasu yells and says to walk properly. At this time, Evan comes near them. He lifts him on his back to impress the Tarasu and says he is his younger brother. After lifting him on his back, he carries him away. After seeing his sympathy, Tarasu becomes happy. On the other side, Miria and Tarek stand near each other. Miria says she feels so good after drinking alcohol. Tarek says she drinks a lot better than he thought she would. Most people get dizzy and faint from their first drink, but she is feeling fine right now. Miria says she just feels good and everyone is so pretty and handsome. Miria praises him and says he is the best. Turk looks at her. Nerya says she is not lying. Turk comes near him and tries to kiss him, but Nerya refuses him to do that. She says that she could not say anything in the carriage because she understands his feelings better than anyone else, the longing he has for someone. But she cannot be helped. Even if he never returns his feelings, she wants to remain by Nero's side forever. At this time, Turk remains silent. After that, they start to look at the moon. The next morning, Nero wakes up and finds himself on his bed. He feels some headache. He thinks about what happened to him in the previous night. He descends from his bed and thinks that he will never drink alcohol. After 1 week, their Professor Oldme goes to the vice principal's office. He sits on the chair. The vice principal gives him a list. There are 2 groups of students on the list. The Olmo thinks that she singled out all of the kids who can become a threat. While he goes back, he burns the list with his spell and makes a new list. He does not change all the list, but makes a few changes in. One of their professors gathers them in the hall. He tells them that their short vacations have ended. He tells that the Sekmium's army is currently on the move all over the world. They must do whatever they can to eliminate them as soon as possible. Their headmistress has already departed to the front lines. Therefore, they will be dispatched to Aruka and Noria. This will also become their 5th test, the test of authority. They will be divided into 2 groups of 8. Group A will be sent to Aruka. He tells that Turk, Irom, Kine, Nox, Hara, Noah, Karasu, and Kila are in Group A. Those who have not called are in Group B. Naria, Nero, Tarasu and Evan are in the Group B. Turk packed his bag and is going toward his carriage. Meanwhile, Professor Oldme reached there. He advises Turk not to trust anyone. He tells him that he must protect himself using his strength and wisdom. They all are ready to go for the battle. They are going toward their carriage to put their luggage on it. Meanwhile, Turk meets with Enero. They shake their hands and say good luck to each other. Turk says that after they come back, they will change the world together. Neria and Tarasu also come there to say goodbye to him. Neria cries and gives him a bracelet. Turk asks her how she made it. Neria replies that she poured her heart into making it. She weeps and hopes for him to stay safe. She gets emotional and embraces him. She thanks him for helping her in every situation. Turk becomes happy. On the other hand, Karasu goes to Torasu and happily moves her hand towards Torasu. She says her to forget their hatred. Kafashu shakes her hand with her. They both look at each other with affection. They sit on their horses and start their journey. Their professors lead them. They reach their destination. They see people in very bad conditions there. The army rescues them. Their professors meet with the captain of the army, which rescues that area. He tells them that the enemies were in prime positions when they arrived. They tried to fight against them, but they ended up suffering losses. Professor Olmo asks about the Lord. The captain replies that with the help of their rear guards they maintain his safety. However, they are under. That's why he is unable to escape from his current predicament. Professor Olbu asks about their numbers in front of their enemies. He says that they have about 150 soldiers and about 400 reinforcements. The enemy has around 700 in total. They are also in a more favorable position than them. Professor Jared tells him that they received an imperial order from Majesty, that this army shall be led by them. Then they move toward their students. Professor Olmo tells them that they will split their forces into 4 groups of 100. The first group shall be led by Nero and Neria. The second group shall be led by Evan and Tarash. The third group shall be led by Hans and Hayan. The remaining students shall be led to the 4th group. He says them to introduce themselves to their new lieutenants, who will lead their platoon and make sure to get into formation afterwards. They become confused. Professor Jared yells at them and says that this is war. They are no longer their professors who have to babysit their sorry assess. During times like this, they will always obey the orders of their superiors. Then they all move toward their group. Nero and Neria also go toward their army group. The squad leader Hicks salutes them. He asks Nero that if he is a lieutenant. Nero thinks for a while and says that they all are soldiers because they are strong and capable. During their long time of peace, their swords tuned towards each other and friends became enemies. Their greatest enemy was themselves. He further says that now a real enemy has appeared and they must rediscover themselves through this battle. They must realize that strength is something they use to protect others. They will use everything they have at their disposal to protect their country as the descendants of the Holy Saint Lugard. They will fight for the glory of their future. They all become courageous after listening to him. After that, Nero goes to Professor Oldman. He asks the professor why they cannot send anyone to save the 500 slaves that are being attacked by the 100 monsters. The professor replies that the real army is currently besieging their lord. It will be a difficult battle even if they send their entire army. Nero screams and says what happens to them because they are slaves. They do not know self-protection. Professor says that he understands his feelings, but right now the protection of their lord is their utmost priority. He says that this place is a fertile land. The lord can gather a lot of supplies. If they rescue the lord, they will be able to provide provision to thousands of soldiers. However, if they rescue the slaves, the only thing they will gain will be 500 manpower. So, this is an order to protect the lord. If he disobeys it, he will treat it as insubordination. On the other hand, Kara protects the slaves from the Sekmian's monsters. She makes a protective shield against the monsters. The monsters' leader says that they are unable to advance any further because of this priest. His companion says to him that if they had one of Lord Sekmian's priests, then they would have easily broken through that defensive barrier. The leader tells him that they are all deployed on important missions. He asks him how many days have passed since that barrier was created. His companion replies that it has been 7 days. The leader says that then it is about time that this protective barrier losing its strength. He orders his companion to go and check the strength of it. His companion becomes scared. The leader screams at him and says him to hurry. He touches the defensive barrier with anxiety. When he touches the barrier, his arm becomes burns. He screams and falls to the ground. His leader guesses that the defensive barrier got weaker. He orders his monsters to throw whatever they can find on the barrier. They throw some pieces of rocks and small trees on it, but it does not affect the barrier. Meanwhile, a messenger gives him the message that they have received that the ex-Kadam's army will be sending reinforcements. Kara says that they will not come because they all are busy in saving her father, even though her father is a worthless human being. If they do come, it will be after they saved her father. Then they must endure. They will have to rely on that small glimmer of hope. She says that she no longer makes this barrier as strong because her mana is getting low. The monster's leader picks a large rock and hits it on the barrier. It produces small cracks in the barrier. He becomes happy. Then he hits his weapon forcefully on the barrier and breaks it. When the barrier breaks, Kara unconsciously falls to the ground. The monster's leader satires on her and says that Lugard's teaching is false. He lifts his weapon to attack her. Meanwhile, Nero comes there and stops him. He attacks on him. The monster asks him, who is he? He replies that he is the lion of Lugard. The monster lifts Nero upward by holding his neck. He says that he is much weaker than he thought. Nero attacks on him with his sword, but it does not have any effect on him. He satires on Nero and says what he is hoping to accomplish with that frail body of him. He says that they are the blood of Signium and Signium's blood is more powerful than their Lugard's blood. Then Nero attacks on him with his spell. It affects him badly, and he burns. Nero says to him that they learn and improve because they are humble. That's how they can turn the impossible into a reality. The soldiers' leader tells them that the leader of the enemy has fallen. This is their chance to attack his army. They move ahead to attack the monsters. They finish the monsters' army. Kara embraces Nero and thanks him. She says that he must have been the one who was protecting everyone. Those people do not have any power. If he left them alone, then they die. Then Nero goes toward the slave. They are all thanks to Nero. He says to them that he was also born as a slave, but to protect his siblings he had gone through heaven and hell. He shows his blade to them and says that with the help of this he has saved their lives. He asks them how long they are going to let someone else protect them. He says them to raise their swords. They all become astonished. He encourages them and says that they can do it. He says that they have the power to protect this world. He says that they all are going to die if they don't do anything. His words affect them deeply, and they all pick up their weapons from the ground. At night, the Sekmium's army attacks the Lord's place. The Lord becomes frightened. His guider consoles him that their reinforcements will soon arrive. The Lord asks about Kara, because she is the only one who has the power to stop them. His guider tells him that about 10 days ago, she left to save the slaves. The Lord yells and says that he allows her to become a priest, and this is how she repays him. On the other hand, their professors gathered all the regiment on the ground. They gathered them to tell that the monsters had attacked their lord's place. They say that they prepare themselves for the war. They have noticed that their 3rd regiment is not present. Professor Jared asks where is the 3rd regiment. They tell him that they have gone to save the slaves. Professor yells and says that due to this subordination, they shall lose everything which they have built up thus far. After that, they go to fight with the monsters to protect the Lord. The monsters hits the door of the Lord's palace with a large rock and try to break it. They are in huge numbers. They surround the palace from everywhere. The professors see this scene from behind. Jared says that if they are constantly hitting the gate, it will break as soon. If this happens, then the Lord will die. The only way for them to rescue him is to go through all of those monsters. The monsters attack them with their arrows. Professor Oldmu makes a defensive barrier around them, and they save from their attack. He says that they need to hurry and move ahead. They start to move ahead. Professor Olmo makes a protective shield around all of them. Evan runs forward and fights with the monsters. He uses his spell and kills them. Tarasu attacks them with her bow and arrow. Professor Jared attacks them with his sword. Meanwhile, the monsters break the main entrance gate. They roar on the soldiers. Their captain moved ahead and said to Lord what a sturdy wall he made. The Lord becomes frightened. Evan is fighting bravely with them. Professor Olmu attacks them with his spell. He says that they are too much in number. That's why his mana is slowly depleting. Meanwhile, Nero and his regiment arrive there. He apologizes to them for being late. He orders his soldiers that those who do not have any weapon use the ones from either the fallen soldiers or enemies. Then he goes near the Professor Oldman. The professor slaps on his face. He says that he went against an order. Jared stops Olmo. They all go toward Nero. Professor Jared asks Nero if he is safe. Nero replies that he is safe. The monsters move towards them. Professor Olmu orders them that the professors will take care of those 3 monster captains who are moving toward them. Jans and Tarasu provide cover to them. He orders Miro and Evan that they go and protect their lord. He throws his invisibility spell on them and they become invisible. He tells them that this effect will last for 5 minutes. He says to do whatever it takes to save the lord and his son. They are going toward the main entrance and attack the monsters. Monsters become surprised that who attacks on them. Nero attacks on a monster. He cannot see Nero because he is invisible. He thinks that his companion attacks on him because there is nobody present near him. He attacks his companion. They start to fight with each other. They forget their main purpose and leave the main entrance. In this way, Nero and Evan pass through the gate. When they reach there, the monster's captain had killed the lord. He sees them and says that they are late. Their lord is dead now. He attacks on Nero and Evan. Nero falls to the ground. He lifts Evan with his spell. He says to him that he has a small amount of power and he will never defeat him. He has about 73% of Simian's power coursing through him. Evan smiles and attacks on him. He makes a protective shield around him and says that he will never attack him. But Evan's spell affects him despite his protective barrier. Evan says to him that he also has the same power as him. The monster becomes surprised and asks how he has the power of Siknium. Meanwhile, Miro gets up and attacks him with his sword. He kills him. Kara uses his magic and addresses everyone. She tells them that she is Kara, a priestess of Lugard as well as the young daughter of the Lord. The voice that they are hearing is one of the sacred magic that she utilizes. She requests to them that when she count to 3, they envision Lord Lugard in their hearts. She knows this is a sudden request, but they make sure to do so. She starts counting. They envision Lord Lugard in their hearts. Suddenly, Lord Lugard blesses them with power. They feel an enormous amount of strength in them. Professor Olmo tells them that if they use this well, then they will win. He emits a spell from his fist and throws at the monsters. It affects them badly. They roar and move ahead to fight with them. The professors fight with them bravely and kill them. They become happy that they kill their captains. Their soldiers also kill the remaining monsters. They have defeated the monsters. Kara says to the soldiers that bring the injured soldiers to her. They bring the injured soldiers toward her. She heals them with her magic. They become surprised at how their wounds become healed. Miria becomes astonished and asks her how she does it, but her mana is getting low and she does not heal more people. Miria cries and wishes to help them. She uses his healing magic to heal them. She uses his full mana to do it, and it works. Their injuries have healed. Miria becomes happy that she helped them. On the next day, Kara addresses the public because she has become the queen of this domain. She says to them that she allows the slaves to get an education. She also allows them to join the military. She expects from them that they provide support to their nation. Professor Jared asks Olme if it is not illegal. Professor Olmu replies that it is her right. She can do whatever she wants because she becomes the queen of this domain. She thanks Nero and Miria. She says that if they were not present there, then they all would have died. Professor Olmi thinks that Mirin was also a slave. But when he came in strength, he was able to make everyone bow before him. On the other hand, Miro was also a slave. But when he came in strength, he allowed everyone to raise their head to the sky. Professor Jared, Olmu and Saphius stand in front of them. Professor Jared says to them that there is a total of 3 battles happening and these places all hold strategic values to them, but they are currently under siege from multiple sides. They will split into 3 different teams and will do their best to defeat their enemies as fast as they can. They will regroup after they have accomplished their task. They become agree and start their journey to accomplish their task. When Nero starts his journey, he reminds the moment when Olmu harshly slapped on his face and rebuked him. He said to him, if he ignored an imperial order, then by marital laws he would be executed or brought back into slavery. He said his accomplishment with the Philia fortress would do any good. He said if he ignored orders once more, he would take it upon himself to kill him. He told him a tyrant is born and when they blindly put faith in their own sense of justice, they would create trouble. After reminding that moments, he asks himself if it is really better to simply follow orders and prioritize marital law instead of saving countless lives and trying to bring peace to this world. When they reach Tarasu, they are attacked and at this time Jared alerts them to prepare for battle. He tells Tarasu is a central place of trade and commerce for the kingdom of Noria and Balencia. It is an important fortress that they must protect as they are the ones who supply them with provision. He further says that the 2 nations will no longer be able to provide assistance for them. He orders them to do whatever to defend that place. He says that they have been able to hold out for this long since the place holds significant importance. That's why they have been well fortified. There is not only their enemies have decreased in numbers, but their morale has fallen as well, so they should draw their blades and kill those bastards. They all fight with monsters to kill them. Nero kills the monsters with his sword. Suddenly, a huge monster attacks Naria with his axe. At this time, Nero comes and breaks him into pieces with his sword. He saves Naria. He holds her and says he does not want her to get hurt. He says to Naria to go. Naria runs behind him to fight against the monster. They kill all the monsters and win that battle. The soldiers thank them for their assistance. Jared asks what happened there and why weak monsters giving such a hard time to one of the highly fortified fortresses within the Moment Empire. The soldier tells the slaves have laid siege. It is a riot. The slaves have begun to revolt between the inside and the walls of the fortress. Their supplies have been cut off from them. That's why their soldiers are currently exhausted and fatigued. After listening to that, Nero becomes furious. He yells and asks why they did to them, and what they did to make those slaves revolt against the soldiers. After listening to his harsh words, the soldiers yell and say they did not do anything to them. This all began when their battle with the monsters broke out, and they have no idea what caused them to become like that. Nero says it is always the instigators who do not know anything, and it is up to the victims to remember everything that happened to them. Jared stops Nero and says this is not the time for them to fight amongst themselves. Jared says to open the gate. He says they are from the Imperial Army, and it is their job to listen to their resentment. If there was a misunderstanding, then they must do their best to resolve it. After listening, the soldier opens the gate. When they entered, they saw a large number of slaves ready to attack them. He introduces himself by saying that he is the enforcer of justice from the Balancai Kingdom and the commander of the 4th Squadron Jarad. He tells that they have been ordered by Emperor Miran in order to save them. After listening to that, they become Ryulks. They ask if they have plenty of supplies. They allow me to come in. Miro looks towards Slave. He thinks that he can understand their feeling very well. He thinks when he has nothing to lose, it is the feeling he gets when not even fear and resentment can do anything for him. When it is realized, then nothing matters anymore. When Nero walks, he compares his shadow with the slave's shadow and thinks their shadows seem to be deeper. Jared asks what happened to him and why they revolt against them. One of them says this is the true nature of people with power. He says when the demon army came at us, not only did those bastards not allow them to arm themselves, but they also treated us like dirt. They also restricted their food and supplies. They are on the verge of starvation. He yells and says they should know that even a cornered rabbit will do whatever it can to fight back. He says his family is dying. After listening to that, Nero becomes furious. He asks how much longer they have to endure their shitty superiority. Those slaves say to take over their castle. They say they will go down fighting with them. Jared says them to calm themselves. He says if they fight amongst themselves they will all end up dying. They say they want to do whatever it takes to survive, but those bastards close the gate on them and are refusing to talk to them. Jared says to go together to negotiate with them. Jared consoles him and says not to worry. They will go with them. He tells them they cannot attack them because if they do, then they will be charged with treason for defying against the imperial order. At this time, Nero says despite all that those bastards attack them on sight, he will personally take it upon himself to destroy their gate. Duke sees him and asks if he is implying that he will allow them to take over their castle. Jared looks at him and says attacking means they are going against the emperor himself, so he will allow that to happen. However, they did break the law by arming themselves as slaves. They will have to adhere to the law at a later time. Duke smiles and says they have already prepared themselves for that. After that, Jared says them to go. They pass near a statue. Duke tells this statue was constructed to symbolize the peace that the Lord Aslan brought to that place. He is known to be a noble who fought for the rights of slaves and ended up causing this change. When they reach the gate of the castle, Aslan has stood on the roof of the castle. The commander of Aslan attacks them with his magic. Jared tells them they are the Imperial Army sent to this place by the Emperor himself. He introduces himself by saying he is Jared, one of the commanders of the Black Knights in the Valencia Kingdom. Aslan says to leave. They no longer wish to talk. Jared yells and says they have come to negotiate with him. Duke yells and says he is nothing more than a filthy tyrant. He says to open the storage and share his provision with them. They are all dying from hunger out there. At this time, Nero moves towards them to attack. Nuria stops him. Nero yells and says Nuria to get out of his way. He says she is only going to make matters worse. Nero sees Aslan and says they all people should know what they are really like. They are nothing more than greedy pieces of shit. They act all high and mighty and only care about themselves. They do not treat with even the smallest amount of decency. They just want to take everything away from them. They will do whatever they can to make sure they submit their happiness and life to them. Aslan sees him and says he is perhaps a slave. Nero replies they were originally slaves, but at that time they are officers in the Imperial Army who can punish bastards like him. Aslan asks if he is certain that all nobles steal from others. Nero eagerly yells and asks what kind of bullshit he is spouting. Aslan says it is just like asking if there are 10 nobles if he truly believes that all 10 of them would do such things. He says if there is a greater proportion of these nobles who simply follow the laws set in place by the empire, keep to themselves and live their day-to-day life and merely judge others based on who they are as persons. He is talking about whether or not they have good or bad characteristics, since everyone is privileged to it. He asks if it could be possible that the terrible hardships went through as well as the hatred that sprouted from them. Nero sees Neria and says to tell him just how terrible these nobles are. Neria says she knows what he went through and she is sorry for the things that happened to his family. However, her master was not like that. He was kind. She cannot deny that. Aslan asks if he can prove that his view is not just clouded by his bias. If can prove that a noble is truly more terrible than a slave. Nero says that history has already proven that to be the case, but if he wants solid proof, then he will show it to him. Aslan says him to come back in an hour. He says he will meet him at the peace statue. He says if he can ensure his safety, then he will heed his requests. After saying that, he turns back. 1 hour later, Aslan comes to the peace statue with their soldiers. Nero, Myriad, Jared and slaves are also present at the peace statue to talk to him. When Aslan passes near Nero, he says truth has a serene beauty to it. Although a lie may be more appealing at times, no matter how much he wants to believe it, he is only met with disappointment. However, even though the truth may be unsightly, the truth is still the truth no matter what happens. After that, he goes toward a table where Duke waits to talk with him. Aslan asks if Duke wants to negotiate with him even though he created that kind of situation. At this time, Duke says him to sit down. He says it is going to be a long talk. When Aslan is sitting on the stool to listen to him, someone attacks him at that time. After seeing that attack Jared, Nero and Neria become astonished. At that time, Duke runs and says his fellows to shoot them. He says they have to wipe them there. Those slaves start to attack on them with arrows. The commander of the Aslan creates a magic barrier to protect their members. At this time, Neria yells and says to run back to the castle. They all start to run to the castle, except Nero. At this time, Nero is out of that magic barrier. He is shocked at that time. Jared holds his arms and pushes and pulls him into the magic barrier. He holds him with his neck and rebukes him. He says to snap out of it and stay within the magic barrier. Duke says to his fellows to attack them with full force. He says they cannot let those mages get back inside their castle. At this time, the commander of the Aslan touched the ground with his hand to charge it. After doing this, they disappear and reach in front of the castle. He says this is the best that he can do with his magic. He says them to take cover. They start to run toward the castle. Neria holds his hand and pulls him into the castle. When she is pulling him in, arrows pierce in her body. She falls to the ground. They become astonished to see her in that situation. The commander goes near her and says he needs to perform immediate aid. He uses his magic to heal him. He says her healing is weak, and she is at least responding to his magic. She will need to fight on her own. He turns his face and sees Graves. Nero asks him what he is seeing before him. He looks it towards Graves and says this is the truth of their reality, and those graves are from the people who have suffered from their hands. They showed no mercy to adults, women and even children. This is what Lord Aslan was talking about. This is the ugly truth that he refused to see for himself. He tells Lord Aslan did not want their bodies to rot. That's why he was trying his best to arrange a funeral for them, regardless of their social status. Jared asks him why they are trying to massacre. The commander tells Aslan became the lord of that place just before it became a large trading city. The moment Aslan became the lord, he declared that this city could not operate with just the commoners and nobles alone. That is why he granted financial rights to slaves for them to participate in their economy. Because of this, anyone could become a wealthy merchant in their city. Although the commoners and nobles severely opposed this notion, they could not stop Lord Aslan. He truly cared about the slaves. When he was younger, due to his stepmother's evil deeds, he ended up becoming a slave and married a woman who was also a slave. From then on, he spent the majority of his life fighting for the rights of slaves. Then one day his status was reinstated to his former position, and that's how he was able to become a lord at his old age. His policy regarding the slaves never left him. He already knew what would happen. The commoners and the nobles stated that they would never accept his policy and would do whatever they could to suppress the slaves. The number of slaves who possessed more wealth than nobles themselves started to increase, and then the slaves became twisted in their own self-worth. They refused to accept them. They started to garner more power than anyone else. The generosity that Lord Aslan bestowed upon them ended up backfiring on him. They demanded more authority and freedom from them. Lord Aslan never expected their arrogance and greed could cause this many issues, and then things started to spiral out of control. To restore balance to this situation, Lord Aslan decided to increase the tax on the slaves. He wanted the tax money to go back into the pockets of the nobles. When all of this started, the slaves started to harbor animosity. They harbor animosity not only toward them but to Lord Aslan as well. When Sikinium's demon army started to invade them, Lord Aslan did his best to distribute supplies to everyone in the city. However, the slaves were not happy with the equal distribution of supplies. That's why they started to attack them to strike fear into their hearts. When the conscription for the army began, the slaves rejected their conscription notices by stating that the empire forbade slaves from arming themselves. They had everything planned from the start. With their current supplies, they knew they could withstand Signium's attack for as long as they wanted. That's why they came up with a plan. When they started to distribute supplies, their plan was set into motion. They began a revolt. They did not want supplies or freedom. They truly wanted a kingdom for themselves. After listening all, Nero opens the gate of the castle and comes out. Those slaves stand there to attack. Duke says him to come with them. He says he should help them rebuild a brand new kingdom that bestows justice upon the vile nobles. After listening to that, Nero becomes furious. He attacks them with his sword. On the other side, the commander Omu fights with the monsters. At this time, a soldier runs towards him. He informs that they are in trouble. He just received an emergency report that in one of the 3 fortresses, the commander of the demon army Kai Fes has made an appearance. He says him to send reinforcements to that place. Tetresu asks who is the Kifis. He tells he is as terrifying as the Excipius. They have the ability to swallow the hearts of man and turn them into emotionless beings. They may look fine on the outside. However, all left of them are the darkest parts of their mind. They become nothing more than empty shell of their former self. When Duke sees that Nero is attacking on them, he says to his fellows to shoot him. Jared says he is in danger. The commander of Aslan says not to worry. He will be providing cover for him. Duke asks why a slave is not supporting the cause of the slaves. Nero replies the only thing he supports is the will of Lugard. He says all they doing is causing a revolt. They are nothing more than murderers who are blinded by greed. Duke yells and asks why we must submit ourselves to them. It is wrong to remove them from the top. He asks how much longer they have to live in a world where they have to obey their commands. Nero yells and says they murdered innocent kids. Sacrifices must be made to achieve a great cause, and the same rule applies to the emperor that they follow. He asks if he thinks how many sacrifices they made to rise to the position. Nero says the emperor rose to the top, using just means. He only trusts what he sees and what he sees from them. It is nothing more than blatant murders of innocent lives. It is time that they face their punishment. After that, he attacks on them. At this time, Neria says he should not be hurting others. She requests him to stop hurting them. When Nero attacks Duke with his sword to kill him, Duke says he will be dead. He is going to become consumed by himself. Nero says to the remaining slaves that Duke is dead. He says to forfeit their weapons and surrender. They do not surrender at that time. Instead of it, they attack with arrows. Nero fights them with his bravery. The commander of Aslan impresses with his bravery and says that the child is the successor to the Sheri. He has the strength to become the next emperor, but it seems his heart is full, unable to follow the power which he holds. At this time, the commander of Aslan receives a report. He receives the letter and reads it. This letter has sent by the Olmo, in which he is told the demon general Caiaphas is there at that place. They will become indistinguishable by nightfall. That is why they must find the original body of Caiaphas before sunset. He has requested not to lose their mind. Jared runs to tell Nero about that news. At this time, Nero is killing the slaves with his swords. He thinks that he is merely punishing the enemy. Suddenly, a child comes in front of him and asks about his father. He finds his father here and there. He asks if he killed his father. He starts weeping and says his father told him before that they will soon attain freedom. He brings out his blade and asks if he killed his dad. He moves towards to kill him. Nero stops him by putting his hand on his mouth and thinks that he earned the freedom from all of his pain and hardships. And they are trying to attain that by taking the lobes of others. They are willing to destroy the kindsdom that his father created with his life. Suddenly, Jared arrives at that moment. He kills that child with his blade. He tells that this was a trap set up by the demon general Caiaphas. He alerts him and says to good luck at his surroundings. He tells the slaves we're nothing more than an empty husk. Those bastards are their real enemy. They are the ones who caused all of that happen. They need to find the original body of Caiaphas Olma. Gave them a hint, which is that he is the embodiment of irony itself. He is the type to implant the darkest shadow within the brightest place. Nero looks at Peace statue. There is a square present near the Peace statue. He enters to the ground with this square, where he sees Murin. Murin asks if he finds the difference between justice and personal beliefs. He asks Nero what he is seeing. It is the same as his dream. He further asks if he believes that justice will be the pillar that maintains this world. He says that he has heard countless times the stories and the tales of heroes that govern this world with justice and strength. He asks if he wants to become like that. He says that he lived his life cheering and supporting these kinds of heroes and the selfless heroes who make sacrifices for anything. He cannot help but be attracted to these merits, just like how purity attracts the beauty around him. Nero asks what he is talking about. He asks if the people changed at the cost of his father's life. He says it was wrong from the beginning. He has always misunderstood the true nature of humans. Humans are nothing more than empty husks that are filled with nothing but greed. The stories of these heroes are strong enough to vanquish all evil. He asks if he thinks they are unable to change the hearts of their people. After that, he tells the answer is desire. The desire that blossoms from the weak. When things are in their favor, they want it to persist, but when things do not go the way they want nothing more than destruction. He asks if he has ever met a hero who does not abide by their own desires. He asks if he thinks his father saved him. In truth, his only son should have been Evan. It is because of his desire. He desired his mother. He asks if he realistically believes that they will always be faithful and devoted to one another, even if they become swayed by others. He asks if he truly believes that they will always stay bound to one side. They do not do that, because they cannot help but listen to their personal desires. Miro asks what about slaves. He asks if they are not the same as well. Miran replies, they attained power and status. He says these slaves are pitiful, not because they lacked a desire. It is because their desire was forcefully suppressed. The people whose desire is not suppressed, they have everything they could want. They still want more and they refuse to accept anyone that is below them. These are the people that have been suppressing them. They have power and knowledge, but they cannot just accept them. Their desire is solely based on not wanting their desire to be fulfilled. He says that there are some limits that pigs are eaten, and these apply to slaves. They were born weak and powerless like pigs. Even if their families are dying, they have no money to buy medicines to save them. Even if their families are being sold off, they have no power to stop it. It is because they were born with these limits. Miro says this world is not that simple. Murin says that babies cry because of desire. They have no choice but to do this if their needs are not met. He says him to embrace his inner desire. That is the true nature. Murin asks him about his desire. He replies that he wants to attain everything and rise to the top. He wants to take vengeance on everyone. He does not give fuck about dreams and justice. He tells when he found out that his father gave up his life in order to save the people of this world, he fell into despair and shock. He really despised this world. And the people that received his peace. They did nothing with it. Instead tormented his family. He should have been the one who received all of it, because he would have done whatever he could to preserve it. There is no need for him to overcomplicate things. He will put them all below him with this strength. He will kill them. He talks to himself and says the other half of him has been suppressing this whole time. He still has not properly restrained his other half. He says there is no truth to believe. He asks himself if this world is truly an empty shell devoid of hope. At this time, the power of Seknium traps him. Suddenly, Miria comes to protect him. She says him to snap out of it. He tells Neria and says when he first saw her, he could not help but think that she is just like him. He was waiting for a chance to accomplish great deeds, but she was just going along with the flow. It pissed him off. However, it was foolish of him. Torsu was like a shining gem that was hard to share, but she was a small stone that shined under the moonlight. Her light allowed him to open his eyes and truly reflect upon himself. He requests her to support him. Neria protects him by snapping out him. They both fall on the ground. At this time Nero says he acted as if he knew everything, but in truth he really does not know much of anything. He is nothing more than a naive child. He weeps and says he has no one that can teach him. His father and mother are not with him anymore. They both hug with each other. Miria says there is nothing for her to teach him. She does not know anything about herself either. However, she wants to learn together with him. Miria says he has always been alone. He has never begged or became dependent on someone else. It does not have to be her, but she thinks it will be great if he can have someone who will stay by his side, someone he can lean on. Nero tells there is something his mother told him before she passed away. He must never look weak in front of the things that he must protect. After taking care of his sister on his own, he started to learn the true meaning behind that statement. If he shows any signs of discomfort, then the smiles on their face will falter. It will be replaced with shadows of doubt. That's why he should have been protecting that whole time. He is not trying to uphold the peace of this world. Suddenly a wall creates around Nero. Neria begs him not to fight all alone. Nero looks at the wall and says he is not alone anymore. The general of Great Army of Signium Satans in front him. The general of the Great Army of Signium says that he was a little bit surprised. He is small as he would hold so much Lugard strength. He says that humans like him are his favorite snacks. At this time Nero feels different mana. There was a time when he felt like it would consume him. He would never have any control over it. At this time, it is as if it is all a part of him. After that, they start to fight with each other. Nero uses his magic sword. The general of the Great Army of Sesanum throws his mana. At this time, Nero uses a mana shield to protect himself. This spell is something that he could never do before. He can feel it. He feels much stronger than before. He attacks him by using his magic sword. He thinks that this power is scared, since Lord Lugard is lending it to him. Most magic swordsmen believe that they must utilize strong sword enhancement spells in order to fight. However, his thoughts are different, and that's because he realized that they already possess something even more powerful than that. Since he has attuned himself with his mana, the Lugard resonates much stronger within him. Murin said him when the darkness within his heart starts to consume him. There is a treason as to the dark is weak against the light. They are dependent on the light. Without it, they will cease to exist. Nero thinks that he has ignited the light within him, that things seem much weaker than before. He asks himself why he has been hiding this whole time. After seeing his power, the general of the Great Army of Signium says that was about 99% of Signium true power. He throws his spell toward Nero, but Nero's sword absorbs all his mana. Miro looks at his sword and becomes surprised to see that. He asks if this is Amerian's sword. He asks if he inherits that from him. It is the sword that absorbs everything. Miro asks what he is talking about. The general of the great army of Signium says the sword is not what's important there. The owner of that sword is what's important. So he was the one. He cannot believe that. He must eliminate him. Miro fights him by using his mana. Neria throws her spell to break that wall. She cannot go any further. She does not have any strength left in him. He used too much of her mana on healing. She is so pathetic, and she cannot even destroy a simple wall like this. She asks herself if she ever be able to destroy the wall that surrounds Nero. At that time, Nero breaks the wall and comes out of the wall. He smiles after seeing her. He says it will be possible if they do it together. At this time, Neria looks surprised. After that, Nero comes near her. After the death of the Kafus, his black magic starts to emerge from the bodies of the slaves. Nero becomes astonished at how his magic occupies their bodies. Professor Jared says that this is the power of a demon lord. Nero becomes astonished that how a single person can do it. He says that even though they had an overwhelming desire for greed, it was wrong of them to become consumed by that. But that does not mean that they deserve to die. Nobody knows what kind of choices they could have made later in their lives. His professor says that if they live, an evil like Kaifos also lies. That's why their death is mandatory to kill the evil. He praises Nero and Neria for their bravery. He says that they fight against the Segnium's power. He leans in front of them and says that they have become the proper heroes of the Moon Empire. Nero thinks that he cannot be happy with this honor. Then they go back because their mission is completed. On the way, Neria praises Nero and says to him that he becomes more impressive than Stark. Nero thanks her and says that if she does not save him, then he dies. Neria is shy. She says to him that his strength is so high, even they received the same training. But he is on a different level. She says that he defeats one of the generals of the demon army, which is something she will never be able to do so. Nero says that he finds her more admirable than him. He has heard that they are more susceptible to falling into their inner desires because they are half-elves. He becomes sad and says that he still does not fully understand what his emotions are, but that does not seem to be the case with her. It means she truly understands herself. He teases her and says that she is like a giant yet sturdy mountain. That's why he envies her. They both have laughed. He says that he had hoped that by saving the lives of others he have learned to become more compassionate. He wishes to attain a heroic mentality. He thought that he had finally understood his thoughts, but that's become even harder. He cannot help but be frightened. The only thing that keeps getting bigger is his desire to protect what is his. Neria asks him if he's going to stop protecting others. He answers no. The bigger his fear gets, the more that he wants to protect others. They reached their resting place. Jared sees their camps and says that the flags have been raised. It seems the other squadrons have won their battles. They meet with Olmi. Olmo and his reinforcement have also reached there. Olmo congrats him on defeating Kaifas. Jared says that he was not the one who did it. He tells them that Nero and Neria did it. They all become astonished to listen it. Evan also becomes shocked at how they defeat Kaifas. Olmu praises Nero and says him that he did a great job. He asks him if he finds an answer to his question. Nero answers sadly, which he finds out that he does not know much of anything. Umi tells him that he has grown. It seems he is finally stepping in the right direction. He tells him that since the beginning of time, their world has been governed by two different factions. On one side, there are people who are unaware of their ignorance, and try their best to eradicate anyone who does not align with their beliefs. On the other hand, some people are aware of their ignorance, and they try their best to learn as much as they can and enrich the lives of others. One shall always remain a child, while the other will always remain an adult. Once he realizes what he lacks, that is when he begins his long journey to adulthood. He says that he has grown. He is now an adult. Then they all go to take their meal. They start to eat their meal. One of them glads that they all won their battles. Neria sleeps on the dining table. Nero lifts her on his shoulders. He apologizes to everyone and says that he is tired. That's why he will be heading out for this time. He carries Neria to her cottage. Evan asks Tarasu if she is fine after seeing this. She stands from her chair and starts to walk. She replies to him that this is the decision that the three of them have come to. She says that what she wants and what she needs are two separate things. Then she goes. Evan runs behind her. He asks her what she thoughts about his feelings. He says her that he still loves her. She replies to him that the choices he has made are different from her choices. She says that he has made too many wrong choices thus far. That's why she cannot accept him. After that, she goes to her cottage. Evan falls to the ground. He thinks about the Murin words, which he said to him. Murin said to him that he has the potential to push his past into their boundaries. He must live his life remembering this fact. In the morning, they left their cottage. They start to walk to escape from the attack of their enemy. They become tired because they have been walking for almost 2 weeks. They request to their professors that they allow them to take a break. Jared asks Olmia what they should do. Their stamina has been depleted. Oldemi says that he sends a message to His Highness. They shall wait for a response. Suddenly, a bird comes there. The bird has a letter in his claws. The bird goes near the Olmo and gives this letter to Olmo. Then the bird flies. Olmi tells them that the Emperor allowing them to stay at the Tower of Desire. The Emperor realizes how serious is their current predicament. He tells them that in 2 hours they will be arriving at the Tower of Desire. Since the Emperor himself has granted them this favor, they will make sure to rest up and recharge their energy at that place. Miro says that he has never heard about that place before. He asks what kind of place is it. Olmu says that it is a place that deals with the Empire's internal affairs. Taxes that have been collected are sent to the imperial family from this place. It is also the precursor to the Excanem Academy. He can view this place as a preschool. They reach the Tower of Desire. They ask what kind of thing is surrounding it. Jared replies that it is a defensive barrier. Instead of being protected by guards, it is protected from the outside with these barriers. A hole appears in the barrier. The administrator of this tower, Kusin, comes there. Professor Olmi introduces him to them. He tells him that he is the general of the Ares 3rd Division. He tells Kusin that they have received approval from the Majesty to come into this tower. Kusin says that he has been informed about them. He thanks Old Mace for protecting the Empire from the forces of evil. Olmu says that this war has only just begun. Kusin says that they have provided food and supplies for their people, but they must follow the tower's rule. If they break their rules, then they will not give their services to them. Olmi says that they will follow the rules of this tower. He welcomes them and opens the barrier's door. A little girl named Scoff moves ahead and gives them a form. She tells them that they fill out the form carefully. In this form, several questions have been listed regarding their identity and personal information. She also tells them that their lodging will be provided based on the information they have provided. They go inside. They give them badges of different types. Nero sees his badge and says to Neria that this place judges people based on 12 different ranks. He tells her that there are 4 ranks for slaves. There are another 4 different ranks for commoners, and even nobles have 4 different ranks amongst themselves. He has been placed in the upper division of the lowest rank. He has been assigned to the 9th rank. He angrily says that there is not a single place where these rules do not follow. Scoff comes there and says to Nero that he wears his badge. Nero glares at him. She yells at him and says how he glares at him. Ome says to Nero that they will only be here for a short time. If they do not play by their rules, then they will have no choice but to leave this place. Nero wears the badge. Tarasu says that this place is really weird. She tells them that when they were first invited to learn at this place, they refused to come there. All of the elves refused their invitation. The system of this place went completely against their beliefs. This place only accepts the prestigious family within the empire. She asks Evan if this is his previous school. Evan answers yes. He says that he has graduated from this place and also teaches magic from there. Kuzin comes there and tells them that the slave rank will stay on floor 1. The 4 different commoner ranks will stay on floor 5. The rest will stay on the highest floor 9. He says that they find whatever room they want to stay on the floor they have been assigned. He says that the people who have been assigned the highest rank follow him. He reminds them that if they go against the principles of this place, then they will have to pay its compensation. He says to Tarasu, Jens and Evan to come with him. He has a special room for the 3 of them. Tarasu apologizes to him and declines this offer. She says that she will be staying with her friends. He says if she wants to stay with the muscles. He says that she will regret her decision. He says that it is part of their studies as Rhaenys to experience the lives of the Muzerals. If she insists, then he bids her luck. He says that the 2 Muzerals over there must do whatever they can to accommodate the 2 Rhaenas who will be staying with them. Nero says that his name is Nero, not a Moseral. Yukizan says that from where did he learn that arrogant behavior? Nero becomes furious. He moves ahead to answer him, but Neria stops him. She remembers to him the Professor Olmu's instructions. Nero sighs and stops. Kalson takes Evan with him. The Professor Olmi and Nero start to visit the tower. They reach the place where the defensive barrier was created. Nero and Tarasu become a wonder to see kids working there. He asks the professor what are these kids doing. The professor tells them that the Empire provides them with an enormous number of magic ores and they refine the ores there to use them towards the defensive barrier. He says that this is all possible due to those kids' labors. Nero becomes astonished and says that it does not make sense to take work from the children. He asks the professor who comes thereafter knowing. Omo tells him that the people who know this place are eager to get in. He says that those who graduate from this place will have the opportunity to receive an award befitting their status, much like the Excanem. After that, they go to eat their meal. Nero and Neria are sitting at the same table as with those kids. Nero wants to talk with them. He asks them if they are happy because they finished their work for that day. They do not answer him. They eat their food silently. Scoff says to him that the Muzerals are not allowed to chat in public places, so he finished his food silently. She calls Tati and says her that if she is done with her meal, then clean it up. She orders the slaves to leave the place and leave their food. Nero says to Neria how ridiculous her behavior is. He has not finished eating yet. They go to the playground. The kids are playing there together. Nero becomes surprised that they were quiet during the meal, but they are just like the other kids when they are playing. He says that they are used to the rules of this place. Professor Olmo listens to his talks and laughs. He says that he spent some time trying to figure out the nature of this place. It's interesting, and also sad at the same time. He says that this place is a giant experiment center. It means it is a societal experiment center. First of all, those poor kids who are called the Musril. The lowest class among the slaves are these kids. He says that they are fated to execution. He tells him that the slaves can get executed even with the crime of their relatives. Miro says that he knows this. The professor says that these kids can earn their exoneration right. This place is pretty much a land of hope for them. That's why they are so happy when they finish their work. The professor says that the higher class may command and give the score to the lower class. By scoring, they can get an opportunity to go to the next grade, like the ex-ganem. Instead of the professor of the school, it is the higher class who is doing it. Stable obedience is possible, because there is a reward. Even if they are kids, these kids have been impugnating their rights to life and wealth. They will become the leader of each class. In reality, they are raised as the pillars to maintain the public order. Nero is astonished at how could the Empire do such things. Professor Olnu says that they have the power of order. That's why by using the power of order they make a human being a machine. The professor uses his spell and throws gold coins at the kids. He says this is simple magic. These coins easily disappear, but since these kids cannot learn magic, they will not be able to know what it is. The kids become wonders and call Scoff. Scoff comes there. She is surprised to see the coin. She screams and says to report it to the Romanas. She says that this is something that belongs to the highest people. The professor tells Nero that if there is no owner of these coins, then they should take it. But they do not even think that it is their habit. This happens because their imagination has been controlled. He asks Nero how much he made in a year when he was a slave. Nero replies that about 270 silvers. The professor tells him that the nobles make 20,000 golds on average. Because they are noble, they had a lot from the beginning. He says to Nero that there is nothing will happen even if everyone makes the same amount of 20,000 gold. Nero says that if everyone spends that amount of money, then all the resources of the world would be depleted. The professor asks him if he knows how many resources the world exactly has. Nero becomes silent. The professor asks him why did he made only 270 silvers due to something that was not proven. He again becomes silenced. The professor tells him that the reason is that he has been trained that way. He says him to look at Scoff. She just picked only one gold coin from the ground and put it in her pocket. She regulates herself that she deserves to take 1 gold. It is the society that regulates it. He says that this is the place where they study about putting a habit inside that they do not recognize. It is also the place where they experiment on the principle of interactions and evaluate. Miro asks why the emperor had made this place. The professor says that when Miran became an emperor, slavery became more stricted without noticing. This place is the empire itself. It is the Muran emperor's experiment center. On the other hand, Kusin carries Evan to his room and asks him that did he forgot the teaching from this place? He says that the human class system is a virtuous cycle. They get a lot of labor and less wealth as lower as the class they fit in, but they have fewer responsibilities. If bad laws do not get changed, who would blame slaves? He says to Evan that he is not one of them. He is the decider. His every single thought will affect the world. Evan says that he does remember the teaching of this place. Kusun turns towards him and says that then he should remember a decision that he has made. On the other hand, Professor Olby says to Nero that a person's surroundings matter a lot. He says that the nobles who make 20,000 gold get anxious over a just 1,000 gold more. He says that this empire has made many desires in the people. Nero asks him why they made desires in the people. The professor tells him that desire will make people work hard. That is the reason why people will become active in their roles. Nero became astonished that why Emperor supported that kind of experiment. His professor says to him that he has grown up a lot, so there is nothing much left that he did not teach him. He says to listen his words carefully. He says to Nero that he does not know anything about the Emperor. He says that they will talk about the Emperor later on. He tells them that he found something else besides that. He shows them a letter. He tells them that this letter is written by Kusen. He wrote this letter to Signium. The professor tells them that Kusen is trying to attack their third eye. He says that the third eye is directly connected to the spirit. He says that the people who lose their spirit lose their minds. It makes people focus on the things that stimulate vanity and fulfill the temporary desire. That is the exact slave that they want, who is on the top floor. Then they go toward the Q-Fed. While Kessin brings Evan with him, he says that he wants to show him something. He brings him to the top of the tower. They climb up the stairs. He says that the day has come to show him the top floor. Evan sees the top floor and becomes astonished to see it. He sees that many kids are imprisoned there in different containers. He asks why he is doing that. Kusin tells him that it is a laboratory. He says that these kids, which he saw, are the kids that were expelled from this school. After that, they are about to be executed. Evan yells at him. Kusin gestures towards a student and tells him that he is the Musrel that he expelled with his hand. Evan steps towards this kid. Gutson asks if he remembered his name. Kusin has believed that he does not remember his name. That's why they call him Zo327. Evan tells him that his name is Max. Kusin becomes surprised at how he remembers this low-class slave's name. Evan touches the slave's container with sympathy. He asks the Kusin why he does so. Kusin tells him that he is closing the third eye on them. Evan asks what is the meaning of the third eye. He tells him that the main part that is related to magic is spiritual ability. If he closes that eye, he will not be able to see or feel the man. He tells him that they made them able to breathe in the water by operating a minor surgery and magic on them. They dissolved the potion which closed the third eye and observed it. He said that it is working, but it is very slow in process. They have been in there for years, but not even half of their third eyes are closed. He says that they need to develop more, therefore they need more research subjects. Evan asks if the potion becomes perfectly developed. Are they going to capture all the slaves and make them like this? Kusin replies that no, he will not do so. He says that it is a waste of budget. They are already trying it in different ways. They are spraying the potion on the sky to complete the project as soon as they can. Evan asks him again why he doing this. He replies that he is doing this for them. He says that they are superior and small in number. On the other hand, these slaves are vulgar but large in number. They are in large numbers means it is a dangerous factor for them. So, he wants to finish them. He will not allow them to wield a sword. That's why they are removing magic from them. At the same time, they need their labor. Max seems like he is begging for help. Evan remembers a memory with Max. He thinks of when Max broke a teacup. Nobody was seeing this. Max was weeping in front of him about what he did. Evan showed mercy on him, and said to him that it is a secret between them. He said that he would not tell anybody that he broke the teacup. From that day, they became friends. One day Evan gave him the smoked duck to eat. Max became happy. Then Evan told him that his father died for people, but he was being taught to kill people for him. But he did not want to kill people for him. He said to him that if he killed someone, it would be Rhina, not him. A day later, Max stole an asthenium with his friends. Evan asked him why he did this. Max told him that he did this to help Rolian. With the help of this, Rorian could buy medicines for her mother. Kusin said to Evan that his decision matters a lot. He asked him what they could do now. He said to him that the decision was a true art of Rhina. Evan became anxious, but he had to make the decision. But for the sake of their rules, he had to expel him. But he did not want this, so he expelled him for their greedy rules. Now, when he sees him in this bad condition, he feels sorry for it. Evan sees him with mercy. Kusin tells him that he has made the right choice at that time. He says that they already knew that they had sympathy for those muscles. So, to end this sympathy, they had to expel him. Evan thinks that Max begged his death from him. In this state of helplessness, Evan breaks the glass container in which Max has been imprisoned. Kusin yells at Evan and tells him what he did. Evan says to him that they don't have any authority to harm him for the evil's Lord Siknium. Kusin says that they are the son of Lugard. Evan asks him if Lugard allows him to do this harsh behavior with people. Evan sees him with anger. He starts to attack him, but Professor Olmo stops him. Professor Olmo and his students reach there. They become furious to see this behavior, which he is doing here with the poor kids. Kusin screams at Olmo and asks him that how he comes here without any approval. He says that this place is authorized by His Highness. If His Highness knows about this, then he will punish him. Professor Olmo sees the letter which he wrote to the Siknium. Kusin becomes astonished at how he stole this letter from his office. Olmo tells him that he was always suspicious of him. He did not like the expression of his eyes. He says that he did not have any stress or fear in his eyes, even during the time of war. However, from that time he starts to keep an eye on him. He says to him that he knows the army of Signium will not surpass this tower. That's why he makes a deal with the Signium. This tower has lots of top secrets. He handed over the data from these experiments to the army of Signium secretly. In this way, they guarantee him the safety. The professor orders his reinforcement to arrest him. His reinforcement runs toward him to arrest him. Kusin yells and tells them that the experiment is almost finished. The greatest achievement which will control the low people